think it's kind of a dumb fashion thing. I mean, racialized or not. But if I were to like go around saying, yeah, this is dumb, wearing your pants down around your ankles, even though I think that fundamentally I have a right to do that, there's nothing like inherently wrong with it. It's kind of tied to a lot of really weird cultural stigma at the moment. So I think you just have to reflect on what the discourse is at the time and use that to inform what acceptable types of commentary or jokes are. And that's always going to change with time, right? Like you were just talking about the like blank culture eats dogs thing. I think the reason why that's considered offensive is because it plays heavily into the idea.
Don't tell Vaush that.
I think it's like Southeast Asian people being amoral, like robotic, monstrous types.
Like hive bug people or something.
Yeah. Like in the 19th century, it was like, well, the fearsome Orient, full of intelligent but utterly amoral people, or some shit like that. So we like, we really played up like they eat dogs. They don't even care for man's best friend. But if we lived in a world without that context, maybe it would be like totally.
Of course, a daywalker would think that.
Like with regards to the Brit thing. I don't care about like the making Brit jokes, I guess, apart from the fact that I do agree some people are deeply unfunny about it, myself included. With like the white stuff, I make jokes about white people, but like, man, sometimes when people make jokes about white people, I don't think they're jokes. I just think they're getting away with the fact that people listen.
Yeah, I'm muted though.
Jokes, like there are people
muted in Discord.
because like the white genocide memes can be funny because it's not happening, so you can make fun of it and sort of feign seriousness. But there are people who will make jokes about that, and the punchline to those jokes is that they hate white people, and that's always kind of weird. So I think we just have to be introspective about why we're saying what we're saying and how does it contribute to the discourse at the time.
Excuse me.
I have a question.
If you make enough of these jokes, right, you've got to recognize that if you create a culture where these jokes are like implying that people of X nationality are bad simply because they are of X nationality,
right?
You have new people coming into that.
Start being a VTuber
all the time, right? And not all of them are gonna like be joking to the same fucking degree.
We're not talking about the Brits, are we?
All the time. Yeah, I'm talking about the Brits right now. Okay, so like,
I
soulless slaves matter.
I can't really get behind it. Look, if it makes you feel any better, I'm trying to incorporate more casual anti-Slavic racism into my language, to diversify a little bit.
Dreadful. I mean, so
oh,
again,
you know
so
it.
Again, like,
Have you met a Slav?
Yeah. But so like, culturally, these jokes can be like harmful in different ways as well. We also have to recognize that we live in a very connected global community, and so making jokes about Slavic people in the United States might not seem like that much of a problem because there isn't like a lot of overt racism against Slavic people. I don't know if there is in the United States or not, but I'm just assuming.
You can make like anti-racist jokes there, right? I mean, with any group, like the anti-Brit stuff isn't like racist against Anglo people. It's not usually about inherent genetic inferiority. If anything, I think it's a bit of a pushback on the fact that for decades, people with British accents have been considered like super attractive here in the States.
What?
Here in the States, like for the longest time, like British accents have been considered like super suave and attractive, so I think there's kind of a pushback
because we are, yeah.
Right.
Like, that's just a statement of fact. Like,
a well-deserved blowback. That I mean, like people make fun of Americans all around the world, right? We kind of deserve it. You guys kind of deserve it. You've had a few Joker moments yourself, but I don't think it like reinforces any stigma against inherent characteristics to make like, oh yeah, Britborn guy, yeah. Love me chips, love me queen, simple as. Like I don't know if it really goes beyond the sort of playful banter nationalism that's if anything, at least on a lot of lefty communities online, I feel like kind of like a playful facsimile of actual nationalism in a way that's meant to satirize the whole thing, really.
So I have a question. So we've been talking so far about like potentially like harmful jokes about people's nationality and whatnot. Like, can anyone think of like an example? Maybe there might be like a stand-up comedian you might be familiar with, and so on. Like, what jokes about like what would you consider like a joke about someone's nationality that you would consider to be like okay? Like, what would one that you wouldn't consider to be offensive? I'm
like
sure
making fun of French people for running away and laughing like frogs. Seems
I
fine.
don't know. Again, that stuff just seems really cringe to me. Like,
Yeah, it's a bad joke. Like I wouldn't say it's funny, but I don't think it's like
super
harmful.
shit given what the French actually went through in the Second World War. But like, it's also just that I think if you spend enough time in fucking online spaces, as the terminally online people in this fucking Discord channel do, it does tend to permeate the air. I don't think I've ever been in a panel with oh fuck, what's his name? Why can't I remember it now? French dude who does all the editing for like Dylan Burns and stuff.
Mr. Geek?
Mr. Geek. Yeah. Sorry. I love Mr. Geek. I just haven't spoken to him for a while, and my brain is made of cottage cheese apparently. But I don't think I've ever been on a panel or even in a chat with him, like with a decent amount of people in it, where there hasn't been some like French jokes. It must get really fucking tiring and just feel kind of obnoxious.
Wasn't that just an unfunny thing mostly? I mean, that's my problem with misogynistic jokes half the time. You know, sometimes it can be funny, but a problem is like a lot of fucking pasty white boys online are so eager to dump their entire brain archive of get back to the kitchen jokes that it becomes overused, and every woman online is constantly like bombarded every day with that shit. But I think like pointed funny bits of, you know, like anti-French humor or whatever, I mean, that can be good.
So, you saying it about misogynistic jokes there just kind of like triggered a thought for me. I've been super frustrated over the last couple of years at the lack of attention paid to the situation in the UK as regards to trans people, right? I think if you make all these misogynistic jokes all the time, right, it can like force women out of spaces, force women out of conversations, and so on. Even if it's just that they're painfully unfunny.
Hey, Ormy, thanks for coming back.
Like,
How's the mister?
And I think that there's a possibility that the attitude towards like British people in general in leftist spaces could contribute somewhat to a certain degree of apathy towards the struggles that we're facing over here at the moment as well.
British trans people. I don't think I've ever seen British trans people struggle being devalued because of the whole. I mean, the whole Turf Island.
I'm not saying it's direct, and the Turf Island meme actually fucking pisses me off sometimes because it's almost a thought-terminating cliche at this point, where people are like, lol, fucking Turf Island, and the conversation doesn't go much further. It's only in very, very recent times that people have actually started talking about it in any kind of serious way, and it's been a significant problem for the last, 5 years, really, since the GRA consultation.
So do you think people would have paid more attention to the issues if it weren't for the Turf Island meme? If anything, I feel like the joke is kind of like getting your foot in the door. Even if a lot of people don't go beyond that, the fact that Turf Island is a near ubiquitous term for the UK is kind of a, or England at least, is kind of a, I don't know, culturally normalizing. It means that like people know that at least.
Well, to a certain degree, yeah, but also I think it depends on my mood on that day and just how bad shit's been in the UK, right? Because we have some weeks where it's literally like every single fucking newspaper will release a negative article about trans people, and the government will endorse some new fucking hate group and try and put out some legislation to fuck us over. And
By the way, guys, I'm listening to this really dope ass artist named Paspro. If you guys haven't checked him out, go ahead and check him out.
Sometimes it can really
CASPRO.
what you're laughing at.
They're on SoundCloud.
Like,
They do some cool ass fucking
nothing funny about
synthwave music. So
I would genuinely use the term genocidal for like the attitude.
I have an arrangement with the artist.
I think we're bordering.
They are non-politically affiliated at all. So like,
there is a genocide
but
towards trans people.
they were kind enough to let me use their music. So but they are not affiliated in any way politically with what we do here. So just to make that clear.
But like, would you, if you were in a chat with like a Jewish dude in Germany, right? If they had Discord at the time, under the Nazi regime, and be like, lol, Nazi island or Nazi country or whatever, right? Like, would you? That would be incredibly offensive. And I'm not saying they're exactly the same thing. Obviously, they're not. But like, it does seem kind of callous, almost. Do you know what I mean?
the only message implicit in Turf Island is that it's a country that's very transphobic. I mean, like, if it was like 1932 and Germany just announced like its next new bullshit law for Jewish people or whatever, and people were like, "What? Fucking anti-Semitic Germany," or some shit like that, or anti-Semitic mostly landlocked country, or something like that. I don't know if that would necessarily be offensive. You had to add the lol there, right? Which kind of implies callous disregard.
Which is the attitude a lot of the time.
Well, we say Turf Island because England engages in that shit so often. But I mean, what's
America engages in that shit so often as well. We don't hear the same.
Hey, okay, cool, Seven. It's a combination of both. There are some people on the right, some people on the left. Mostly leftists, though.
Hold on, that's a non sequitur. When people talk about like Turf Island, we're mostly talking about like the proportional amount of cultural space dedicated towards the advocacy for transphobic positions. And with England, like especially with J.K. Rowling being your stock, like we would have to work very hard to outdo that. At least proportional to the size of our countries. It's not. I mean, it sounds to me like you're just. I can't tell. Do you feel like it's just blasé to say Turf Island, even though the only message there is that the transphobia is there, or do you think that America should be called?
Vaush is pretty mainstream. He just interviewed Anna Kasparian, and
do you want the title
TYT
shared?
is courting him right now.
I guess I just don't know where the harm is.
Like I said, I think when that's as far as the conversation goes, it feels kind of dismissive almost. It's sort of we expect that kind of shit from Turf Island, right?
I think I know what you're saying. So you're saying that it makes it a bygone conclusion that's inevitable that the UK is going to be this way.
I mean,
right? Because it's just like that's where the turfs are.
I mean, sure, to a certain degree. But I mean, I've even had people like say shit like nobody cares what somebody from Turf Island thinks and stuff like that, right? Like, and those are the ones that really kind of like they do actually set my teeth on edge a little bit, because I'm just like that. It just feels incredibly dismissive.
Yeah,
Imagine being American.
I can kind of understand where you're coming from with that, because it dismisses the people that don't necessarily feel the same way as maybe a lot of people do there, and that hurts the conversation. You know, it's almost limiting in terms of people that are trying to activate to get something done there. You know, when it's just chalked up to, oh well, it's Turf Island. You know, yeah, nothing's going to change there. You know, that sucks. I think that's a horrible way.
That is genuinely how it feels, and I don't know. I have been very frustrated over the last 2 years at like the complete lack of fucking support and solidarity from like Americans on the issue.
Well, telling people they can't say Turf Island isn't going to get more solidarity, right? I mean, that seems.
I'm not telling them they can't say Turf Island. I'm saying if they're gonna say Turf Island, they should probably. There should probably be a little bit more to it than just like lol well Turf Island.
Like,
it kind of feels like
every time I've seen people say Turf Island, it's usually in the context of, you know, degrading England or whatever for their transphobia. I mean, like whenever I see it used, it's like in a tweet thread of describing how this new thing that's happening is really bad for trans people. I guess I mean, I can understand how its use flippantly could be sort of a thought-terminating cliche, but I think this might be a correlation causation thing, right? I don't know if it's the term that's an issue. It's just some people are going to not care, and Turf Island is an easy thing to say.
I think there's kind of like, I don't know, I think for a lack of a better term, I don't want to say middle ground, but I can't think of another explanation. Because like, I see what Viv is getting at, like what's already been said before, right? Like, it becomes a thought-terminating cliche, and it becomes a way of almost kind of dismissing some of the real problems that happens by leading into, I guess, for kind of the absurdist.
So Vivian is trans, and
so on and so
what
forth.
she's
But
illustrating
also,
is that
on the other hand,
apparently
Vaush saying like it's,
England is
making fun of
really,
the
really
transphobia
anti-trans. Like they're big time
in,
radical feminists,
England.
but
And I
they don't
think,
give a shit about
like,
trans people.
part
That's
of
basically what she said.
why like the Turf Island thing can be so jarring for some is, I think, like kind of like a mirror kind of parallel version of what Vaush has said about how like it can be unfunny, like when it gets repeated over and over and over again, and it seems to be like the same joke, and it's like, okay, like cool, like we're glad that you're calling out the bullshit transphobia, that's great, but can you come up with a better joke? Like we've been saying this joke now 2 years.
Well, it's not.
It's just saying that some comedy is bad. Like that's not.
But it's not. It's not even that. Like if we take a look at like so the trans charity streams that we've had on the platform over the last few years, right? And they've all been great. They've all been wonderful. But pretty much since the Donkey Kong 64 stream that H Bomber Guy did, they've almost all been American focused, right? Trans Lifeline, Triple Project, whatever. And those people obviously, like, those organizations do great work and they deserve help and charity and so on. But like, I mean, I don't know. There's just so much to it. I genuinely feel like there just wasn't enough focus on that stuff in the UK, and now it's starting to happen more in the US. Turfism getting that kind of American flavor, right? And I don't know.
Everything ends
like
up
the
about
whole
the same
situation
point.
is quite disquieting to me. So
Or America. Eventually, everything's going to end up being about us, right? We dominate all online discourse.
well, I think what happened was very, very similar to like what happened with like the homophobia shit in Uganda and Zimbabwe and shit, right? Is that Americans found that they couldn't do what they wanted to do in the United States, so they used their organizations and some evangelicals and stuff to like go over to these African nations and try and implement those policies that they wanted to see in the United States in places like Africa. And we had a very similar thing with like the Heritage Foundation, like fucking with our politics, right? And American evangelicals, and you've got people like Posey Parker, Lily Cade, who wrote that fucking manifesto. She's a Yankoid. Like,
Yankoid.
The connections are there. It's just that they weren't able to enact stuff to the same degree.
I just don't know what this has to do with like
recently.
the comments we make online. Like, yeah, we're America. We do everything. We are everything. But like, I don't know. We can say America's transphobic more, I guess. I don't know how this pulls back to like I don't even think the Turf Island stuff is really an example of like mocking a person's nationality. If anything, it's just sort of a wry commentary on the state of politics in one country.
No, sure. I think we moved slightly on from that conversation. Maybe that was my fault. I think I ended up drawing a parallel somewhere, but I can't remember why we brought up Turf Island in the first place.
Oh, no, yeah, that was you. Hitting that, I don't know why. But so I think it's an important conversation, nonetheless, on that Turf Island thing.
I'm just saying, pay attention to what happens in other fucking countries, America, because it's going to start happening over there, you know? And solidarity should be universal, not just within the United States.
Based.
Yeah, so you said previously that about the joke that Parallel said previously, that you wouldn't put that on the level as like a joke against a minority, but like,
yeah, sure.
Why?
Well, because I don't think British people are like in any danger immediately of being like heavily oppressed for their nationality. Maybe in some place in the world, but I can't think of one off the top of my head, right? So I just don't think it happens. I think the only thing that I said was like these things do take a while to build, and I think you could potentially end up like creating genuine bigotry out of jokes. Right?
What does that make? What difference does that make to the individual who's experiencing this? Right? Like, sure, the wider culture. British people aren't being oppressed for these things, or just use whatever.
You could say Viv is a panel dominatrix.
The nature of the joke and the attitude with which it's said. If people are genuinely discriminating against you because you're British, rather than just like joking around and whatever, then I'd say we'd already kind of crossed the Rubicon from just a joke into actual fucking discrimination, right? And
Too
then
mad,
it does kind of become a little bit.
I think it's funny when we make fun of countries, like Italy, for example. That's a good one.
Yeah,
Also,
some of the
like,
I'm a third-generation Italian immigrant.
Italy's a good
you've
one.
You've probably got spaghetti sauce for blood. Like, you know,
Greece is a good one.
Whoa!
The entire Balkan region is great. One thing that I find really funny about them is they have a whole different kind of racism. All the Balkan countries, they're all like racist, but against each other and in wacky ways that Americans don't understand, you know? It's always really
Yeah.
funny.
Them and against Roma people and against like anyone with like brown.
No
skin,
worries, Corpy. We'll
Yeah,
work
it's
to
just
get
like,
you in.
imagine being-
I didn't
imagine
plan on
being in,
getting on
like,
panels
Turkey,
tonight. This
you
just
know?
came up on the
Or,
fly.
like,
I had
Serbia or
segments all laid out, and I would have been
being
able
an
to do that. So
ethno-nationalist. And there are a lot of them there. Like,
next time,
Who-
though, we'll work
who
it
are you
out.
fooling?
Time.
You're all in the Slavic regions. What are you doing? It's like being in a trash heap and declaring like a feudal blood sports like land grab fest with you and all your neighbors, and you're right next to a technologically advanced supernation. Like, what are you? Why are you
really,
declaring a
really-
racism off?
I think what's really fucking strange is that like in Russia there is an incredibly like high level of like Islamophobia and racism against people with like darker skin, right? But Russia and Turkey on the world stage, they will team up to commit war crimes in fucking Karabakh, right?
Also, Russia sucks. It's like a shit country. It was looted by oligarchs in the 90s and has been left to rot. Everything there is shit. I've had friends in Russia. It's shit. It's objectively worse than European countries in almost every imaginable cultural, social, and civic, economic, like by every metric you can think of. They just let you say more slurs at gay people, like, and you can beat your wife there, I guess. That's like,
I wouldn't want to live there. That's...
yeah, as like, imagine being there and being proud. God damn, at least Americans have our military budget. If that's something you really give a shit about, you can take that one all the way to the park. But fucking Russia, this is one of the reasons why I like making fun of countries a little bit. There's so much funny, real nationalism out there that you can satirize, by poking fun at the whole system by which people feign
But
superiority.
that's what I was saying about like cultural context earlier, right? Like, is that in the United States it might not be such a problem, but in the United Kingdom, making fun of people for being Slavic, like that would be a significant problem because we do have a significant history of discriminating against people for being from Poland. And
Well, make fun of Slavic
anywhere in
nationalists
Eastern
then,
Europe.
right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the big joke. It's like all the Slavic nations want to fight each other, whatever. I think you can do that without being problematic. If the message of the joke is your silly regional infighting is petty and futile, I don't feel like that's necessarily an issue.
Yeah, that's fine. But like usually these jokes about people's nationality are like leveled at people on a personal level, right? Like just making general jokes about like how racist Russia is. That's not as bad as like making a joke about somebody who's like right in front of you for being Russian.
Well, sure, but like if they were like proud of being Russian, if they were like the number one, just imagine that was a Russian accent. Okay, I'm not doing the work today. I think you'd make fun of them for that. Or like that petty bent, like infighting or whatever, you know? Like, I feel like people are naturally kind of tribalistic, and there are good and bad ways to let it out, and like fake nationalism's an okay way. Like with the Italy shit, or like America. Everyone shit talks America, right? You've shit talked America. I've shit talked America. And it's fun, you know? Even if you're not bigoted against Americans necessarily, you can have a stereotype of like a power scooter riding, American flag wearing, AR-15 carrying
On a power scooter?
Walmart. Yeah, like that's like
How
the
many of those do you
Walmart
see?
American, right?
On a power
Golf cart.
scooter.
Every
So
time you
can I
go to
ask you guys,
Walmart. Off-road golf cart.
So can I ask
Drug
you guys
lords.
a question?
I mean, that might
So-
be in California, but that's not in America. Or...
Newbie. Sorry.
Oh, shut up, Kirk. Okay. So speaking of AR-15s, right? That's in jokes, right? So a lot of people have been making fun of. I've been making fun of Kyle Rittenhouse, and his like crying on the stand during the trial. Like I think that's currently the banner on the politics Twitter, unless they've changed it. And lots of people on Twitter were making fun of this kid for crying the way he did on the stand, right? There's tons of fucking memes about it. Do you think that like that's an issue in terms of like, you know, this is someone who probably has like a lot of like emotional and mental distress
Yeah, you're all
over.
horrible people.
Murdered three
Shooting some
Of
people.
course he's going to be distressed about it.
But I don't know if it's fair to say he murdered them, but
Yeah,
he
it's totally
definitely
fair to say
killed
that.
3 people.
Roblox 3 people. Let's be respectful of the
He-
TOS.
He Roblox
Killed
this.
people.
I calling it murder is a massive stretch. But do you guys
Right.
think it's okay to make fun of him?
No, you're terrible people for doing it.
Why are we terrible people for making fun of him crying on the sand?
Okay, so I guess I should focus down on that more. Anybody who is making fun of him for his reaction on the stand, who previously or who might possibly in the future talk about like their own issues with mental illness or something very traumatic that they've gone through in their life.
Anybody who spent 5 minutes
Hold on,
working in
hold
law
on.
knows that that's a
Didn't murder
legal
3
strategy.
people.
That's bullshit.
I wanna-
He wasn't crying
I want
for
to hear the
real.
rest. I want to hear the rest.
It looked
of this.
fake.
Well, I
Yeah,
want to
no,
hear
no,
this.
you
though.
can say that it looks fake all you want, but
It's a legal
like, you're not
strategy. They
going
teach
through it.
people
That
to do
doesn't
this shit
matter.
on
That-
the stand.
But see, that doesn't matter. Like the fact that you're just automatically saying that, like, oh, it's a legal strategy.
It is because I've
only
done that.
doing
I've
it for,
helped
like,
people
No,
learn to
Jason,
cry on the stand.
Jason,
That's
Jason,
fucking
you're
happens.
doing the Travis Scott thing right now. Hey, he's crying. Is he crying the right way? Is it real crying?
Yeah, like
You're doing exactly the same shit you're doing bad on the
I
panel.
think the tears are quite probably genuine, but I still don't fucking care. Like,
Oh.
the idea that, like, you know, this could somehow contribute to him getting away with this murder is just the old white woman tears
Self-defense,
thing,
not murder.
right? It's like we see a white woman crying, then whoever's near her must be the one at fault. Right?
What's your
I don't know if
definition
you
of
guys,
murder?
Under?
Sorry?
If you guys actually sometimes see videos of like where a murder will happen and the husband will be asked about the wife, and the sheriff or the police officer will commonly note the reaction of the person after the event, and they will bring it into court and testimony when
That's a good point, actually.
when that person acted like, you know, they were giggling, or they were acting normal about it. So I think there is space for that, either faking it or not faking it, and your emotional reaction.
But that's different than just straight
Just don't
making
know,
fun of
yeah.
him for his reaction. If you
not
if you
really.
want to like break down his reaction and say like, oh, well, he was acting callously during these periods of time and now his reaction is different, you can go ahead and make those reactions, but then you also have to put that in context with the fact that he's a 17-year-old kid who just went through the things that he did, who is now facing possible prison time. Like, you have to be able to put all these things in context instead of just straight up saying like, oh,
He's
look how
18
funny
now,
he
he's-
looks. And he,
he's
yeah, it's
a
sure, he's
kid.
18 now, but he was 17 when it happened, so it doesn't matter.
Well, he
when it
beat up
happened,
a
he
girl
was
before
17
that.
years
I don't
old.
think he's innocent as shit.
mean,
Like he's a
here's
violent
the
person by
thing.
nature.
I don't think
Why does it matter that he beat us with a girl before?
if he was
It demonstrates he's got violent nature. I don't have any sympathy for him
No,
or
it
empathy
doesn't.
for him.
He fucking sucker punched her from behind as well. It was
Yeah.
fucking
She
garbage.
I watched the video. It looked like she deserved it. To be honest.
That has
Oh,
absolutely
I
nothing to
don't
do
Yeah,
with what happened.
she initiated the first push on that video.
That also has absolutely nothing to
I
do
don't really
with.
give a shit.
That'd
Like,
be
if it-
considered
if it
assault,
was the-
which is
if
a
it was-
felony.
He,
sometimes.
she
No,
was
but what I'm
fighting
saying
his
is that
sister.
has
What are you
absolutely
talking
nothing to
about?
do with
He
what
wasn't even
happened.
involved in the
Can we all
interaction.
Okay, Vaush.
Can we all agree he was no angel?
I hate you.
Definitely no angel.
Look,
I
okay,
will agree with
Here's
you
the
on that,
thing.
Vosh.
okay, look.
Here's the thing is, remember, go ahead, Vosh.
I just want to say, like, look, okay, Rittenhouse seems like a piece of shit. I don't give a fuck about him. I don't care about people making fun of him. The issue is, like, it's really about where you direct your political capital and the rhetoric that you use, you know? And you also have to recognize, like, wouldn't we make fun of him no matter what he did? Like, I'm pretty sure that if it was the other way around, that he was some BLM protester and he was up there on the stand defending himself against accusations of murder, like, if he started crying and the right started making fun of him for crying, I'd be like, what the
mean,
fuck, you
we're making-
sociopaths? He's
Yeah,
like
but the right and the
traumatized.
left-
fun
the
of
right and the
gross
left are
groups
not morally
for-
equivalent. Taking
Right.
this out of a BLM protester who's in exactly the
Wait,
same
wait, hold
fucking
on.
situation, they
Hold-
would have
wait, wait.
been justified in being out there fucking protesting
hold
in
on.
the first place.
I'm not
And frankly,
morally-
if they shot some fascist dude
Okay.
in the head, I wouldn't be crying
Vivian
over
does
that.
this.
I'm not
It's okay.
morally equivocating the organizations or ideologies or politics here. I'm only saying that it seems like the signs that I would look for to make fun of his behavior are totally arbitrary, because there's stuff that I would excuse if it came from my side and wouldn't if it came from theirs, and it seems like it's totally just up to like team sports for me. So like with the crying thing, like I don't know, it looked kind of fake to me. I don't know, but like I don't know. People can cry in a bunch of ways.
guess I'm-
But wait. I just want to finish this, okay? I just want to finish this. I don't think it's like some giant fucking moral sin to make fun of him or whatever, because like we're all horrible people. We all make fun of like people who are far less deserving of being made fun of than Kyle Rittenhouse. People make memes making fun of people who are totally fucking innocent of everything on the world stage. People make memes about that shit. That's
True,
just
you
what
guys
happens.
make fun of me all the time.
So hardcore like moral posturing and pearl clutching over people making fun of Rittenhouse crying, I find pretty cringe. People like hardcore defending the idea that they've totally proven through body language analysis that Kyle Rittenhouse is lying with the fake tears, that's pretty cringe. The only thing that I think is giga cringe here was the fucking prison rape jokes. That shit on Twitter.
Yeah.
That shit
So
was
that's-
that shit was
that- That shit
Yeah.
is unacceptable.
But that was
I
a
agree.
leg?
That's bullshit. Like I
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's
wish that on anybody. I don't care like whether they are guilty or not. If you go to jail and you go to prison, you're serving your time. That doesn't mean that you need extra shit on top of that. Like being raped is not a fucking joke. I don't see why
I guess-
people laugh about that shit.
It was
I guess I'm a
mostly
little
liberals
petty.
doing it. I
I'm a
disavow.
little I'm a little petty over
pretty-
the fact that the same people that are clutching pearls over like any interpretation of Rittenhouse's demeanor on stand were the same ones that were either quiet or were mocking, for example, Trayvon Martin's girlfriend. If you guys recall, she had a very, I guess you would say, Ebonics accent in the way she spoke, and a lot of people were acting like she was, the stereotypes that surround a young lady that might speak in
They
that
pretended
manner.
they couldn't understand her. Do you remember that? They had like an interpreter or something. It was a long time ago, but yeah.
And they were saying how how that was bad for the prosecutors, et cetera, and I don't know if this is like an apple for apples sort of deal, but
See you, I agree.
just makes
100%.
you call into question what.
Yeah, having worked in law and having helped strategized cases
Well,
for
I
stuff
look
like
at
this,
it
this is choreographed. It's absolutely choreographed. In that kind of high profile case, there is no way they didn't choreograph that shit.
Oh shit! Do you guys think it's okay for him? Well, actually, Vivian, I want to ask you. Okay, so some of the people that Rittenhouse killed, I'm not saying murder, were like bad people. I think pretty objectively. Like, do you think it's okay to make fun of them because they're awful people, and maybe they died in a way that maybe you disagree with, but they were shit people generally? So it's okay to make fun of them?
I think outside of the context of like how, for example, Rosenbaum, right? Like outside of the context of how Rosenbaum died, if Rosenbaum had like, I don't know, fucking raped those kids, then walked outside and had an anvil fall on his fucking head, that'd be funny as shit, right? I think you have to be careful about the like cultural context of it, because there's a lot more connotations that come with sort of like mocking the death of Rosenbaum, for example.
I want to ask a
I think
question.
there's
to
kind of
Doobie
like an
real quick.
irony that he was chasing down another kid while he got.
I have a question for you though, Doobie, because
Yeah.
like you seem to be set on talking about the criminal history of the decedents. Would you also look at the criminal history of the decedents of 9/11 because of the terrorist attacks and say, oh well,
Wait, what?
there were these guys that did horrible things that died in 9/11. So whatever, we can use that as some kind of rationale. Would you treat that the same way? Because that's basically what you're doing, is saying that just because like you happen to side with this person or agree with what Rittenhouse did, we're going to talk about the criminal histories of the people he killed. I think that's stupid. I think that's totally frivolous.
I think what you just said is
Or
stupid.
9/11 here.
So people,
But it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Would you do that?
thing.
Would you do that? Would you do that with those people? Would you expect that? Would you expect that?
People that were I understand your point. So people that were killed in the Twin Towers, for example, right, were sitting in their fucking cubicles, going through a normal work day, right? The guy that Rittenhouse killed, well, like all three of them, were in the process of chasing him, attacking him, some other shit. So they were doing some stupid thing that led to them dying.
After he'd been pointing his fucking rifle at people.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
That is true. He testified.
It isn't
on
true.
fucking stand.
No, he didn't.
No, he
He
didn't.
did.
No, he didn't.
Show the
I watched him
timestamp,
sit there. There was
Vivian.
the fucking,
Wait,
Nine
are you
11
talking about the last guy he shot? Like he testified that he.
No, Rosenbaum, the prosecutor asked him straight up, do you think it would be reasonable that when you pointed your gun at Rosenbaum that he feared for his life?
Oh, you mean so
That
after
was
he got
after
chased?
he was
so
being
like
chased.
after he was chased then.
And
After he was aggressive.
So
and
rather than
and
speculate on this, Vivian, provide the timestamp and the clip, and let's.
We're
look
not
at
gonna
it.
Oh, I
watch
know
the video
exactly
right
what
now.
she's talking about. I know exactly what she's talking
Do you
about.
expect me while we're on this fucking panel right now to go through like
Yes,
fucking
because
10
there's a
hours
bunch of
video
there's
and
a
find
bunch of
time?
nuance, and there's plenty of instances where Rosenbaum
There's not that much nuance.
Rittenhouse pointed their guns
Wait,
at
can
people.
Yeah.
can I
But I
posit
mean-
something and see if we all agree?
But I literally don't care. Like this dude was
Okay,
clearly
that's
fucking...
how genuine you are. All right, good.
Can we-
I don't know what you're fucking.
Oh, wait,
issue is.
if
Me,
you
you've
aggress
come on
upon
this panel,
me-
you have some kind of fucking hate boner on.
Wait,
Like,
can I posit something? I just want to know
boy.
what everyone thinks. Okay. I don't give a fuck about people making fun of Rosenbaum or some like that was the pedo, right? Who died?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't give a fuck about that. I do think it's weird though, because conservatives always bring it up as though that exonerates Rittenhouse. Because that's like it's like a post hoc thing. Like that's like you
That's
fire
why it's
into
not
a
used into the trial.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, wait, hold on. I'm not saying
Thank you,
it's
Vaush.
I was just saying like oftentimes when it's brought up, it's like, well, how could Rittenhouse have done something wrong? Look at what Rosenbaum was like. It's and like imagine firing into a crowd and by sheer luck, like 9 bullets all hit the heads of like the 9 people who were secretly like rapists or something.
Well, it's the same he was no angel shit, isn't it? Really?
All I can say is
Yeah,
that
basically.
I hope if I'm ever forced into a self-defense situation, the people who I have to shoot are pedophiles. That would so I can bring that up.
I bring it up only because
and ended up shooting a lifelong activist that never committed a crime in their life.
Yeah, it could have been a lifeguard. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying I don't think it. You can make fun of Rosenbaum. I just don't think it bears any relevance to like the facts of Rittenhouse's case.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
That's what I was saying about the connotations of making those jokes about Rosenbaum, right? Like, I don't give a fuck that like a pedo got shot.
But you can still make the jokes though.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, but you can think that hold on, but you can.
Well, then don't get mad about
I
making
think
the jokes
the
about
argument-
Rittenhouse. I mean,
I think the
whatever.
I think the
Yeah,
argument
it's
that
fair
that Rittenhouse was justified stands on its own, whether or not this person was a pedophile or a lifeguard or like a fucking cancer doctor or something, right?
Well, Rittenhouse didn't have like the information necessary to tell whether or not these people were pedophiles or anything prior to shooting them. But
What if he
we can
had like
simultaneously
Bruce
say
Willis?
that and
What
say
if he had,
that
like, Bruce Willis
when Rittenhouse is on the stand and he is what seems to be having a panic attack, he's crying not because he's remorseful or because he thinks that he did something wrong. He's probably crying because in that moment he's hyperventilating.
You don't know that he's having.
There's probably going to be residual. There's probably going to be residual trauma for a
I'm
17-year-old.
literally on the fucking bollocks to Rittenhouse. Fuck
Wait,
this stupid fucking.
They might have
pseudo-sided
known
white
Rosenbaum was a
nationalist train,
pedophile.
But
right?
if you're
And
Wait,
I'm-
what did you just say to me?
And I'm
What did you
not-
just say?
and I'm
Did you?
not- And I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting here saying I know that those tears were fake. So you sitting there thinking you know the exact.
That's the
fucking
narrative.
psychology.
Every single news article that I've seen, from CNN to MSNBC
I
to
don't.
Fox News to everybody in
Well, hold on, but a few
between,
people in
and
this voice shouldn't have said
Twitter
that.
discourse
It
is
does.
this person is engaged in crocodile tears, or this person is truly remorseful of their actions. They're not talking
Yeah, I think that's what.
about-
I think that's what. Maybe you didn't say Vivian.
Both
but-
positions are just as stupid as your fucking position of I know he was having a panic attack because of blah blah blah. When none of us.
It's
are
not
fucking
his
mind
position.
readers.
He's
None of
quoting
us
what
are-
other news
Okay,
outlets
so
are saying.
Vivian-
Wait, hold on. But he's not even
Vivian,
quoting a news outlet.
It's not being a mind reader. It's not being a mind reader, okay? If you look at this person, if you look at that video, and you Google panic attack, if you've had a panic attack yourself, I don't know if you had them or not, they fucking hurt. The guy is hyperventilating on the stand. The judge gives him 10 minutes to calm down, and that was the right call for the judge. Had nothing to do with whether or not he was crying because he was remorseful.
Whether he's having a panic attack or not.
That's also a
You
way to
have no
make yourself
idea
cry.
what's
They
going
teach you
on
that in acting, just so you know.
I don't know.
Oh my god, dude!
They do.
So
They do. I'm not
is
fucking
anybody,
lying
like,
about
on the
that.
stand? Like this is what bothers me. Okay, this is what bothers me.
You don't think that you
I
don't think
hate-
attorneys
I
have
absolutely hate when
strategy for the
conservatives do this
stand?
meme.
You
We were
don't think
talking-
they
we were
teach
talking
them how
about
to
individuals.
act? Have you ever been in
We
a
were talking
law
about
office for
individuals
5
earlier. We were talking
seconds?
about individuals
They
earlier on the
teach you
stand. We were
that
talking about
shit.
individuals
They
earlier on the
they
stand.
teach
We
their
were talking
clients
about
that shit. They
individuals
teach them
earlier
how
on
to
the
dress.
stand.
They teach them how to pass drug tests. They
Like,
teach them how to act on the stand.
conservatives
Act.
for absolutely nonsensical reasons. Absolutely nonsensical reasons. Conservatives do this to people on the stand. And now, because this individual is somebody who, yes, he's problematic. Yes, I don't necessarily agree with his decisions that night. Yes, I can think all the things that you think about his like character and all this other stuff. But at the same time, say this is inappropriate. We shouldn't make jokes about this. This seems pretty fucked up.
I don't know whether his tears were genuine or not. You don't know whether or not he was having a panic attack. That was my only fucking point. Okay. Now, I think it's fine to analyze the tears and go, well, I think what is a much more interesting analysis, right, is the whole like white woman's tears fucking narrative, because then it doesn't matter whether the tears are fucking genuine or not. White women fucking cry genuine tears all the time because they're terrified of the black man across the street who's done fuck all to them, right? It's an analysis of power, and it's an analysis of fucking social situations like that mean that even if he is crying his fucking eyes out, that should have no fucking bearing on whether or not he's innocent. None at all.
Nobody's saying that it has a bearing on whether or not he's innocent.
Well, a lot of people seem to think that it
those
shows
people
that
are
he's
stupid.
genuinely remorseful, right?
Yeah, I don't think it has
Remorse
anything to
doesn't
do with
matter.
remorse.
And that there was and that obviously there was no malice in his actions that day.
But-
He's just a good boy, like Chris Hake said on the
No,
last night.
no. Okay,
right?
so
He's just a
Hold
good
up,
boy
hold up.
who wants
Why,
to go out
why does
there and help
remorse have
people
anything to do with
and
it, though?
Why does remorse?
I think-
have
I
anything to do
think-
with it? Because remorse can imply to some people, right, that he wasn't out there to do violence, for
But
example.
remorse isn't needed for a self-defense claim.
Oh my god.
Well, I think so. I could be wrong on this. I'm not a legal expert, but as I understand it, remorse or contrition can be useful because part of the legitimacy of a self-defense claim hinges on the extent to which you felt your life was being threatened. And the likelihood that you killing a person was made for that reason, because you felt your life was threatened, is greater if there's no other possible motive, like, say, for example, bloodlust or rage, a desire
Sure,
for
yeah,
revenge.
he was running away.
Well, no,
Which
I'm just
goes
saying
into
that.
the
I'm just saying that I think it is relevant when it
He
comes
was
to like
running away when
inferring.
the two heroes fucking tried to disarm him. Yeah.
And
So-
it goes into the
So
entire
remorse
defense
plays very well with the
strategy.
jury,
Defense
but it wouldn't
Yes.
necessarily influence whether or not he would
It
be like
is
more or less legitimate in his self-defense claim.
it
right?
is optically
So if
sound.
somebody says, "Oh, I shot these people. I had no alternative. Do you regret it? Do you feel remorse?" Absolutely not. That doesn't change like whether or not they engaged in self-defense. But if you are remorseful because of jury perception, because jury perception dictates your guilt or innocence at the end of the day, that might actually influence the self-defense claim.
Wait,
Yeah,
Vivian. Go ahead, Vaush.
Legal strategy.
Oh no! I'm just agreeing. Yeah, it's one of those things where I think it has more to do with how people can infer your thought process and sort of assess the legitimacy of your claims, and less so with like meeting the criteria for proving it. Again, I'm not a lawyer. That was just my impression.
But it also
Not legal
goes
either
way,
towards
he
the
is
legal
probably-
criteria.
The self-defense is probably going to be accepted, at least as far as I can tell. It seems like most people with some legal knowledge are saying that at the very least for the the homicide charge, that's going to get axed off, which I think is what everyone
Multiple
Yeah,
homicide
you know,
charges,
I don't
and
wish
I
that.
think,
reckless.
I don't want him to get off, but I think he's going to. I absolutely do. And you know,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, he's a white kid who was probably always going to get off it, but
What?
But it's
White
So
male
if he gets
rage.
acquitted of these charges, you're still going to call him a murderer.
yes.
Okay, so
Because
you
he
are
murdered
factually
people.
then wrong because
No, no.
a court of law determined him not to be a murderer.
He's still a
I'm
killer.
sorry, Is OJ
OJ's
Simpson
a murderer. Yeah, there you go.
David, do you think
According to the court of
they could have
law,
gotten him
he
on a
is not.
manslaughter charge or no?
Well, I don't give a flying fuck what a court of law says when I'm
There you
judging what is and what isn't an unjustified killing. He is not legally a murderer,
But
as far as I'm
Court of
concerned,
law
morally,
legally is
he
finding
a
him
murderer.
not a murderer.
He's still a killer.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do you think murder is only applicable in a legal sense? Is that what you're telling me?
What is the definition of murder?
An unjustified killing.
That's not what the definition of murder is.
I mean, it is one of the definitions of murder, yeah.
Well, I think. Well, so wait. I think that colloquially, people do
The
call people
unlawful
murderers without a legal.
premeditated killing of a human being by another.
Let's-
That wouldn't
is where I
apply.
wanna-
I don't
This
know
is
how
really
that, I don't know how that
pedantic,
works.
though.
We don't
That
need
does
to
not
use
work, Turk,
semantic
because
theory.
because there are people who kill in the heat of passion and they're still considered murderers, and that is not
Okay,
premeditation.
I genuinely don't care about this stupid fucking semantic debate. It is clear to anybody with half a fucking brain that people consistently use the term murderer to describe people who have faced no criminal charges for their actions whatsoever. For example, huge corporations whose policies have killed fucking shit tons of people. Governments who have killed shit tons
It
of
just
people.
goes towards your mental status of you not being able to accept the outcome of this trial.
I mean,
That's kind of.
How do you feel about Derek Chauvin?
Wait, hold on. Can I ask you? So a couple things.
Derek Chauvin was a
so-
fucking murderer, but if he was
No,
found
not
Okay,
you.
but you made a
not
comment-
you, Vivian. I'm asking
Wait.
Turk. I just want to
Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. So Vivian, you made this comment that he's a white kid, so he's probably always going to get off. but like, I don't understand why you'd
Little
make that
bubble
comment.
blower. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining our
First off.
community.
Secondly,
We're happy to have
what
you
I'm
here
also
with
curious
us.
about is,
Also, Burner Boy 69
like,
that joined earlier. I didn't get to say what's up to you. Thank you very much.
No,
on the case.
I don't think there's any evidence that his race has any bearing on the case, especially given that the people that he killed were other white people. Like, I don't know what you're getting at. That white people get away with killing white people.
I know. What? That's why I added the political persuasion thing.
Well,
Perfectly reasonable. Also, the amount of fucking people who've been like, "Oh, Kyle can't be fucking white supremacist or whatever because all the people he killed were white." Like, this. That's the dumbest fucking argument.
That has nothing to do with whether or not he was.
I don't think anybody here was talking about white supremacy.
Oh, okay.
So we should always recognize when it comes to stuff like this that barring extraordinary circumstance, we're never going to have like direct evidence of racism. As far as I can tell here, there's none. Not with regards to like the proceeding or whatever result Rittenhouse is going to get. Of course, there is on average a statistical bias towards white people in the criminal justice system, especially with stuff like this, which is like really racialized. Like the context of the case here is clearly, I mean, it's in the context of BLM. So, for example,
yeah, you can look at the law he's into and shit too. The thin blue line law and everything like that is seated with it kind of culturally, you know, like so when something like this kind of rears its ugly head, it's gonna bear the face of its whole culture. So for him was, you know, simping cops.
There is a bias towards race, there's a bias towards class, there's a bias towards gender that actually works against men. There's a bias towards many different things, political persuasion as well. Conservatives tend to be led off more than left-wingers.
I do want to say, though, with respect to Vivian, I do worry about muddying the waters a little bit with like the invocation of perceived racial bias for cases like this, because while there's always going to be a statistical bias in favor of white people, unless there's any like specific evidence or like a reason to make its claim, I think it can blur the line between ubiquitous systemic racism and like provable instances.
Almost every official in that courtroom is fucking white as well, by the way. Like outside of the jury.
So? As were the people that were.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, and Kyle was hanging out with the Proud Boys and shit too. I mean, I don't know, you know.
Isn't it important to at least like try to acknowledge whether or not you believe race in this case actually tips the scales? Because I think we can all agree that bias in the direction that helps a white person definitely exists in almost any courtroom.
No.
But I think you should analyze whether or not in this specific... I'm just saying a white person is less likely to be convicted as guilty. That's what we're saying here.
So
what I'm saying is you need to analyze it on a case-by-case basis to say whether or not this actually tipped the scales and changed the outcome. And I don't think in this case it will.
Do you think, so the chappie just said it was white on white crime. Do you think white supremacy can be a factor in a white person murdering another white person?
Can I ask you something? Where was the crime committed, and what was happening?
No. Before that, let's
yes. Before that, I want to answer the fucking question, dude. It's really simple.
I don't know who you're.
9 out of Ben, I think. Was it 9 out of Ben? Who
No, it wasn't 9 out of Ben.
No, it was.
Which one?
It was the guy who just spoke and said he didn't know who was talking. You said, right, it was white on white crime. What does white supremacy have to do with it? It was white on white crime. Do you think a white person could kill another white person in the name of white supremacy?
It's entirely possible, yeah.
It happened in Mississippi. It happened in Mississippi. You ever seen the movie Mississippi Burning? Yeah.
That's not the current case we're talking about.
But it happened. White people have killed white people in the name of white supremacy.
He was out there alongside a white supremacist fucking militia, right?
That has absolutely nothing to do with.
Wait, hold on. That wasn't a white supremacist.
Wait. Here's the issue.
Yeah, the Kenosha
But
one did have
here's the issue. None of that matters whether or not he was defending himself. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if he was there illegally or anything like that. If I break a law, that doesn't mean that I can't defend myself.
No, you said, what does this have to do with white supremacy? It was white on white crime.
No, I didn't say that.
If you want to retreat from that, that's fine.
I never said that.
So is your position?
I'm just asking why everybody's bringing up things that have absolutely nothing to do with whether or not he defended himself or not.
Who deputized him or sanctioned him to walk down those streets with that gun?
It doesn't matter.
1 second.
He has a Second Amendment right to.
No, he went in there. He went in there to play Call of Duty LARPing, and he wanted the
everybody
smoke.
Who,
And he got
everybody
the smoke,
who was
and
there
he's
was
crying
LARPing.
about the fact that he got the smoke.
Everybody on both sides who was there was LARPing.
Jason.
So I have a question about
hold
why
up.
nobody.
You need to make a actual difference between like Jason. I usually agree with you on a lot of stuff, but like here, you have to make a difference between like what is right and wrong and what somebody has the right to do. I have the right, a First Amendment right to lie to your face. Does that make it morally justified? No, but he was absolutely allowed to be on the street with a weapon.
No, he
That's
was
his
not.
Second
He was
Amendment
17, and he didn't have a right to have that weapon. As a matter of fact, it was illegal for him
That's
to have
actually
that weapon.
arguable under Wisconsin state law when you look at the long rifle
Yes, the
statute.
Wisconsin
So
state
It
law
doesn't
is
matter. We don't even
legal.
need to lean on that. He shouldn't have been out there with a gun.
nobody should have been out there.
Yeah, but there's a difference between illegal and moral
because
distinction.
he was out there. in
Nobody
aid
should have
of
been
white-
out there though, Viv.
Because he was out there in aid of a white supremacist cause.
Nobody should have been out there.
He was out there to
He was
hurt
helping-
people that were BLM activists. That's what he was doing. Otherwise, he wouldn't be carrying a gun. He'd be carrying a bunch of fire extinguishers.
So you're gonna infer that
He was
out there
carrying a bunch of fire extinguishers.
Well, he didn't need the gun.
He
Did
was
he?
actually,
He should have
he was
carried
actually
more.
carrying.
You know?
He was actually carrying one when he started getting chased.
He had holler
I have
points
a-
too, and that's banned in Wisconsin. So what though? That's not the charges,
Yeah.
and I understand.
the
Like
charges.
look. I could levy funny as fuck, non-problematic, non-prejudiced jokes about every member of that courtroom except the jury because I haven't seen them. Okay, but like I don't think that's gonna be problematic for the jury in deliberating their case. I don't think that's gonna like fucking like hurt race relations in any fucking country to the point where it's gonna be like detrimental to some people to make some jokes about Rittenhouse crying the way he did, bro. Like, oh my god, like.
I mean,
To pull it back, I don't give a fuck about him crying, and I actually have a picture up on my stream of him crying right now. I think it's fucking hilarious. Get mad at me about it. I don't give a fuck.
I wanted to add a hypothetical.
Okay, OnlyFacts and Doobie.
So it is. I'm gonna preface it that it is kind of silly, but a lot of people will tell you, well, it doesn't matter that he was there in the first place. That what's important that he was acting in self-defense, et cetera, and that his intent in going to there and defending property that's not even his, that he wasn't even being paid to defend. I mean, thinking somebody that's on the right wing like him, he would probably want to be paid for his services. I guess he's just donating his time, gas, bullets, and weapon. But let's say I wanted to go to Syria and I'm picked up by U.S. Special Forces with an AR-15, and I just want to defend property there from the Assad government. I know this is in the jurisdiction of another country, but I would be picked up and called a terrorist, and I would probably go to jail. I was actively putting myself in a situation where there could be violence, and there is violence to be had. And I'm not saying...
A willing combatant. Willing combatant.
With local forces or whatever, and
So
not really go out there and do it by yourself. But like the sentiment, like that's pretty basic.
Yeah, so then it comes down to this: if you wanna sit there and say that like, oh, he shouldn't have been out there because he was breaking curfew, charge him with that. If you want to say that he shouldn't have had the rifle in the first place, go ahead, charge him with that. But if you want to say that what he was doing, but if you want to sit there and say that like him being out there because of curfew and like he shouldn't have had that rifle in the first place, therefore he doesn't have a right to defend himself when somebody's aggressing upon his person, then you're just straight up wrong for that.
How about
he shouldn't have been
a bitch ass white boy?
He was a white.
I would agree with that. He's a bitch ass fucking motherfucker, dude. I'm sorry, he's a bitch.
Out there in opposition to fucking to a black civil rights protest, that's the moral fucking crime and the reason why you shouldn't have been out there with a fucking gun. Okay.
That doesn't mean that he can't defend himself though.
Then why did
he can't defend himself because
why did the bicep guy go out there with an unlicensed
he can't defend himself, or he's not allowed to defend himself?
It just wasn't renewed.
He can't defend himself Because
So why did the guy that
wait,
got blown up in the bicep go out there with an unlicensed firearm concealed?
Wait.
Let Viv finish, please.
He can't defend himself because him being there in aid of a white supremacist cause is in fact an act of aggression.
Yes.
So going out there.
Okay, wait,
the
so
guy-
really-
Wait, so then what should have happened to him, Vivian?
Okay, what should have happened to him?
Yeah, when they jumped him, what should have happened to him?
TOS
Okay.
warning.
Police should have picked him up long before that.
I mean,
Instead of giving him water bottles.
I want to hear this answer.
TOS warning.
Well,
Exactly.
we know the
He's
answer.
not morally permitted to defend himself. What should have happened?
Kyle
Dick Biggins, thanks for the follow.
Yep.
That name's fucking awesome.
White supremacist vigilantes who were out there should have been
Dick
fucking
Biggins.
run out of town
I like
by
it.
the protesters who exist.
Thanks for joining
who were
us.
there, right? And I would even go so further as to say that like pretty much all those protesters should have been fucking armed. I'm fucking so sick of seeing this shit happen. I'm so sick of seeing fucking people running over protesters with cars. I'm so sick of seeing fucking white supremacists barreling through crowds.
One of the protesters.
Let's go.
Vivian, what does run out of town mean?
One of the protesters. One of the protesters was armed, unlicensed,
Yeah, he
unlawfully
was.
concealed.
Wait.
Rittenhouse defended
I'm
himself.
not making
His
I'm not
permit was not
making a-
renewed.
I'm not making
That's
a
all.
legal
It was a
argument
renewal
here.
issue.
I'm making a moral
Hey.
argument here.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and I'm
can I respond to
moral-
I
that?
don't give a fuck about
Opposite
the
to
law.
that.
What I've just advocated for is
Vivian, what does run out of town mean? What does that constitute?
Wait, no. Before we get to that, though, so are you saying that?
Wait,
wait.
so
Hold
they-
Hold on.
That
Go
means
ahead.
they should have used the minimum
Beta!
amount of force necessary to fucking get them out of the fucking area.
Doobie.
Okay. So to be clear, you're saying that given that, so this was a community that the night before buildings were set on fire, right? And some of the business owners in this community did ask for people to help them protect their stores, right? And this is a community that he had worked in before, that he was very familiar with, his father lived in, right? So you're saying that if he's out there trying to defend his community from people that are burning down buildings, he's not stopping the protest. He's not counter-protesting. He's just trying to keep people from burning down buildings in this community. Do you think this aligns him with white supremacy, and that makes it reasonable for somebody to run him out of town?
He was demonstrably fucking there alongside white supremacist militias.
I
Should
mean,
he be
I
run
think
out of
if
town?
he's
if
He's
he
also
going out
providing
to
first
drinks
aid to
with
people.
White,
Wait, that's
hey,
not.
It's not that, Doobie. It's more specifically the fact that he has aligned himself in several photographs and images with like Proud Boys and stuff. Like
Wait, that was-
he was fantasizing about shooting people before he went there. What are you guys talking about?
Okay, wait 1 second.
Yes.
Ben, that's dishonest, Ben, because that happened later, right? I'm talking about what happened that night. So that night,
but-
he and those other people were there
Doesn't
to
matter.
defend buildings because people had been setting shit on fire in the town that
Doobie,
day
I have a
before.
question for you. Do you think that let's say, and it's okay to put your own opinion out there, speculate on this, all right? Do you think that these same group of people that he went out to drink with a few nights after it happened, do you reasonably believe, like I do, that he would have probably also shared a drink with them a few nights before? Or do you think his entire worldview changed in that time between the shooting and the time he went out to drinks with those guys? Do you
I don't
really believe that his entire world?
I don't
changed?
think that
Why does that
having it.
matter?
I don't think that being invited to a bar and going out and having a drink with people that are supporting you after this very traumatic thing you went through automatically means that you support and endorse everything that those people believe.
He has a lot of
Let's
of
get to the-
social media
no,
posts that
but
say
I'd
otherwise.
But I'd appreciate it if you could just answer the question. So, are you saying that because this was a pro BLM potential riot, and that these people would have been burning these buildings down in support of BLM, anybody who would have kept them from burning down those buildings was in support of white supremacy and should be run out of should have been run out of town?
Oh, am I saying that?
Yeah, that's what you said. That he was because he was there with these people to keep people from burning down those buildings, which is what they were doing. Right?
Do you really think he was there to stop burning buildings down?
That's exactly what he's doing. He's on video doing exactly that. He's
I don't
not on
care
video
what he
harassing
says or
people.
does.
He's not on video
Hey, look
harassing
at-
people.
look at-
or
look at-
violating
look
people
at-
or-
Vaush, give it a try.
Okay.
Ask me the question.
Okay, hold on. First of all, like, let's not pretend, okay? Hanging out with Proud Boys is pretty fucking telling. Like, come on. No matter what situation you've been through, okay? If no matter what traumatic situation you go through, if afterwards you're hanging out with the Proud Boys, it's telling. Does it automatically indicate anything 100%? No, nothing can, but it's something. When we're talking about, like, going in to defend a community, the issue is that this is almost euphemistic for a lot of groups. Because defending the community has been a centuries-old rallying cry for white supremacy in America. You can go back as far as the Ku Klux Klan, but very often a desire to oppose civil rights, to oppose blacks' voting rights, or, I mean, there's a ton of stuff. Usually, like, it's not always rallied behind with, like, yeah, let's go fuck up black people or whatever. And I don't think Kyle Rittenhouse wanted to do that, by the way. But it usually gets heavily tied into the idea that people need to, usually white people, usually, like, pro-police white people, need to organize to defend communities, usually in a way that involves violence, threats, and intimidation, which open carrying near a protest unquestionably is. Now, does that mean it's wrong to open carry at a protest? Not inherently. I mean, I think the Black Panthers did it with a lot of rapport and discipline, which I think was respectable. I don't even necessarily have an issue with using violence to defend your property. I know there are a lot of dirty commies on here who will say, like, oh no, a human life is a delicate flower which must never be infringed upon, no matter the... No, that's bullshit. Like, if people are... Yeah, so I'm not defending any of that shit. However, what Kyle Rittenhouse did is historically and contemporarily a terrible way of defending communities. It exacerbates tensions, it heightens like the likelihood of violence significantly. It's just not a good way of handling things. So let's back away from, like, the idea that whether or not Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist hinges on the explicit intent of his actions, because I think that both parts of that equation are wrong. What we should ask ourselves is, was Kyle Rittenhouse being motivated to perform a useful, helpful civic function, and is what he did aligned historically with what white supremacy has often looked like in this country? And to me, the answers to those two questions are no and yes, respectively.
Okay, but wait, can you charge someone with murder based on that? Because yeah, I agree with you entirely, but no, okay,
no, he's gonna walk.
Okay. No. Wait, I know. I understand.
I'm not saying.
I understand. No.
So then, why are you asking a question then? If you understand.
I'm asking a question. Just let me get through it. I agree with, like, literally everything Vaush just said. What I'm asking here is, okay, if he's guilty of doing that action, which I agree with Vaush, what should be the legal punishment for it?
I don't think it influences the legal outcome.
Exactly.
It can, right?
My thing is, it's really difficult because I believe his intent was absolutely to go there to kill people. I believe his intent was absolutely bad. But I believe I believe his intent was to go LARP, and he fantasized about killing people, as we could see through the video before. There we go. I specified a little bit better. All right. Regardless of that, the exact situation of that exact killing, I think, is well and justified self-defense, even if he's bad enough of a human being to actually do it not in self-defense. The issue is, bad people can do technically morally justified actions while remaining bad people. I think Kyle Rittenhouse is a terrible human being.
Bad people can do morally justified actions, right? But if the KKK marches through your fucking neighborhood, that is an act of aggression on their part. And if you go up and kick them in the fucking face, morally, not legally, right? You are entirely justified in doing so. And them fighting back is not fucking self-defense.
Why is that an act of aggression?
Because they threw the first
why is that an act of aggression?
Wait, hold on. Wait, 1 second. Wait, hold on, Ben. 1 second.
How's that an act of aggression?
Ben, wait 1 second, Ben, please. So what if the KKK is in a neighborhood and then people go into that neighborhood and set shit on fire? Like, did the KKK not get to, like, defend themselves? Do they just need to stand there and take it? They don't get to defend themselves.
No, the KKK have no place in a civilized fucking society.
Okay.
Should be run out of every.
So these people.
But what about
wait 1
who
second.
think
No,
the
wait 1
exact
second.
opposite of you?
So you think that because he's aligned himself with white supremacy, quote unquote, that he has no ability to defend his community or these businesses that they've been asked to defend or any of these things because they're on the wrong side of an issue?
It's not the wrong side of an issue. It's that they're going to adjudicate that action with a bias.
If he's taking action in support of that agenda, then no.
Wait, but the action he was taking was not allowing people to set fire to a building.
The
And
action
to be clear, the reason they were there, The night is because the night before buildings were set on fire. That night, he and others in the group prevented other buildings from being set on fire.
He went
Right,
there
so
with
it seems-
hypervigilance in mind, and he was going there to be hypervigilant towards a certain group of people.
Yeah, a certain group of people that were setting buildings on fire.
Wasn't there
Yeah.
even days where he was just like scrubbing off graffiti off the walls, just trying to repair some of the damage and doing the cleanup afterwards? Like, wasn't that there?
Why do we even entertain this?
I love this
That is
rehab.
technically true,
Because it's a
Viv.
fact
I'm
that's
sorry,
in the case,
but that
and you
is
don't
something
like
that happened.
that fact. Viv.
It's also true that he went out to the protesters and he
Turner
offered
likes
them.
that fact,
Hold on,
Vivian.
he went
Keep
off.
simping for the clan, you
He went off. Okay, shut up.
was simping
He
for the
went.
clan?
Hold on. He went out to the protesters, right, and he offered them medical aid, right. The only medical attention that I saw him that we have video of him doing is to one of the protesters.
First aid kit.
right?
That's not.
Wait, hold on. But he went out and he offered them help, and he bandaged up some of these protesters that you guys were saying that he was there to kill.
I am not saying that he was there to kill people. Okay, that was
What
better.
I said?
I'm not
And I
listening.
specifically-
No.
Shut
I
up,
specifically-
clarified
and I
Golly.
that he
specifically-
infantilized.
and I
Wait,
specifically-
let
and I
me finish.
And I specifically objected to him when he said he went to kill, and he did then amend his statement.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
I
did not
yeah.
say he went there to kill. I said his presence there was in fact an act of aggression.
Here's the
being
thing.
He was allied with demonstrably white.
Yeah, so
And
strangely
then you
enough,
call
even,
him
I know
a
that there are a lot of
murderer.
people in this
Okay.
voice channel, Viv. When someone says something, it's not always directed at you. Okay, I know that
Yeah,
Ben
hold
said.
on.
Here's my
Yeah.
problem
We
is
got a
every
lot of
time
bad
somebody
blood here.
mutters,
A lot of fucking
everybody,
bad faith in
they're,
it. Yeah.
every time I hear a right winger mutter about defending property and property being burnt, a lot of this property being financed by big banks that are getting bailed out all the time, but that's a whole total different thing. It's funny that this same defense of property thing is never talked about when some stupid NHL team wins and burns half of a downtown, or when University of Kentucky wins in basketball, or et cetera, et cetera. I always see it when
Wait,
there is
that's
some
not
sort of
true.
civil
What?
rights thing. Wait a second. Governor
tell me where
Reagan
the
in
fucking armed
1976
militias are and-
does the Mulford Act because the Black Panthers are walking around with rifles, and all of a sudden, Republican Governor Reagan doesn't want the Second Amendment right to be practiced by American citizens. So it is about race. It will always be about race, and that's how it's always going to be. So to come here and whitewash it, literally and figuratively, washing the walls off or defending what? I mean, look at how Walmart is constructed.
Not
is
Walmart.
constructed
These
to
are
be-
local businesses.
don't
Yeah,
care about
yeah.
Walmart. Don't interrupt
I think
me.
the problem is the local
Don't interrupt
businesses,
me.
even the black local businesses. Like,
no, I don't care.
Yeah, all
Wait,
those black local
these
businesses
buildings are built in a
businesses.
way that really don't last more than 5 to 10, 15. I mean, we are assigning so much value to something that is of no value in this country.
their
Everything
entire
that
lives
everyone's
can be
on loan.
destroyed, and there is value there. You
All
take
of-
away a person's livelihood,
show
and
me
they're
the balance.
already
Show
struggling
me
black
the-
people, and then
So
you're
they're
taking
all
away their
paid off.
livelihood. Maybe
All
their
these
family
buildings are paid
photos
off and there's no
were in
insurance.
that. Maybe their family photos
Okay,
were in there, or there was
no, that's not-
sentimental
no.
things. These are destructive measures, and
If
if
we-
you don't have the appropriate insurance for rioting,
I'm
It
not-
don't
your
matter how many
family's
fires you put
destroyed
out
over
if you're
this.
shooting somebody.
not
want
pro-property
to
destruction.
mitigate- If we want to mitigate that damage, okay, here are some facts. Rioting is a natural component of the human condition. It has been practiced in every country on earth. It has been practiced in pre-modern society. It is a thing that happens. And the way we have to deal with it is with proper police responses. That is the way to mitigate damage done by protests and by rioting. You control where the protests are, you control where they go, you have strong police walls that don't instigate violence, but do prevent them from reaching certain residential areas.
But the
You
police couldn't even fucking do that. 'cause
well,
they were
well,
instigating violence all over the
hold on, let me get to the punchline. There are preemptive measures that you can take. I know it sucks and that it's not fair. Boarding up your windows as a small business owner must be a terrifying and harrowing experience that I couldn't even imagine. The knowledge that you have so much money, your whole livelihood wrapped up in like one building, and you have to board it up because you know protests for something that you maybe even support are going to be rolling by soon. I know that can be really difficult, or at least I assume. I imagine it's difficult. But the solution to this is not encouraging vigilante militias to maraud your neighborhood with firearms. That's just not. It's just not a good. It's an ineffective way of handling it. The best way to do this is to expect more from your police, and police in America have historically done a pretty bad job at riot management. I know, for instance, in the LA riots after the Rodney King decision, the police were so legendarily not just incompetent but malicious in how they directed crowds that they amplified property damage and deaths far more than what we saw.
So I get a message from one of the panelists, one of the right wingers.
We need to expect more of them.
Says,
that's the most
you'd
that
put
we can
out
do
more
with regards
fires
to damage
if people
mitigation.
weren't chasing
Because
you and
protests are
threatening
gonna
your
happen,
life.
And
I
we're
sent
not
back,
helping it.
He should have
by
gone LARPing as a
encouraging
firefighter instead of a
people to act as
militiaman.
militia members and engage in behavior that, let's be real, might lead to more riots in the future.
Okay, but Vaush, if you're wait 1 second, but Vaush, if we're given that we're currently living in a state where the police aren't very reliable when it comes to managing riots, they aren't very good at keeping people from burning down buildings from getting hurt. They might even push people. In fact, there's evidence that they were involved in starting some of these riots and breaking into buildings and shit to set some of this stuff off. So, given that this is a reality we live in, don't you think it's reasonable for people who don't trust that the police are going to do enough to protect their livelihood to want to stand out there with a gun with their friends and to keep people away from the building?
Yeah, yes, wait. Okay, so like I
Which one
agree
of
with
these
you,
property
Vaush,
owners
that
assigned
it
him the
shouldn't be-
responsibility for that? Which one of these property owners assigned him the responsibility?
I just want to respond to that. Yeah, it's totally reasonable. Maybe not with Rittenhouse, because there were other circumstances, but if you're going out there and it's like your business or whatever, I think there's a natural human impulse to do stuff like that. However, unless you really know what you're doing and really have the community backing to protect your neighborhood, not just the one business, but it can't just be one person. That will not hold off a riot. You need a lot of people, and you need to indicate that rioters cannot come near your property. Unless you can manage that, it's just a really big gamble. I understand why people would want to do it, but it's just generally not
Do you know who I would call in for that? It wouldn't be the fucking Kenosha Guard.
Hey,
Sorry,
I have a
sorry. So
question for Doobie
like
then,
I agree with what you're saying, Vaush, that like it shouldn't be like vigilante behavior should not be like encouraged in the United States. But yes, I agree with Doobie that like the climate right now and the distrust in the police, and they don't handle these situations very well. But also, I would like to add on this is that a lot of the time you hear this thing where well, this black kid in this neighborhood was bred and raised to commit these crimes and such. So I could see the same thing if these were his friends and the people, his coworkers and everyone around him, and he's an impressionable teenager. He may have been pushed into this idea that he needs to start being vigilante, just like his peers, just like the people he looks up to, just like his mentors. So you can understand why he wanted to be there, to be like the people that he respected.
This is such a dishonest
wait,
fucking
wait.
argument, because the
Wait.
idea that these people didn't trust the police when they're waving fucking Blue Lives Matter flags, when fucking Carl Rittenhouse was a fucking Blue Lives Matter kid, like the idea they don't trust the police to do this shit, like this is just so fucking stupid.
On the next episode of Rehab a Killer.
Is it ethical to defend?
I just want to. That's my name. I just want to respond to that. I do understand why people would do that, but we still have to push against it, you know? Like, if you want to get all sociological about it, the reasons why people become neo-Nazis also totally make sense, right? If there are some descriptive things you believe about the world, like you're taught them, or like you go in a bad internet forum or whatever, it really doesn't take that many logical leaps to arrive at some of the worst political positions imaginable.
I get drunk regularly.
But, like, once you understand that, understanding is the first step, and then, like, the second step is, like, how does my understanding help counter it, you know? So for people like Kyle Rittenhouse, like, this is a cop-worshipping kid, probably like had a lot of fantasies growing up about how he could be like the Lone Star hero. Yeah. I know I had those fantasies growing up.
A lot of teenagers, especially young boys, experience this feeling. Yeah.
I don't think Rittenhouse is that different from a lot of people, you know? Maybe he's more politically right-wing than I am, but I understand how he's acting on a lot of community impulses that are sort of generally prominent. But we still have to push back against it in this, especially in this particular form, you know, because there's always more to it than just community defense, right? Like, we can look at Rittenhouse's politics. His politics don't begin and end at community defense. There's a lot wrapped up in there, and you have to think of ways like, how do we culturally discourage this? One of the ways you could do it is by not having any rioting and, you know, go bet on that horse at the racetrack, I guess, if you're gonna wish on a star. But you can also encourage like better behavior from police, like reform that make them more trustworthy in situations like this, so that they respond to protests not by instigating violence or causing it, you know, property damage themselves, but rather by like effectively controlling and minimizing the damage, stuff like that. Or your cultural narratives about BLM. We know conservatives were exaggerating the damage done by BLM. They're literally burning cities, and we have the bill from all the damage BLM has done, and considering that it was the largest civil rights protest in our country's history and it lasted months and months and it was all over the country, not really that bad. Not to say there weren't.
2 days of
What's
a
up,
war.
folks? Thanks for jumping in with us.
Yeah. Like in
Looks like we
terms
got
of
a
like
lot
the money
here. Hey,
America
if you haven't hit
throws
that
around,
follow button,
the
go ahead and hit
conservatives
that.
were talking like our country's infrastructure was literally like
Yeah, hit that follow button.
It's only because
Yeah, make sure I'm on the right platform.
it was so
Either follow or
noteworthy.
subscribe.
Like,
You
like,
can
like,
subscribe
like, and
too.
to say that we are in such strife
But you
that this
know.
is actually what happened. It
Do
is,
what you
it
wanna
is a
do,
noteworthy
ladies.
thing to talk about.
Oh,
That's why we're
sure.
talking
Hop in
about
the
it.
chat. We want to hear what you think.
I'm only.
The focus on the BLM protests said nothing about the fucking like over 100 vehicular attacks on protesters, etc. The narratives that we created around these riots and protests, right, was utterly fucking disgusting, hyperbolic, and was aimed to paint the BLM protesters in the worst possible fucking light.
And that does create like Rittenhouse type dealios where people
Exactly.
see all this and they get a really imbalanced perspective on what's going on, and they get like super doomer, like, because Rittenhouse probably thinking like, oh shit, America's under attack, you know. So he goes on out there, and you know what happens, and we have to reflect on whatever cultural trends brought us to that point. That's my only argument.
And he picked the wrong fucking community because of the information. But the problem is, right, you have two ways of attacking these things. You have to recognize the social things that are going on, right? What we were talking about in the media, what we were talking about, various narratives around the protests and so on, and you have to fight back against that. And that's how you stop more Rittenhouses being created. But once a Rittenhouse has been fucking created, then you need to deal with the individual. You have to defend against that shit. So
Rittenhouse within.
I wanna hear from Turk. He hasn't said anything. And Ben.
So I've got a couple different things. So just to, Vaush, I know you love like theorizing stuff, right? So if Rittenhouse didn't have the AR-15, okay, and he just had his fire extinguisher in one hand, his med kit in one hand, but he had a pocket knife in his pocket, right? And he goes in and he's in the exact same situation with
hey, what's up, DJ? How you doing, man?
And he happened to kill
See
the guy by
I
stabbing
don't
him in
know.
the throat.
Have my
Would
suspicions.
that be considered the same?
I've seen it pretty wild a couple nights on
now,
here.
because he's using a different tool to defend himself.
Well, morally, I think I would be more favorable, in large part because you can't, like, he wouldn't have been open carrying it, you know? The big implied threat of bringing, like, an AR-15 to one of those protests is, like, walking around as a visible, like, yeah, I'm a militia member, yeah, I'm escalating violence through my presence, yeah, my presence around you could mean, like, death for any one of us at any time because I have a machine that can kill instantly. Stuff like that, you know? Like, that's what a gun is.
Okay,
but if you
so-
have a knife, the potential for violence is concealed.
But your concept of Rittenhouse being out there providing fire extinguishing services or providing a bandage boo-boo kit to whoever asks for it, or saying, hey, you dislocated your shoulder, there's a hospital down the street. You're cool with Rittenhouse being out there doing what he was doing without an AR-15.
It's just the fact that he was brandishing a weapon.
Well,
it's not just the fact that he was brandishing.
I'm asking Vaush, Vivian, shush.
Fuck you.
I'm sorry, Vivian.
Jesus fucking Christ. It's just so obnoxious.
It's obnoxious because I'm asking someone else other than you.
Yeah, basically.
It exacerbates the issue massively, I think. My issue isn't going out when there's a protest, and my issue also isn't having the capacity to defend yourself if attacked. It's the combination of open carrying with being there as part of a militia, with being there as part of a broader cultural narrative against the aims of the movement that people were protesting in favor of. So if he came there as a medic, but still like a conservative, like anti-BLM type, but he wasn't open carrying and instead had a knife, I mean, I guess I wish he wasn't a conservative, but I wouldn't like look at him and go like, why did he bring that knife, you know?
So it sounds like the act he was doing was okay. The fact he had a firearm on him was the big boo-boo. And
he just said it wasn't just the firearm. Holy shit! Like...
Open carrying is the big act that exacerbates the potential for violence and escalates.
And that's why I asked for clarity, Vivian. Jesus, shut up.
Also, him being there with the fucking militia members and so on.
Right. If he didn't have a gun, but they all had guns, then it would.
Yeah, but like you just conceded, you wouldn't be upset about that. You'd be like, whatever.
Even
So-
if none of them had guns, right, but they were still quite obviously there in opposition to the BLM protesters, that's still a fucking act of aggression. It's not quite to the same level of danger. Don't give me the fucking
fact,
how.
For the record here, Vivian is going one step past what Vaush is saying,
Yes.
and saying that them just being there is an act of aggression, and they should be
Yes.
they shouldn't be able to defend themselves at all.
Because they're
Not,
against
but
Black Lives
I have
Matter.
no say. I have no say over whether or not they should be able to. The thing that I'm saying is that I don't believe that they can be defending themselves if they are the first ones to commit an act of aggression.
Oh,
But why
Them
aren't
just
these
being-
rioters
them
committing
just being there is
logic?
aggression?
It's basic logic, dude. Sorry.
Defending property is an act of aggression, according to Vivian.
Is that what I said?
I don't-
Did I say
That's
defending property?
Were
Did I
they?
say that?
Was he
Well, you
asked to
said them
defend
being
that
there.
property? Was he assigned to defend that property?
incredibly
To
bad
ask-
faith can you
To
be?
answer Jason's
Like-
question, was he asked to be there? Yes, it is
How
on record in the.
incredibly bad faith
Was
can
he
Who
you
was he
be?
deputized by the
contacted by?
sheriff?
He was contacted by.
He
You can go and look
deputized.
at the court records. Someone from the car source asked them to be there to actually defend the property.
And was he by the car source when he shot those people?
He was running between like 2 and 3.
He was heading to another location where fires were being
Yes.
lit, and he was going to
So,
put out
so
the
he
fires.
he wasn't at the place he was supposed to be guarding. Is that what you're saying?
No,
They
he was
fought.
running.
Hold on,
He was
hold on.
running. There were two locations.
Yeah, there
There's
were
two
two
locations.
locations,
He's
and the
running
other
to the other
location
location.
was about to be set on fire or was getting set on
Hey,
fire, and
hey,
he was
Jake.
actually radioed and asked, or no, on the cell phone asked to go to the location. So he
Yeah,
was
he's running
going
to
where
the
he
fire
should be.
extinguisher.
He was going as a body to
He's
actually
a
put out the
fireman
fire.
with an AR-15.
He left multiple times.
Nine out of 10.
So-
9 out of
so-
10.
Wait, why does that matter?
9 out of 10. Give it a try.
All right, so real quick, I want to respond to this, and then I have a specific question for Vivian. All right, so one, if you actually look at the video, mainly the main video that they threw out or said that they couldn't zoom in on because it was like a drone, the car lot of which he was actually told to defend is to the left, and the fire he was called to go put out is like 1 block to the right. So I'm sorry on that one, Jason, you're kind of wrong.
No, I was
still don't
asking the
like
question
Rittenhouse.
because I didn't know. That's why I was asking.
Oh, okay. You're good.
And we
You're
provide
good.
clarity.
All right, cool. Anyways, I have a specific question for Viv. Viv, happy? All right. Anyways, so if your take is that he had no right to be there, and that because he had no right to be there, now all of a sudden he has no right to defend himself. What
No, he has a-
exact change to the law? And if I misinterpret what you're saying, or
Okay, I'll
anything,
tell you
please point it
afterwards.
out.
Just finish.
Beta! Okay. What exact change would you make to the law to make Rittenhouse guilty instead of innocent? And how would that actually affect other people who might also be innocent in the same exact scenario at a BLM protest on the left?
This entire situation is a result of disorganized protest, in my opinion. Right? I don't think there should necessarily be a change to the law. I think there should be many changes to the law, but I don't think there should be a
you
change
think
to the law
Rittenhouse should
pertaining
be
to
in jail?
this.
Yes or no? Do you think
Right.
Rittenhouse should be in jail? Yes or no? Okay.
No, I think he should be
Rittenhouse-
dead.
Okay, fine. Let's assume he doesn't die, just because there's no point in even venturing into this if he's dead.
Right, there is a
change
point
in
of
law-
venturing into it, right? Because
No,
I don't have a prescription for a change in law. I don't think there should be a change
Okay,
in law
well-
according to this. I don't mean.
Well, if
What?
law is codified morality, and you're saying morally Rittenhouse is wrong, but then you're saying there shouldn't be any change in the law. then that's just
Morally, a lot of
inconsistent.
morally, a lot of things are wrong, but we don't fucking legislate against them. I would say cheating on your
I
partner is
agree.
fucking wrong.
That
but I'm
out
not
of Ben
gonna
is
put
actually
somebody in
a
fucking
really
jail
good
for it,
lying
right?
legal
because of
mind.
First
He
Amendment. And the
hates this
reason-
part of the
and
law.
what
He
is
is
the
not happy
reason
about
why,
it.
Though? The reason
But he
why
understands
is
it.
because
Like
anytime we
I'm
crack
not
down
disappointed
on
in
those
9 out of
certain
Ben at all.
things,
Like
it
he's
leads
actually
to
based as fuck.
unintended consequences.
Right,
It's
so
just he
I'm not
understands the
arguing
legal
for- I'm not
realities, and the
arguing
legal
for
realities
state action in
fucking
this
suck.
case,
They're
am
gonna
I?
let this guy off.
Okay.
Wait, so you're saying
the
these
reason I-
people should have
Hold up.
run him
So-
out, and if they resist being run out, he should have been killed?
Yes.
Okay, but here's the issue. When you are allowing something like that to happen, then you inherently allow somebody to take it into their own power and be a vigilante. If you're saying
Yes.
no state action, is allowed, but also
I
Kyle
didn't say no
Rittenhouse is
state action is allowed. I don't have control over
Okay,
what the state do.
I'm saying,
Of course we did, Lucy. You threw me with the new name, though. It took me a second.
But now
I had to look at the profile picture. I was like, oh, I know who that is.
But the left is. I'm sorry, like you can't input that into a legal system and have it.
I'm not saying. Wait,
they're not talking about
I
a
think
legal
you're.
system, and they're not even talking about running people out of town anymore. They just want to kill Kyle.
Yeah, basically what Vivian's saying is that
You just said you want him dead. You said he's
yeah,
dead.
you said that if these people
basically
show up,
saying that-
Openly
show up to
That's
defend
what
these
I'm
buildings,
saying.
you want them dead.
I'm
Yeah,
saying.
Viv
I'm
is saying that some people
Oh,
are
Viv is
okay
saying-
to be vigilantes, but other people aren't.
Well, that's basically what Viv is allowing.
Yeah, and if you're
That's
either
the system
counter
Viv is allowing.
protesting
Oh, Viv is
or
saying-
protecting the
Viv is
building that
saying-
her
Viv is
group
saying-
might burn down, she thinks you should be killed.
Viv is saying.
Yeah.
Viv is
I
saying.
wanna-
Viv is saying.
I want to make a point.
What else is? What else
No,
is
Viv,
Viv
correct
saying?
Viv, what is your
Lots
prescription?
of, lots of dumb
Viv,
shit.
Viv,
coming.
What is your
Go, Viv.
prescription?
When I
What's your
say he should be,
prescription?
when I say he should be dead, what I'm
Did I
saying
just
is
hear
right.
the N word from
that-
Viv?
What? No.
The N word.
What was the which
Stop
particular
trying to
N word?
pivot.
Which
Stop.
The
word?
N word.
Don't say it a third time. Don't
No,
say it a
Don't
third
say it
time.
again.
I didn't say the N word. No.
You're gonna
Oh,
summon
I see,
Destiny.
I see, I see.
Answer Doobie's question, Vivian.
What? Don't
So what is your
you fucking
prescription?
order me around, you cunt.
It's not a legal prescription. It's a moral prescription.
You
With
guys
some
are
more.
really asking stupid questions, to be honest, of Vivian.
What is it?
I mean,
what is?
It's
What
not a
is?
stupid
Oh
question.
my fucking god!
What was
is?
the
no,
question?
no, it is really stupid. Like you guys are all circle jerking about these dumb like hypotheticals that
I've been
really
gooning this
get us
entire time.
He was
I've
morally and
I've
ethically
literally
wrong
been
to be
saying
there
that
and to do
everything
what
that
he
you guys are
did.
talking about doesn't matter to whether or not he's like did self-defense.
Ideally,
At the
He
end
was
of the day,
morally
he
and
was running
ethically
away.
wrong to be there and do what he did.
At
That's
the
all I'm
end
going to
of the
say.
day, at the end
Whatever
of the day,
happens with the law
nothing
is the law.
before. At the end of the day, nothing before what he was doing when he ran away. Anything that you want to say he was doing before that, he was running away. So legally, and in this situation, anything that he did before is now null and void. None of that fucking matters because he was running
Totally matters.
away from the situation, and somebody continued to aggress upon him. At
Yeah.
that time, he now has a right to
because he
defend
shot
himself.
According to the
Simple
law,
as
he
that.
could have been
No, no,
running
no,
down
no.
the street going
Sorry.
N-word, 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 and no one's
Guys,
allowed to
just let
assault you for
Vivian
that.
dig
We
her
can
grave.
shame you and whatever. You can file a
keep
report.
we keep going in
Like-
circles
Yeah,
here.
they
Like,
should be-
Vivian is not making Vivian is not making a legal argument. Even as Vivian is making a moral argument.
Well,
So I'm
I mean,
asking
I'm making
Vivian,
a moral
she's not going to
argument.
make a
I'm
legal
making-
prescription as to what we should change in the law. What is the moral prescription? What should have happened to Kyle?
What I started saying, right? This entire situation is a result of disorganized protest. Fucking protesters should be organized. They should be fucking armed, and then it's very likely that Kyle wouldn't have fucking shot anybody anyway. Because when you come up against a large group of armed protesters, much less violence is likely to occur. We saw this.
Wait,
We saw this
hold
with.
up.
We
What
saw
about
this
mob
with the
mentality?
Hold up,
We
hold up,
saw
hold
this
up,
with
stop,
the-
stop, stop, stop,
Let
stop.
them
We
say
saw
what
this
they
with
think for the
the-
love of
we
God.
saw this with the- It's amazing, isn't it? They want to tell me what I've said, but they don't want to actually listen to what I actually say. It's amazing. Fuck me.
So okay.
So what are we? Sorry,
so
really
we-
quickly. What are we currently
Sounds like a church
discussing?
trial.
Well, I think we're discussing why I said that Carl Rittenhouse should be dead, right? I don't think he should be dead. Honestly, I think that the entire event could have been fucking avoided by having. I'm not fucking backtracking. I'll get to it, okay? Just keep your dick in your pants for 5 seconds instead of spaffing all over the place, you dweeb. Now, I think a properly organized protest this wouldn't have fucking happened, basically, right? Because he would have been faced with a wall of armed protesters, and there would be no fucking way that you're going to open fire against a whole bunch of people like that, right? It would just be suicide.
Lucy, try
Really
refreshing. We were having
saw this
connection
happen
problems
with the
earlier,
Black- with
but
the
like
Black
I'm not
Panthers when
getting
they
any
marched in the
alerts now. We got
courthouse.
really,
Now,
really
after
strong
the
bit rate
protest,
right now.
Right, there was a lot of retribution from the police, and there were gunfights and so on, and certain members were assassinated and so on. But during the protest, entirely peaceful. We saw this at Charlottesville, where a group of armed fucking anarchists took control of the park, and that was like a fucking sea of peace in the middle of an absolute fucking hellscape of violence, right? Because none of these fashy fucks wanted to charge in against a group of organized
Answer
armed
the question.
protesters. So that shouldn't have fucking happened. Now, if you don't have that, right? If you have somebody who's just fucking shot somebody who is at your protest and you have a gun, you He should have fucking shot him. The dude who had the fucking pistol should have fucking domed that kid.
There we go.
The two people who fucking rushed him in the street were fucking heroes because
He
they
was
had a
trying
fucking.
to,
There was an
and
armed.
Rittenhouse did self-defense.
As far as
This is
they
my
were
problem is
aware,
you guys
They died as martyrs.
Okay, hold on, hold on.
as far as they were aware, there was an active shooter on scene who had already fucking killed somebody, and they attempted to disarm him. Now you can say that was stupid, right? But when people try and do this in other situations, like, we still recognize the certain degree of bravery and heroism on putting their life on the line to protect the other people around them.
Vivian,
Okay.
Oh, hold on, stop. Hold on.
Can I interject,
Hold
please?
on.
Seriously.
Hold on, shut up. Doobie, only facts, and then Turk. Okay.
So yeah, actually, I just want to clarify what you said, Vivian, because what I heard was kind of batshit crazy. So I want to make sure that you weren't saying that thing. Right. So my understanding is that you said that people who are there to protect property, quote unquote, were there on the side of white supremacy, and because they were there on the side of white supremacy, they have no right to defend themselves, and the protesters should have run them out of town when they got there, and that if they resisted being run out of town by these protesters, they should have been killed. That's what I heard you say.
Depends
right?
on it depends on the resistance. I said that you should use the minimum amount of force necessary to run them out of town. If they turn guns on you, then yeah, you should fucking shoot them.
Okay, so if they're just if they go there to wait one second. So if they go there, if this let's say that they're the actual owners of this car source thing, whatever the fuck it's called, right? And he's there with his family or his friends to defend his business from these protesters who the night before were setting things on fire. Do you think that those people should also be beaten and run out of town? Because them being there to defend this property puts them on the side of white supremacy?
It's not what I said. When I said I didn't
I'm
say
asking you a
that-
separate
see,
question.
That's the frustrating thing about this, right? Is that like I forget who it was now, said that they should be run out of town because they were there to defend property. That's not what I said at all, right? Like, we can recognize the broader context of the militia presence in that town in opposition to the Black Lives Matter protests, and we can recognize that like certain business owners might want to protect their property. Now, if they call on fucking groups like the Kenosha Guard to do that, they're allying themselves with fucking white supremacists, and that fucking sucks. That's a really bad fucking choice that you just made, all right? But if I was worrying about like my business, my house being fucking messed up by rioters, right? I would try and reach out to any organizations that were involved in the protest first, right? But if that was fucking unsuccessful, then I would reach out to other community groups to help me defend my property if I needed to. I would not reach out to like known white supremacist fucking militias to do it, right? It's exactly the same thing as.
Okay, the owners of CarSource did not ask Kyle Rittenhouse, according to an article from the Insider, to actually be there and do that. No?
No, they asked a group of people
We're out
of
of
which
line.
Kyle
Can
was
we
a part
get
of.
back in order.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they asked a group of people that
Can we get
Kyle
back in
was a
order?
part of.
We're working off a lot of hypotheticals here, but
No, it's not really. What I'm just kind of like boiled down on is if are you saying then that if you know,
I'm saying
let's say this business owner
is an act of aggression. That's why.
Let's say this business owner does reach out to the Kenosha Guard, and there's an indication that they might be like a racist white supremacist group. But all they're doing there is standing in front of this business and keeping people, primarily white people, from burning that business down. Right? Do you think that they still should be run out of town? And if they resist being run out of town, they should be attacked and beaten and even killed if they resist?
Depending on the level of their resistance, obviously.
Okay, so the answer is yes.
Kill somebody unless it's.
So yeah, your answer is yes.
From being
Let's go to
killed.
the next person.
But my answer is yes, because even if you're going to fucking give out lollipops to children with fucking Nazis, you've allied themselves with yourself with their cause, and allowing them to be quote unquote the defenders of the community, right, helps to raise their profile and advance their cause. That's not something that you gift to those fuckers.
I propose something.
Well, let me. So, only facts. Turek, Vaush, you jump in whenever. But okay.
I'll make it really quick. I'm tired of this being an interrogation of Vivian. Second of all, I'm really tired that we're not asking the right questions, such as the failure of the police. All the people here and in this country that want to talk about the thin blue line, and they're defending this and that and our safety. With all the goddamn MRAPs and vehicles and all the militarization of the police.
Dude,
Why the hell
I
can
want to
they
get
not
only
secure a
facts on our
goddamn,
show.
uh,
Only
gas
facts is
station
based
or a-
as
or a-
fuck,
or a
dude.
car
I like
dealership?
this cat, dude.
Why are they kettling protesters on bridges? Why in the '92 riots did they push people towards Koreatown? Blacks.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to find anybody
Korea.
disagreeing that the police fucked up and that there should be like
Doobie,
a...
stop. Doobie, I'm not being under interrogation at the moment.
Yeah, but you're
third of
just
all-
saying things that
No,
everybody's
I
agreeing
like
with.
only
That's what-
facts,
that's
too.
what we're talking
Only
about.
facts is fucking
Third of
dope,
all-
dude.
Third of all, don't make me go fanatic on you guys.
No, he's
Third of
going.
all-
He's going in, and I like what he has to say. He's genuine, and he's got a good fucking point. Like,
First of all, I live in Oklahoma, where it is.
he's one of the realest people I've seen
no
on these
permit
panels.
concealed carry and no permit open carry. So anybody walk around with whatever they want, concealed or not concealed, without a permit. I went to many a BLM protest. I went to when Trump visited, when Biden visited. There were times where property was damaged, and not at one time was there a LARPer out there with their legal weapon to I don't know, mete out justice or defend property. Because like you guys like to say, guns don't hurt people, bad people hurt people. And Kyle Rittenhouse is a bad person. Second of all, we talk so much about property. We act like it's some holy enshrined thing. But when Tulsa Black Wall Street burnt down, to this day, 100 years later, people still deny it even happened. Lots of other black property was burnt across this country. We don't talk about defense of other historical injustice. Only now, when it's a Starbucks or talk.
Yeah, why is any of this relevant to whether or not it was okay for them to defend their business in this community?
Well, that's not even the question. The
They didn't
question
hire
is whether
Rittenhouse, though.
Rittenhouse. But none of that's
Oh,
the
they weren't
question.
paying him,
though. The
so
question
it's
is whether or not
wrong.
Rittenhouse
Okay.
had a right to defend himself or not. Is he guilty or not? That's the question.
That's not the question.
I can adjust.
I don't
for you
care about
for
him being
things.
guilty or not. We have a fucked up justice system as it is. So he is guilty, he is not, is immaterial. We're coming at it from a systemic and a cultural sense, or at least that's where I'm coming at it. Culturally, we have a really fucked up social culture in this country. That's all. We can talk about the law. We can talk about definitions and pedantics. But that's all.
So hold on. Well, Vaush the Turk. Also, we are at a level 1 hype train. You guys want to help out the channel, enjoying the content?
Come
Help
on,
us
Vaush,
out.
give it to
Sub
me,
to the
baby.
channel. Gift
me
bits
go.
or gift subs. All that does help the channel. Allows us to keep doing this. We're at level 1 hype train. 70% left. Can we get to level 2
Hey,
hype
my
train?
people, if
These are those
you
people
can't
who
throw
are
me a
Vaush
sub
Turk.
or just don't
Okay.
like me enough to do it,
three
throw
things.
Prime a
Let
sub.
me go, Vaush. Let me go.
Help that fool out because
Control your
he's platforming our
Can I
channel
go-
a
can I go
lot.
real
He's really
quick?
helped
Let me
us
go
out.
right
He's helped us grow.
Thank you. I appreciate
I'm
it.
mad. Appreciate the dude.
So anyway, three things that I've had built up. Okay, first of all, only facts. You got to DM me what your camera is, okay? Because that field of view looks sick. Second of all,
It's nice.
it is nice. Second of all, I have to go. It's almost 11. But third of all, and this is the good bit. I think another thing that we can focus on here is responsibly teaching people how to respond to protests and riots, whether they're on the left or the right, whether they're for or against the content of the protests, okay? One of the things that I really enjoyed about 2020 was that during the Hong Kong protests, there was a lot of media circulating in the West that sort of came from them about responsible protesting tactics, you know, whether you're facing police violence or not, like, hey, we need people here who are medics, we need people here dealing with tear gas, bring extra t-shirts, bring this, bring that, bring milk, I don't know, have
I keep
fun.
pointing it out.
There's
I
like a
even
lot of
posted
like, really
it in the
interesting
Twitch chat,
technical
and people
stuff.
still haven't caught on.
There's no
Like,
room for it, like employment-wise,
they're-
but it could be like a
they're being
job,
willfully
you know, like
ignorant.
responding to protests, whether you're
Especially
there for or
fucking
against
Doobie.
it. So if we want to get anything
he's being
positive
a
out of this,
disingenuous
whether you're on the
little
left or the
shithead
right,
right now.
we should spread responsible messaging. What should you do if you think there's going to be a riot in your community? How do you help your community? How do you avoid violence, mitigate property damage? And there's a ton of resource out there for that online, very worth looking into, but we should pay attention to it, because if we all followed those guidelines, we would have a hell of a lot less property damage and a hell of a lot fewer deaths than if we all wanted to do our own John Wick, Rambo, vigilante, neighborhood protection squad shit, you know?
Thing is, like, the exact the exact thing that everybody's like, "Our car Rittenhouse totally has a fucking right to do," etc. The exact same thing that people were advocating for landed a fucking anarchist recently in prison for like fucking 2 years for saying that they should have that similar response to the Capitol riot, right?
Well, anarchists are friends, who cares?
So if you're asking
no,
do you want them both to be free or do you want them both to be arrested? If you're asking for consistency, which way?
All I'm
okay,
saying
no.
is that
I agree with you, consistency, but which way? Do you want them both incarcerated or both free? Pick one.
What, me?
Yes.
That's you.
I already said I don't give a fuck about the fucking legal position here. I think the law
So
is
both
like
of them
fucked
should be
in so
free?
many ways. What? Kyle?
Well, she thinks one should be killed and the other shouldn't be killed.
Yeah, she thinks one should be incarcerated due to their ideological
That's what I'm pointing out. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah,
all
that's
I'm
what
saying, all I'm saying is that if the next big fucking civil rights protest comes about, and I go on 4chan to see what fucking counter ops they're planning, and I see people sharing like, "Okay, guys, bring wet towels
always
so
send me
that you
some
can
glass.
like
I don't want
help
you to send me
people who have,
dead
like
and get yourself
fever,
in
like
trouble."
anyone who's injured. Okay, bring this. You know, bring tourniquets and
What?
make sure to bring
I
that. Like
can't,
that would make me a lot
like,
happier than people posting
say
pictures
okay
of
to
guns
that.
laid out in their bed. That's all I'm
Toss.
saying. Okay. I love you all very much. Legit a good convo. Good luck, Vivian. This you got a lot. You're all right. Y'all take care.
I'm
Take it easy.
Thank you so much, Vaush.
These people just have a problem because they've
and
never
if-
met a real anti-fascist.
And
Hey,
if you've been
yo,
enjoying the content so far, hit that follow button. You haven't done so yet. Hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on, so do this all the time. At
oh yeah, if
Switch
you get a
Social
sub, I
Chat
get more
for, all our social
more
media.
stuff
Oh,
unlocked for
Thank
the
you,
channel.
Anonymous Gifter, for the for sending your sub to a ridiculous amount. Thank you so much. It helps out a ton. Xbox Social and chat for our social media. Follow us on Twitter for updates. Discord is where we have all these conversations. We're having this conversation on Discord. If you want to be a part of this conversation, jump into the Discord. And YouTube is where you'll find the VODs. If you missed anything, go to our YouTube. Be a part of that. Subscribe, like, and comment. And that's where you'll find the VODs if you missed anything here. Okay. And guys, thank you for helping out the hype train. Thank you, Anonymous Gifter, for sending your sub. And Anonymous Gifter for gifting a sub to Face Sluts. Much appreciated. We're at level 3 hype train. Can we get to level 4 hype train? 68% done, 32% left. Thank you so much, everyone, for the kindness. All right.
Here on Prime's channel,
and
you'll
this is
find
all-
real anti-fascists
Hey,
who say that people should be murdered for defending property in their community.
Yeah, that's not what I said. But
Thank you very much for the follow, TJ
You'll
Beat
accuse
Zilla.
me of like some fucking ideological bias, right? But where's all the fucking outrage
Yes.
about? I mean, obviously, I have an ideological bias. I have an ideological bias against fucking white supremacism. Yeah, and I'm not fucking ashamed of that at all. And if you don't have that ideological bias, you're a fucking scumbag.
There's
Now-
nobody here who is
now,
in favor of white
But the problem is that
the
the problem is that the system does have that fucking bias because Kyle was fucking arrested. And if you look what happened in a very similar fucking situation, right? He was fucking assassinated
Fine,
by the
white
state.
supremacists.
Rhino
He
was
wasn't
assassinated by the
assassinated.
fucking
Oh,
state.
God.
Yes, he was. They rolled up in 2 fucking
I-
unmarked vans and they
Can I ask a
started
question?
firing without warning and they fucking murdered him in the street.
Can I ask a question? So if it was reversed and there were, it was a predominantly black-owned business community, a black community, and the KKK was rolling in to riot because whatever reason, would you feel the same way if the exact same thing turned out? Like, Kyle wasn't even from there. He came there sometimes to work, and then someone asked him to come defend.
for KKK, if the KKK
but they were
rolls in-
doing protests and whatever. Like obviously it's a weird shitty protest, but let's just say this is America and America does stupid shit, right? But like it would still be seen as self-defense.
So if the KKK rolled into town and was staging a fucking protest, right? And
And
were
Kyle was on
potentially
the other side. He was a black kid too, right?
And yeah. Then he would be in the right to be there and be trying to defend his community.
In
They
the
should
exact same way it played out.
I don't know exactly how all of these individual situations.
That's a
played
false
out.
equivalency, by the way. That's
I
a
said-
totally
I said-
horrible false equivalency.
Especially with how the police
It's not
interact.
entirely bad.
No, because
No,
it revolves around one group wanting to strip away another group's rights, whereas the other way around was about somebody fighting for their rights and somebody going in with a gun and fucking shooting people.
Well,
Like,
they're fighting for
that's
their
the
rights to
difference.
save their property.
So,
And
Jason,
by the
what
way,
fuck are
those
you
two
talking about?
attorneys
They
testified
ambushed-
on, or those
they
two
ambushed this kid.
brothers
What are you
testified
talking
on
about?
Friday that they didn't ask for armed militants to fucking guard their fucking lots. So that's bullshit. Stop spreading misinformation.
Wait, hold on, Jason. So when they ambushed Kyle, right? When Rosenbaum and that other dude,
Ambush. He went back to Rosenbaum by himself. He went back to Rosenbaum by himself. He chose to do that.
That's not true. That's not true. That is not true. Okay. So when they ambushed him, when they ambushed with multiple
with a plastic bag.
Oh my God, Vivian, can you let someone else speak?
Which most people have testified to. When
Vivian
that dude and his wife and Rosenbaum ambushed Kyle, right? What right were they defending?
They threw a plastic bag at him.
No,
Oh,
you're
there
being
was
a dumbass.
gunshot from behind him as well.
There was
that wasn't him though.
That was the other person involved in the ambush. Right? There were three people involved in the
Ambush.
initial confrontation. Yes,
Fucking
ambush.
ambush.
So they're in front of
Fucking
him. Rosenbaum runs up from behind
bullshit.
them. What do you call that? What do you call that in any other situation?
This is you can't fucking take this guy seriously at all. Like everything.
What do you
he
call?
says is a
What do you
fucking
call that in
lie.
any other
this is a-
situation?
Wait,
It's
So
called
he's
stopping the
he's
shooter.
walking.
If you
no,
no, this is before any shots
It's
were
called
fired.
stopping
If
the
this-
shooter.
no,
That's what it is.
This was before any shots were fired. If you're walking
It
down the
doesn't
street
matter.
minding
He's
your own
walking
business,
down the-
no,
minding
if
your
you're
own
walking down the
business with
street
a
minding your
fucking
own business, and
AK-47
I
or
run up
AR-15,
on you,
I'm
am I
sorry,
not
AR-15?
ambushing you?
Yeah.
Would
again,
that not
they-
be an ambush?
Two people
I
in front
don't
of him.
know.
One of
If it
them,
were
one
me,
of them
I'd
with a
feel
gun.
like it
By
was
the
pretty
way,
fucking
hold on,
suspicious.
Jason. You're so concerned about guns. One of those people in front of them had a gun, and that's the person that fired from behind him. By the way, and then Rosenbaum runs up from behind him and chases him. What the fuck do you call that in any other situation?
Fucking ambush.
Now I understand how
It's
we
not
have
a
war
fu-
criminals.
it's not
in
a
this country.
fucking
like
ambush.
how we
What
do
is
war
it?
crimes
What
in
is
other
it?
countries.
No, Vivian.
Like,
what is
we
it?
Turk.
permit it on our own citizens.
We definitely know
Turk,
where the
Turk,
fascists are.
Turk, give it a try,
What are you
and
talking about?
we have 30 seconds left on that hype train. But thank you all for the help so
So
far.
everyone
sub,
sub to
give
Prime
bits or
so
give
I can
subs.
talk
Yeah.
longer.
Go ahead,
Sub
buddy.
to
Motherfuckers
Prime longer
sketch as
so I can
shit.
talk.
Turk,
And,
please.
Vivian, I get that you don't like me. That's okay, but I really
I have
wanna
no
hear
idea
you.
who you are. This is the first time I've ever heard of you, and you are
No, we've
sketch as
talked
fuck, my
several
dude.
different times. You're just that.
Well, you're not very
rude.
memorable.
But I want you to answer Doobie's question. If
What
it
is
wasn't
Doobie's
if it wasn't an ambush, what would you define it as? What tactical maneuver did the first person that got killed?
Maneuver.
Was it called?
What
was it
would
called?
you define the action
It was
as?
a chaotic. It was a
Wasn't
chaotic.
coordinated.
It was a chaotic. Yeah, it was a chaotic protest in which people were reacting to somebody walking around with a gun who was obviously an antagonist towards their movement. It was not a fucking ambush. Holy shit!
So anytime
reaction.
somebody's walking
Hey.
down the street with a gun,
With
you're
a
just
gun,
gonna
you're
start
gonna go
chasing after
attack
them?
them?
The definition that we're using is that as a reaction.
Some
Attack him with a gun, by the
conservative
way,
piece of
because one of those people had a gun.
This is the dumbest
Some
argument
conservative,
ever.
Hey,
some
Viv,
conservative
how-
piece of shit walking around
how
at a
did they know
BLM
he was
protest with a gun.
conservative
Yeah,
This is
without
the
looking at
dumbest argument I've
No,
ever heard.
Hold
there
up,
was
hold
like
up,
okay.
hold up.
This is
How
my
did they
second
know
thing.
he was conservative without looking at it? Like just by looking at him? How do you know somebody's political ideology just by looking at them?
Yeah.
I mean, often you don't, but
Okay, well that's my point.
Yeah,
So
the other
they're
guy
wrong.
had a
I
gun.
don't know how they were.
This is
Why-
actually
well,
a
he must have been
legitimate
conservative
question that could
scum
be
being
answered.
there.
This is a legitimate
Sure.
question that could be answered. I actually don't know the answer to this question.
Didn't
so
he
if
point
so-
his gun at somebody on their
Or-
car? Like on the hood of a
That
car?
was not. Hey,
Do you
no,
think
hold
the?
up,
Do you think
Jason,
the? Do you think
hold
the
up, hold up,
altercation?
stop, stop, stop.
How are they
Jason
aware
asked
that
a- hey,
Kyle
Jason
was
asked-
like
Jason asked like
associated with this organization?
Jason
Like,
asked
It's a
a
really-
question
it's
based
a
on
really-
actual evidence.
It's
Jason,
a really
that
good.
was
It's a really good
Jason.
question.
No, but Jason's been asking
So
stupid
let me
questions
answer that
anyway, so it
question.
doesn't matter. You don't have to
No,
answer it, Ben.
Do you think
what I'm
they
saying
just?
is-
Do you think they just ambushed
go
a
fuck
random
yourself.
kid on this? Do you think they just ambushed a random kid on
No,
the
because
street?
early on in that day,
With
Rosenbaum
no
threatened to kill him. Yeah.
So exactly, so they knew who he was, so they'd already fucking identified him.
Identified
so
earlier
then
in the
it's
day,
a premeditated
Rosenbaum
ambush
was
then.
attempting to set a building on
identified him
fire.
personally, right? But how did they identify him as a conservative? I don't know the answer to this question.
yeah,
Because
that's
they'd already fucking had an altercation with him earlier in the day, according
So
to
was the
Stevie.
guy
How
that
did
got
the
his
altercation
bicep
start? Did they
blown
just
off
like walk up to the
considered a
guy with the
conservative?
AR and say like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing with an AR?"
Do we
I
have?
think that's a
do we
reasonable
actually
question,
have-
to be
I've
fair.
got
No,
an
that well,
easy
that's not. Well,
question.
wait, hold on. I'm going to answer Andy's question. So my understanding is that they were at one of these locations that they were defending. Whether or not the fucking Jason, I think you're wrong, but whether or not the owner said that they want people there to defend these locations,
it was in testimony on Friday.
That's fine.
What the fuck
That's
do you
fine.
want, dude?
That's fine.
Like,
That's fine.
yeah,
whether or not that's the case.
I actually like to be informed. I think that other people don't know the answer to this question either.
Okay, so my understanding is, and there's video of this actually, of a dumpster being set on fire by I call them rioters at that point when they're setting shit on fire. Someone from Kyle's group, not Kyle, goes and puts out the fire, right, in the dumpster because they're trying to push this dumpster toward the building that these people were protecting. That set off this altercation where Rosenbaum is lashing out, screaming, telling these people to shoot him, saying he's going to kill them if he catches them alone, all this kind of shit. Rosenbaum was saying that. Kyle wasn't aggressing toward this person in any way, right? And there's video of this altercation. Right, so later on in the day, my understanding...
Video of the end of the altercation.
Wait, hold on.
Say,
No.
Shoot me N-word, shoot me N-word.
No,
but we don't know what led up to that.
There's
No,
video.
we actually do.
There's video of the start of that too, actually, of when the guy goes out and puts out the fire. Right, so before the screaming started. Yeah, so there's video.
We don't know what led to Rosenbaum screaming that at Kyle.
Yeah, we
don't
do.
have the full picture of that. No, we don't.
There's video.
Yes, we do. There's
there's video of that full interaction.
I feel like you didn't watch the trial like we did.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. So let me just finish the explanation for Andy. So my understanding is that Kyle was walking through with another guy. He eventually gets separated from this guy, and he's going back to this location because that was a plan. If he gets separated, go back to this location, right? He gets a call from someone else in the group saying, "Hey, this other building's being set on fire. Run over there with a fire extinguisher." So he's running over there with a fire extinguisher. As he's making his way to that building, two people come out in front of him. One, a man and a woman, I think a husband and wife actually. One of them with a gun. So he stops and he drops a fire extinguisher. And then Rosenbaum runs out from behind a car that he just walked past, and starts chasing him from behind. And that's when he starts running away. Right? That was how. So I'd call that a fucking ambush. I don't think that in that situation, Kyle instigated anything. He's walking toward another location with a fire extinguisher. He's not attacking anybody. He wasn't screaming at anybody.
Visibly with an extinguisher, yeah.
So Doobie, just so I understand the timeline.
Swear, Dirk is literally only here to
So
suck the farts from Doobie's ass.
One second. So Turk, I don't think you got to finish your point.
Keep smoking, bitch.
So Turk, and then H9, who hasn't gotten a chance to go at all.
Shouldn't use gender slurs.
So I'll cut straight to the point. So Vivian, I highly recommend you go and watch the Grosskreutz defense testimony, or the prosecution put him on the stand, and the counter from the defense, where he actually says, "Yeah, I'm following the guy that's being prosecuted for murder, right? That's doing this.
Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse, thank you. He has a gun, right? He's armed. He's armed with a concealed firearm, which he is unlawfully carrying, but that's another topic. So a person from the opposition is armed with a firearm and is following a person through a area, right? And he pulls the firearm out, and he's not being shot, but as soon as he turns the firearm towards the person that as he's following, he then gets shot in the bicep.
You're talking about a totally different interaction. You're talking about when shooting. I'm talking about prior to any shooting, no, this is at the end.
This is like
right?
way later.
He's trying to make a point though. He's trying to make a point though, Doobie.
Thank you, Rice Daddy. I appreciate you.
Okay.
The entire point is, if Rittenhouse is not allowed to have a firearm, and he's not allowed to defend himself in this instance because he's the aggressor, he's defending property, whatever. Why does the other guy, Grosskreutz, have the right to defend himself and then be the aggressor pulling his firearm out on another person who he is following? Why does that person have the right to commit an assault, potentially a murder, to another person?
Because there's an active shooter on fucking site that's just fucking murdered somebody.
So that person's a vigilante then. They're going outside of the law to enact.
Well, your boy just went outside
They're
of the
literally
law.
going outside of the law.
They have to try to neutralize the threat.
Don't answer for Vivian.
Did you miss the point where I said?
If I shot someone around the corner on the street and then
No,
the
what I'm
buddies turn around the corner like because they were trying to assault me, so I lawfully am protecting myself. No riots are going on, nothing, and I shoot them. But then around the corner, no one sees that someone was trying to assault me, and then the buddy of that friend goes, "Oh, she just shot someone," and then they come at me. I'm gonna shoot them as well. I don't care if they were unaware that it was an assault. It still was defense for on like absolutely.
Did Rosenbaum put hands on Rittenhouse?
I want to ask a clarifying question of him.
Sorry, no, hold on.
Joe Brand. I like it.
I still want an answer from Vivian on the question I asked.
I don't know.
And it goes into the rest
What
of
the
the
fuck is what the fuck is the question again?
Does Rittenhouse not have the equal opportunity to defend himself with a firearm as Grosskreutz did, as he was chasing a person, brandishing
pedestrians
it,
don't
and
have the right to chase down criminals. You have to be in a car instead, always.
In terms of self-defense, because Rittenhouse was the offender by defending property. So Grosskreutz came to.
He was the defender because he was defending property.
Where Rittenhouse was.
Was he asked to defend that property?
was Grosskreutz a defender?
This is wild.
He literally was asked by somebody.
No, he was not. I just said they testified in court on Friday.
The owner asked a group.
No, the owner did not ask any armed
Jason,
militants, any at all. That's what they said in the case.
Honestly,
read it.
This is super important.
Now, so I can answer the fucking question.
Oh,
Jesus!
This
fucking Christ.
I feel like you haven't listened to my entire fucking argument from minute one, Turk. Like, I've already stated that, like, Kyle Rittenhouse being there in support of the white supremacist cause makes him the fucking aggressor.
Okay.
I've also said,
cool.
I've also said in the case of the two people that tried to apprehend Rittenhouse afterwards, didn't actually shoot him, should have fucking shot him, right? If he had a pistol. But like,
there you go, Prime. That's TOS. You're banned.
How
dude.
is that? How is that TOS? They had an active fucking shooter on site, right? And if you have a weapon and you're pulling it and you're chasing after somebody you think is an active shooter, you should probably shoot them and not try and grapple with them and take their gun away.
Viv, but there was something that like never actually got expanded upon that I asked earlier that you agreed with me on. It's that you stated that the political proclivity of Kyle Rittenhouse being like in with a Proud Boy or in with white supremacists automatically makes him the
people,
yes. Okay, automatically makes him the aggressor, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but how is the person who is approaching Kyle Rittenhouse, who is obviously cannot know that just by looking at Kyle Rittenhouse as a human being? You cannot know somebody's political ideology just by looking at them. How are they supposed to be aware of that?
Wait, who?
Enough to not. Okay, hold up.
How is who supposed to be aware?
The people Kyle shot, is what I'm saying. So
I mean, the people he shot in two very different situations, right?
Yes.
I believe Rosenbaum knew he was.
Not Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum knew because.
So Rosenbaum knew
because
of an earlier thing.
Yeah, let's use the second guy.
Yeah, that's the other chap's chasing after somebody with a rifle who's running away from a shooting incident while they've been told by other people at the protest that he's just shot people.
Okay, yeah. So hold up. So
that's the information that they have.
No. That's the info they have. So at that point, I don't believe that it is ethical for him to chase Rittenhouse without knowing it. Even in your worldview, it's not ethical for him to chase after Rittenhouse.
It would be vigilante.
I don't have a problem with vigilantism. And in case you haven't noticed this, Turk.
Oh, all right, get to your point now, then. Get to your point.
Like I haven't said this all panel. Like
my
it's some
point
kind
is
of dumb.
the second person. The point is.
Well, double shine. Just get in there and say what you gotta say. I ain't fucking keeping you from dropping in the fucking debate. Go get in the panel. You ain't gotta fucking talk to me on here.
You've got somebody who's just shot.
Nut up.
Yeah.
Someone they understand to be a fellow protester. Yeah.
We're on the same page here. All right, cool. All right.
So his political proclivity doesn't actually
looks
matter.
like it's douchebag night anyways.
Proclivity, yes. So if it doesn't matter, then what automatically makes him the aggressor? Okay, so what makes him the aggressor if he is unaware?
There's the other one.
If he is unaware of Kyle's political proclivity, what makes him the aggressor in that situation?
The fact that he's just shot a fellow protester.
Okay, but he was shot because specifically because the dude was like on top of him practically.
This isn't information. This isn't information that the people who charged him have.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, if they don't have that information and they have that lack of information, that would make the other person the aggressor because they don't have the information. Yes.
The context of the entire fucking situation around the BLM protest.
I think if you're gonna chase after somebody with a gun,
know.
you need to know the whole situation.
Yeah.
Okay, but all these people know, right, that there have been multiple attacks on BLM protests, vehicular attacks, attacks with fucking guns.
That's not enough info.
A bow
That's
in
not enough
one
info to
incident.
chase after a singular
Wait,
individual.
holy shit, Ben. Holy shit, dude. Right?
You're good.
So they are operating on a certain amount of limited information and they have to make a snap decision. In this case, they were correct, actually. He had just fucking shot a fellow protester. Right?
I don't think their decision is correct just because they just so happened to guess correctly.
And was potentially a danger to other people around them.
How was he a danger if he was running away and towards the police?
Why the fuck would you trust the police to pick him up?
No. He wasn't turning around and pointing it. He was just running away.
Can we establish a couple ground facts for this? I'm just so curious. I hear so much.
Wait, he did turn around a few times. He did turn around a few times, but he had his gun pointing down. I remember this.
Firstly, we keep referring to him as a white nationalist. Can we stop doing that? There is no evidence. I don't think
never
that any
referred
white...
to him as a white nationalist.
Okay, can you
said that he supported white supremacist
Vivian, you understand?
structures.
This
You
was not
absolutely accused of him being a white
How
supremacist.
about beta piece of shit?
That's fine. We'll walk it all back now, right? You understand this was not a white nationalist rally, yes?
It was a white supremacist.
Yeah, can you show me that? Oh wait, we're all gonna wait here. What, you find it? Yes, show me that they are white. That was a white supremacist group. We'll wait.
Sorry, do you want me to find the Facebook post from the Kenosha Guard that they had deleted the next fucking day because they because they was
Yeah,
that they were white
show me. Show. I want to see. And when you say white supremacist, it can't be like we disagree about Jacob Blake or we think that the cops were right or we have like the thin blue line. I want you to show me some white supremacist.
I mean, Blue Lives Matter is already a fucking white.
Blue Lives Matter is not. Hold on. To be clear. Wait. To be clear.
Yes, it is.
I need you to tell me. Blue Lives Matter. That is not what is white supremacist?
Blue Lives Matter just protects bad cops. That's all.
Vivian.
Blue Lives Matter being a white supremacist movement is fucking obvious. It's like directly saying.
So, it's like saying you're racist if you're a conservative.
No, because there's other race of bad cops. It's really just about bad cops.
Do you think that every single person that believes in like the thin blue line or Blue Lives Matter are all white supremacists?
She's already accused me of being a KKK simp, so
Sure.
that's not a far stretch.
The answer to this is obviously
the answer to that is right that you don't have to hold individual fucking racist views to act in the cause of racism, just like you don't have to hold individual white supremacist views to act in the cause of white supremacy. If you're pushing the thin blue line shit, you're pushing white supremacist bullshit.
That's a great non-answer.
It's
But
not a non-answer.
so just so we can establish the facts, nothing about this guard, nothing about what happened that night. Yes, nothing that happened in Kenosha on the night of these shootings had anything to do with white supremacy or racism or white nationalism. Which parts?
I think that's who brought up the sports analogy earlier. That was really great, right? The idea that we need to be there to fucking protect our town. Why aren't these fucking militia groups showing up every time there's a big football match? They're not. Clearly, there's a fucking racial element
Hold on. Okay, stop. Can you show me a single big football match that is trashing businesses at the level that some of these riots in these cities were, that caused billions of dollars in damage, like the riots in Minneapolis?
Have you gone to Europe?
Yes, and not to mention all the football matches that do not end in violence.
Yes, sir.
Like you predict that each one is gonna like
cars
violence.
and gone nuts. Are you kidding me? Yes.
Hey,
it's totally happened. Oh my god, dude.
Okay, then show me.
A better example is.
I think it happened in Miami, as a matter of fact.
Hold up. A better
and
example
Arizona.
is soccer matches in Europe. I can go find that. I'll do it right now.
Wait, hold on.
Or when Canada lost and then they freaked out, right?
I don't care about Canada and Europe. Why the fuck are you giving me information from Canada and Europe? I'm talking about the United States of America, where Kyle Rittenhouse is from, and where we have groups that go out and defend their towns. Okay, I don't know why you're giving
Well, he's going to ASU, so I think I got something for you.
Hold up. I'm pointing this out because it's just mob mentality in
That doesn't
human
matter, though.
beings. It's the same in Europe
That
as
doesn't
it is
matter.
in America.
No,
That's
okay,
it.
so Vivian said, why don't people go out and defend their city against football rioters? The answer to that is obviously because football rioters aren't causing the same level of targeted destruction as some very few of the BLM riots were. That's the reason why. That is obvious. Now, if you're going to sit here and try to suggest to me that every year we have football riots that are even within an order of magnitude of destruction as some of the BLM riots, then show me, and I'll admit that I'm wrong. If you can show me that.
Here, I got you.
Wait, hold on. In addition to that, just keep in mind that people had rioted in the same area and set buildings on fire the night before, and they were expected to deal with that night.
You have to make the
And
distinction
so
of a
football
planned
riots-
riot versus.
football
just-
riots
Why are you? I
are like-
don't. Stop. Please don't link me shit from Europe.
So
I'm not
football
talking about
riots
Europe.
Fans
aren't like-
set fires,
Oh my God.
flip cars
Typically,
after Super
no,
Bowl win.
Jason, it's not at all comparable, right? So even if we were to take that like as a serious counter,
It doesn't
right?
matter. It's the
No,
same
listen, Jason,
behavior.
Jason, no, it's
Hey,
not.
hey, let him finish.
Jason, they rioted in this area the night before. They were going back to the same area to set shit on fire again that night. They'd done it previously in other nights. The managers and the owners of that specific business had been in news articles about how the millions of dollars in property damage they lost and how the insurance company wasn't going to cover it. Right. So this was like a thing that was happening over and over and over again in this community, and that's why they were there.
So
It's
let's
not at all
be
comparable
more
to
specific. We're going to be more specific. To Kenosha exactly, there was $2 million worth of damage to city-owned property and up to $50 million of damage in the Kenosha Area Business Alliance area, whatever, right? That was their estimate. So show me football riots or whatever that happened. This doesn't happen. That was a bad
There's
thing.
also systemic racial issues with the policing in Wisconsin too, which is what led to the riots. What the fuck are you talking about? Property value doesn't equal the value of life.
It doesn't matter. I'm giving you real
American.
I'm giving
Rioting
you.
is not uniquely American. Rioting is
never
not
said
uniquely
that it
American.
was.
Oh my god.
Nobody's
So
said it
fucking
was.
stupid.
My European example is not good.
Destiny,
Wait, what I'm
Godfrey.
trying to do-
Because the culture is going to be different. It's going to be a different group of people, a completely different
Sorry, why are we
demographic
focused
that's
on
going to
the-
take it seriously. Yeah, let's not
You
talk
don't,
about
you don't
other
have to
countries.
talk,
Right.
you don't have to talk
Move
about
on.
like whether or not the cultures
just-
in this country. Stop
If you're-
equating these two instances.
If you're in the United
Talk about the United
States,
States. Talk about
and there's a
Wisconsin.
bunch of rioting going on, and we have a Second Amendment right that's pretty unique in the United States compared to other European countries, and we have a gun culture that's pretty unique here, I would probably plan on there being armed people showing up to defend their shit in the event of armed protests. If you don't understand that, then you don't deserve to be on the streets. Stay the fuck home and do your activism on Twitter because you're not ready for the real world. Not in the United States. Go
actually do
protest
agree
in
with you
Europe.
on that take.
Okay? Go protest in Europe.
That's why
How
these-
much local
that's why these
activism do you
type of-
do?
That's why they.
Here's the issue.
That's why these.
You asked for an
that's
example,
why-
I provided. I agree with you, Destiny, but I provided an example and then told you, hey, this is a football match.
Then your example doesn't mean anything. These protests you're
Yes, it
mentioning
does.
in Europe happen in large cities, Hamburg, Hanover, then giant soccer cities. We're talking Kenosha, Wisconsin. I think it's a population of 120,000.
I
These
don't think
people are not
population
used.
count matters.
Yes, yes, it does.
Hold on. The reason why it matters is because
Kenosha was having an issue
Hold
with
on, Jay, hold on,
policing.
hold on. Hold on,
Jesus
sorry.
fucking Christ.
Specifically-
They're
First
pissed
of all-
off because
first of
it's
all-
their
oh my
police
God,
that are
okay,
fucking
hold
them
on,
over.
oh my God,
Okay, hold
I
on.
gotta-
First of all, Kenosha was not having a problem with policing, okay? The man that was shot by the cops and paralyzed, absolutely. That was, the cops were 1,000,000% in the right, okay? It's not even
Was that the
remotely
dude who
debatable.
got shot like 7 times in the back?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that was fun.
Absolutely in the right. The cops
I-
had...
I wish I'd
Yeah, I
looked
know,
into
because you're
it more,
black-pilled on the
because, like,
justice
the
system, and you
video
just
that
think
I
it's
saw-
fucking
That's
perfect the way it
great.
is.
The video I
I've
saw-
heard it before,
the problem-
Destiny.
Justice
The
system
problem-
is
the
perfect
problem-
either.
The problem is that people like you, Vivian, and other people on the left that have these huge
Keep
ideological
bootlicking.
narratives don't even bother to look at the facts of the case. The reason why 2 people are dead in the Rittenhouse riots is directly because of people like you that stoke the flames and get people upset about policing in the United States over cases where the police were 100% in the right. You are engaging in a form of stochastic terrorism when you are on here stoking these flames, just as much as somebody like Lauren Southern does. I need you to understand that you are the exact
Bullshit.
same type of person.
So-
You are exactly the same as
Wait,
her. I
am
need you
I-
to understand that, Vivian. You are exactly the same as somebody like Lauren Southern.
you can
When you're on
actually
here
go suck
stoking
the
the
fuck.
flame, 100%
Look.
you are.
Okay,
Amen.
well, whenever you're done on your fucking podium, Destiny, like,
On my podium, you're here all night on your podium.
Are you-
Come on, dude. You don't even know the facts of any of the cases relevant to this, and you're here arguing your fucking breath out over whether he was in the right or wrong.
Are you fucking done yet?
Not as long as you speak bullshit, but go for it.
Okay. Okay. I asked about the dude who was fucking shot 7 times in the back. You said that was fucking justified. I I don't know the facts of that case, so I can't fucking argue back against it. That was literally all I said, right?
That's fine, but that's why somebody
And-
said earlier, it wasn't you, but it was the guy above you, Jason Society, was saying people were rioting in Kenosha because of unfair police treatment. They were rioting because of this guy. I think his name was Jacob Blake that got shot. But the police were in the right.
So instead of talking about cases we're not talking about, let's talk about Kyle Rittenhouse, the two people that were killed, because we've been talking about it all night. We're all up to date. Well, Vivian apparently isn't.
Wait, hold on, but sorry, this is connected.
You understand, Destiny?
Yeah,
that,
bro.
The BLM riots were not specifically about any one fucking shooting.
The
And even if
rioting in Kenosha was
the rioting
specifically
in
about
Kenosha
this.
was triggered. The rioting in Kenosha was triggered by the shooting of Jacob Blake.
Yes.
Yes. However, right, it was part of a nationwide movement.
Shut the
of
fuck up.
fucking
You're lying.
protests,
You're
etc.
lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. The riots here specifically.
I'm
yes,
lying.
you're lying. Yeah. Well, okay. Maybe I'm not lying. You might be an idiot. Okay. The riots in Kenosha specifically, and why property was set on fire specifically. Okay. Stop doing this thing where you want to piss in the pool when somebody's pissing in somebody's mouth. Okay, this specific event was triggered by the shooting of one person. It wasn't the general unrest of BLM, blah blah. It was this one specific.
Do you think
case
it would
that
have? Do you think the riots would have happened if there
No.
weren't riots always
Nope,
happening
they wouldn't
all
have.
around the country at the time?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
Okay,
the riots
so
in
it was
Kenosha were
influenced by the
Wait,
borders.
no,
Was
wait,
influenced
Wait,
by-
what
Destiny,
do you mean?
they would have, they like absolutely.
Oh, I thought, yeah,
like,
I'm sorry. I thought you meant if it wasn't for the Jacob Blake shooting. If it wasn't for the Jacob Blake shooting, the riots would not have happened in Kenosha. Not
Okay.
like this. No.
Yes, I agree, right? But also, right, I don't think they would have happened in the same way if it wasn't for the broader BLM protest movement happening at the
Sure,
time
but
either.
that doesn't matter. We're looking at the
Wisconsin had
inciting
been
incident.
having policing issues and riots for a while. Like this wasn't new.
The catalyst of the event was true or not, and the catalyst of the event wasn't correct.
In fact, this is even more problematic. This is even more problematic because you.
Seems pretty.
Okay, well, you should look it up before you talk about this shit. But so this is even more problematic because you're saying that people that were there to defend these businesses were white nationalists because they were in opposition to this cause, which is riots that were set off by the Jacob Blake shooting. Right?
Because
So
they were white
you don't even bother to look into the shooting before calling these people white nationalists for not supporting the riot.
Can we get
Like, how does that make
There
any
was a
fucking sense?
systemic effort to
Can we get the
discourage
terminology?
citizens' complaints and protect officers from charges of racial profiling and
I'm
excessive
sorry.
force. This was in the
Okay, no,
Washington
I mean, if
Post
I'm
just
just gonna
recently.
get run
I'll go
over,
ahead
You
and
call
throw
them,
this out.
you call them white supremacists, not white nationalists. You're right.
Yeah,
Define
get our
white
fucking
supremacist.
terminal. Define white supremacist. Someone
God
who
damn it.
acts in aid of a cause which seeks to place white people above other fucking races. That is a white supremacist.
So, is it
A white
impossible?
nationalist.
Is it impossible to ever defend your community if BLM riots are coming then without being a white supremacist? Does that mean you're
Yes.
automatically? Okay.
If you were listening to the
And to
panel
be
before
clear,
I got on,
you're mindless.
If you were
You're-
listening
you're-
to the panel before you got on, Destiny, you would have heard me give the exact
Viv,
fucking
can you
prescription for
defend your
how I
own
would
property?
do that too.
And
what
to be
is
very
it-
clear,
hold
the
up.
people. Wait 1 second. To be
Can
very
you
clear, the
defend
people
your
who
own
shut up.
property?
The people who own this building are Indian. They're brown people, right? So like defending an Indian person's business, when there's riots that are being set off by a totally fair police shooting, makes you a white supremacist or puts you in a position where you're allying yourself with white supremacist groups. That's totally fucking ridiculous.
So wait, going back to Vivian, you said if there was no weapon. Oh no, wait, sorry, this was Vaush, but I think you agreed with Vaush that like if they didn't have a rifle, then it's okay for that person to be there. That like it was the rifle that would be. Do you agree with Vaush there? Sorry.
No, I didn't. It was the
No,
cause.
No,
It was the
just
cause.
being there to put out even the fires and to like
She
wash
said
out
that if
graffiti later.
individuals are there
No,
and aid
anybody
white-
can
they lose the
anybody
right to
can
self-defense automatically. That was her position.
So you're saying it's
No,
unethical
Vivian,
to have
I
the
won't let
First
you do
Amendment
that.
right if you don't agree with your ideology? Are you saying that
Well, let me
people
do
aren't
what?
allowed to? Are you saying people are not allowed to politically
She doesn't
display?
believe in the First Amendment.
Yeah. Are you saying
Fuck the
that
First
people
Amendment.
of?
Yeah, she doesn't
Are you
believe.
saying-
Why are you guys
are you
asking her
saying-
these questions? She doesn't
Oh,
believe in
she
the
doesn't
First
believe it.
Amendment.
Yep,
She
okay,
doesn't believe that these
no,
people have a right to self-defense.
No, I do believe in the First Amendment. The First Amendment states that the government, the
Do you
state shall
believe?
not
Okay.
infringe.
Oh, sorry,
upon-
shut up. She's
The First
responding.
Amendment says that the state shall not infringe upon the right to free speech, right? And I agree with that. The state shouldn't fucking be involved at all in that. However, if you have a KKK march in your town, your community should absolutely be there to fucking oppose it and should run those cunts out of town. Not
Yeah,
And I think a lot of people feel the same way.
You're
A lot of people feel the same way
absolutely
about
lying in the face
rioters.
of literally generations of First Amendment jurisprudence when you say that.
I mean,
Yeah, you do.
What
Hey,
independent
hey,
citizens?
individuals,
like,
hold up, individuals.
Private actions that chill speech still fall under like the First Amendment of the United States of America. If you threaten somebody, if you coerce somebody, if you engage in actions,
we can argue
their life
about
is in danger, then that is a violation of their First Amendment rights.
we can argue about how the fucking First Amendment is applied or whatever. I agree. My position is very simple. I agree that the state should not infringe the right to free speech. However, I do also agree that communities should be able to run fucking Nazis out of town, and that they should deplatform them on the fucking regular.
Right, but you also believe
there were
that,
no
that
Nazis here, I guess.
yeah, exactly. So but you also believe that if there's a riot set off by a totally fair police shooting, and a militia group shows up to defend property from being burnt down, the property of brown people, by the way, you believe that these people
Depends on the groups and the
should be run out of town. And
I
if they
think
resist being run out of town, they should be attacked. And if they resist this attack, they should be killed. That's what you told.
I think you're being incredibly dishonest by saying that the only fucking motivation of the people who showed up was to defend property.
Show me another. What evidence is there? Is there?
Wait,
another
what evidence
motivation?
is there to the counter? Because the only killings that happened were killings in self-defense. There were no killings over property that happened that night that I'm aware of. Were there any?
Wouldn't the video that they tried to
Let
introduce
Vivian answer
on,
question. Let Vivian answer.
Yeah, did anybody
What
die
was the
there over
question?
property? Did a single person die that night over property?
As far as I know, no.
Then why are you saying people showed up violently to defend property when that didn't happen?
What? That's not what I said at all.
You said that them being there was an act of aggression or violence against the protesters, right? Because they were defending this property in opposition to this
Not
group that
because they
wanted to
were
burn the property
defending
down.
the property, right? I don't think that defending property was the only fucking motivation of the people who were there.
How do you know
Can you
that?
show me evidence?
Wait, yeah. Show
I mean,
what
it's
is
easy.
the
The displaying of all the fucking thin blue line shit. The Facebook.
No, that's not
guard.
evidence,
I have
Vivian.
a better one.
It's a car marker that got in over his head and overreacted.
The Kenosha Guard Facebook page that was taken
None
down
of-
for inciting
none of
violence
this-
against BLM protesters.
None of that is
right?
evidence, Viv. None of that is evidence.
How is that not evidence?
We're asking, where is evidence that people showed up
What
showed
about
up to
the-
this thing to kill or attack or whatever BLM protesters? And you're
did
saying,
I say
well, on their
that?
Facebook. Okay, so you have no evidence that the people showed up to do anything more than defend property then.
I'm sorry.
what about-
They showed up in support of a white supremacist fucking ideology.
That
I didn't say
defending your
property
community is
is
a
that.
white supremacist ideology.
Opposing black people's civil rights protests. Yeah.
Black
in
people's civil
context of
rights
the
are
border
when you
narrative.
burn down fucking car dealerships.
Owned by Indians.
Do you? I swear.
They
to
weren't
God.
asked to be there. They weren't asked to fucking be there. They were not asked to guard that place. They just testified to that in court on Friday. How many times can I repeat that? Nobody fucking wanted them there to do that. It is relevant because they were supposed to be there anyways.
Doesn't matter. No,
Actually,
hold on. First, wait, hold on.
should have been there.
Hold on. Wait, you guys use this word. Yeah, you guys use this word.
If I want to
There.
defend if I want to defend my community, I'm not going to be reaching out to the fucking Kenosha Guard or anybody who's flying fucking thin blue line fucking flags or whatever, right? Because clearly these people are acting in the cause of white supremacy. Why the fuck would
No
I
proof
do
of that again.
I have no proof of that.
All
other
you do
than
is
the
you just
fact that
scream.
Kenosha-
Other than the fact that they have the
Kenosha
thin blue
Guards-
line shit, you have nothing. You're just screaming racist over and over and
Other
over
than-
again, like it wins an
other than
argument.
other than the fact that the Kenosha Guard's fucking Facebook page was taken down for violent fucking threats and white
Vivian,
supremacist
I've had my shit deleted for violent fucking threats. But
Plenty
I don't know
of
what the fuck
Antifa
that
pages
means these
have been
days.
taken down
Especially with
too.
people like you that run these communities. Fuck, they might have
True.
posted
I mean,
a fucking
you
meme of fucking Colin
had
Powell
your
got
shit
taken
down.
Your
had
community
shit
is
taken
king with
down
that shit,
for
man.
for saying directly to me that you didn't give a fuck of white supremacist militias fucking mowed down dipshit protesters. That's what you had your shit
That's first
taken
of all
down.
one. That's
And yeah,
not
that
what
is
I'm
an
talking about. I'm
endorsement
referring to
of
other
violence.
accounts as well. Okay, number one. Number two,
Okay.
you still have no proof whatsoever, aside from some Facebook memes that some members of this group might have posted on their Facebook page. You have no evidence that any of these people were white supremacists or they're in support of white supremacy. And
Well,
everything so far points to the contrary. That it seemed like they were there.
Blue
to
Lives,
protect
Blue
property.
Lives Matter is my statement is really fucking simple, actually. Right? One, the Kenosha Guard, right, posted explicit white supremacist statements on their Facebook page,
Like what?
Which was taken.
Like what?
Which was taken.
Give us one.
I'd have to go and find the fucking Facebook
Okay, I'll look
pages
for
that
it.
were
Kenosha Guard,
taken down.
white supremacist, Facebook. I'll go look.
I've already looked. Yeah, go for it. They were taken down for like threats of violence prior to the fucking rally, right?
Wait, threats of violence and white supremacist statements are different, right? Can we acknowledge that?
Sure, great.
Is looking for
And my second statement is really impossible to have a fucking argument on 12-person panels sometimes, I swear. But like my second fucking argument is that Blue Lives Matter is an explicitly white supremacist movement.
Destiny is always a contrarian fucking dumbass. What more would you expect from him?
For like these tweets.
Wait, hold on, wait. Make her jump for that. What does explicit mean to you?
As always.
What does explicit mean to me? It means
fucking bootlicking motherfucker posing as a fucking sock.
How is it openly
fucking
white
sucks the cops' dicks all the time?
I never
you
said
know,
white nationalist.
he's gonna put his head all over a fucking judge's fucking cock. That's fucking.
I'm sorry, you're always getting on me about like not
fucking some
defining my terms
bullshit
properly. So I want to make sure.
But you know,
okay, how is it openly white supremacist?
He'll jerk off the justice system because he's white passing. You don't got to worry about the problems that other people do.
The movement for the civil rights.
He is a Cuban American, so I want to recognize he's not
explicitly set up in opposition to the narrative.
In a lot of ways,
police shootings of black people
but
are often unjustified, and that there needs to be some kind of resistance against them. That is why it's white supremacist.
Nothing that you just said had anything to do with white supremacy.
Trying to be honest.
So you're stating that it's stated clearly in Blue Lives Matter that
I'm sorry.
Are...
No. If you set up a fucking Destiny's Life Matters, right, in response to somebody punching you in the face, right? Let's say Vaush punched you in the face, right? And you set up a Destiny Lives Matters organization, right? And I, in direct opposition to that, set up a Vaush Lives Matter fucking Facebook page.
Outslander, what's cracking?
Am I not doing that?
Let's go.
That's going on the assumption that all cops are bad.
Yes, the problem, Vivian, is there's a disagreement sometimes on the level of facts.
I mean,
they're not setting this up. They're not setting this up because like they hate black people. They want to uphold white supremacy or whatever. They do it because they disagree on the facts of the matter.
You're talking about intention versus fucking effect, right? Like
Vivian, whatever definition of white supremacist you're running with, nobody in the real world uses this. Okay, so
everybody
when you
in the
say that,
real world
nobody in the real world uses this.
Everybody in the real world uses this.
Absolutely no. Nobody.
Especially when people say things like, "Oh, America is like fucking white supremacist. The fucking legal system in America is white supremacist." Blah 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 blah.
Losers on Twitter say this shit, but that's why people get so mad.
Yeah, losers on Twitter and academics and
nobody knows. Yeah, academics have the crime of losers on Twitter. I'm sorry.
Losers on Twitter. Wow.
And the academics and the fucking people who are actually involved in the Black Lives Matter protests and you're just so fucking Twitter poison.
Okay, so to be clear,
So you've got a little bit.
To be very clear, so your evidence that this was like a white supremacist group, that this is a white supremacist group, was that they've aligned themselves with Blue Lives Matter. Facebook. I've using that
Mr. Black Pill
at this riot, right, and attempt to prevent people from burning down buildings, so they should be attacked. And
Mr. Black Pill Destiny
in support of white supremacy.
Anyone flying a fucking Blue Lives Matter flag should be fucking opposed.
And anybody flying Antifa flag should be.
We'll never get anything done, and then, you know, fucking cops are great.
Anybody that shows up as Antifa should be, because they all violent, like, people that try to Molotov everything. Like, I mean, you can run that game back as much as you want. Also, to be clear, I've looked this up. There's no evidence that the Kenosha Guard posted any white nationalist or white supremacist shit on their Facebook page. The only reason I see it getting taken down is because they were mass reported by Antifa after the Rittenhouse stuff. If you can find anything contrary, then go for it. But there is absolutely, I can't find absolutely anything.
Cancel culture.
I can't find.
Hold on, Vivian, you're making
the
actual claim.
Cancel culture was the two people whose lives got canceled when they showed up because of people like you stoking the flames of like these racial tensions in the United States. Okay.
People like me stoking the flames of racial tensions.
Absolutely. Yes. You literally said that he should have been shot for defending himself.
Do you agree?
That could anger anyone. If people listen to you right now, he would be like, "See, the lefties are insane. We have to act. Now is the time."
I want to clarify something too.
They would be frightened
no one
by
should
your
be shot for anything.
and they would want to defend their family.
People should stop shooting each other for fucking ideology and fucking work it out.
Like, they should.
These motherfuckers are stupid all the way around. I'm gonna tell you that.
Sickening, Vivian.
They're sitting in their mother's basement fapping over Red Dawn every fucking night anyway, right? Like, this isn't going to make any fucking difference whatsoever. So you can keep your fucking bullshit to yourself. And frankly, if anybody's stoking the flames of any kind of fucking bigotry, it's a woman who comes on here and argues for 4 hours for fucking conversion therapy. So go suck a fuck.
I didn't argue for conversion therapy. You didn't hear a fucking word.
Alright, so,
You didn't hear a fucking word.
Also, just to be clear, also for another quick
It's all
second,
up there
you
on
brought up
PrimeCayes.
You didn't hear a fucking word.
Stop it. Go ahead.
The Ryan Hall guy was brought up as well earlier. That guy,
Sure,
the dude
yeah,
that
the Ryan
murdered
Hall
a
guy.
Trump, that murdered a Trump supporter in fucking cold blood, then ran across state
He
lines.
didn't murder him in cold
murdered
blood.
some. He absolutely
Yes, he did.
Oh,
He
I'm sorry. If you can fucking shoot
Again,
Rosenbaum in the
simping
face
for the
like
right.
throwing
Hold on,
a
wait. What did she
plastic
say? Let her
bag-
talk. What?
If you can shoot fucking Rosenbaum in the face for like throwing a plastic bag and running after
I
Kyle
told
Rittenhouse,
you.
right? Then
I called
then
it
I think
before.
somebody run like a
Destiny's
literal
simping for the
non-violent white
right. He
supremacist
ain't no
walking towards
fucking
you and your friend
progressive.
with a
Any of
fucking
you
can of mace,
motherfuckers that thought
spraying
he
it
was
in your
gonna be
fucking
your
face,
buddy of the
you can fucking
progressive
shoot them
left,
too.
Do you understand that you
or
just
even
said so many
center
fucking
left, or
stupid
even
things in
kind
that
of
one
left?
sentence? You could
This
probably qualify for
motherfucker is
special
turning to the
services just
right
off
because
of that
he needs
statement.
that
There was
tax
so much you
exemption,
said.
baby.
What did I say
Okay,
that was
He's gonna keep
number
his
one,
taxes
okay?
tight.
Rosenbaum didn't get shot because he
He
threw a
don't give a
plastic bag in the
fuck,
air.
dude.
He got shot
And
because he
chased
was
after
chasing.
Kyle.
He was chasing after a person,
Look,
holding
he
a
loves
rifle.
this
on a
shit.
chasing
This
after
is
him.
right
didn't,
here.
you
This is
stupid
him
fuck. Let me
fucking
finish.
Did I say
getting off.
chasing after him?
He's
You said
jerking
throw a
off the
plastic bag.
fucking
plastic bag.
getting
Yeah,
off
The
our
reason why
fucking
he-
bad
the
American
reason-
justice.
the reason
This
why
motherfucker, look
he
at him.
got the
He's
reason
riding
why
the
he
pony.
got
Ride
shot.
that
Can you- how about
pony,
you listen to
baby.
me actually
He's
watch the
doing
tapes
it.
because you have some
He's
shit
doing
apparently,
it.
okay? The reason why he got shot is because he chased after a person who had
He
an
just
AR-15
caught a
on
big load in
them
the
with a
ass from a
person
fucking
behind
cop.
him that fired
I
a
bet he
pistol in
loved
that
every
direction,
fucking second
and then
of it.
Rosenbaum tried to grab the barrel of his gun. That's why he got shot.
Okay, and the Patriot Prayer dude was trying to assault the chap, trying to assault Rhino and the person
Nope.
he was with.
There is zero anything corroborating that. In fact, there is witness testimony saying that Reinhold had been chasing the other guy around that night. And if you watch the video, you will not see a single fucking thing that justifies what that cowardly murderous fuck did before he ran back to his house across
Cowardly
state
murderous
lines
fuck.
and then called media to give a little fucking interview before the cops showed up and killed him because he tried to kill the cops when they showed up to arrest him. That is exactly what happened with Reinhold.
That's conflicting. That's conflicting with the record, Destiny. You're
so
lying.
You don't actually know what the fuck you're talking about because the cops fucking showed up, right? And there are numerous witness reports, and there's currently a homicide investigation going on into Reinhold's death, right? Numerous witness reports saying that they didn't fucking announce themselves and that they just fucking opened fire.
Hold on. They didn't announce themselves. There was a warrant for his arrest, and they showed up in a fucking
They
SWAT
have
van.
to announce themselves, and they can't
showed up
just
in a-
shoot at him, you
they
moron.
showed up in a SWAT van
You
and started
understand-
shooting him. He
You're
also
just-
the initial police report claimed that he had raised his weapon. Right? He did it. It is not even known that he had a fucking weapon on him. Right? Seems like he was eating some gummy bears or fucking holding a cell phone or some shit. Right? You can go and there's a New York Times article all about it that you can go and fucking read whenever you feel like you have the fucking time. They got out of the fucking vehicle and assassinated him in the fucking street, mate.
Well, what are you
They didn't
analyzing? Are you analyzing his death, or are you analyzing the other shooter?
Well, basically what I'm saying is that these two situations aren't really that much fucking different.
Which one?
Right?
You mentioned
I
three.
just don't like liars, man. I don't like liars. I don't like people that misrepresent information
because I know that none of you guys
just to
will
get
actually
their
do this. But
fucking point
if you're
across.
listening to this
A
video,
bunch of people
I super
fucking
encourage you. Please go
try to
watch the video of
bullshit
Reinhold shooting and
and
murdering a Trump
lie
supporter
to
point
get their
blank before he
fucking point
runs back to
across.
his fucking
These
house to give a
fucking
media interview
crap
before the cops show up and
stains
kill him.
Yeah,
of
well,
Please go
fucking
watch that fucking
Twitch
video.
clickbait
Watch that Patriot
motherfuckers.
Prayer member, a member of a violent white supremacist group that has already committed multiple murders, right?
Wait, that guy, first of all,
that
once-
man killed
walk
that man killed
towards-
people.
that man killed someone? Vivian, that man killed somebody?
The group he's part of has.
Oh, so are you an American citizen? Or no, you're not. I
Oh,
guess.
so
Are
we
you
should.
British?
So it should,
I
it's
mean, like-
okay.
Yeah,
So
what the fuck kind of
it's
logic
okay to
is
just
this?
approach people that are in like far leftist radical groups because the group that they're associated with might have killed somebody from the past.
So you guys, you had your little rant, Destiny, right?
Sure. I don't
fucking
usually talk to
respond
fucking
it.
terrorist supporters. This actually blows my mind. Jesus,
I know,
sorry, keep going.
it's fucking-
So anyway,
it's
we
fucking
murder people
wild.
that are part of
I
groups that have had
don't-
people that have killed others.
Allah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey,
Okay.
So
if that's
you can
true, all Americans should die.
watch
In a video.
as that person who is a member of a violent white supremacist group that has actually fucking murdered people in the name of its ideology, right? Walks towards Reinhold and his friend, fucking spraying fucking mace at them. Now I don't
Wrong.
know.
No,
I
hold on.
don't,
No, you're lying. Not only are you lying, the only reason that the thing was sprayed was because he got shot in that fucking can by the other person.
You need to go back and watch the shit. You
No,
don't know
he's
what you're
100%
talking
right
about.
on this.
He's
I've
not
been engaging
Yes, he is.
Destiny.
So he's literally not.
It's fucking stupid, and I've told him he's stupid. And he's shut down every
we will
time.
never know whether that was
Every time I told him he's stupid, he's shut down because he went and researched shit. And he realized he was fucking wrong.
There is no fucking
he's an
day in
idiot.
court because he was assassinated by the fucking FBI.
He doesn't do his own fucking research. He just wants to play contrarian asshole.
Yeah, assassinated. I mean, I don't really know what else to call it beyond like when they roll up in a fucking van, don't announce themselves, and open fire on somebody in the middle of the fucking street. And there is a
reaction. So can I just so do you think that so given that you think that was self-defense, right, because he was being sprayed with pepper spray, you believe, and that justified him shooting this guy, right? So do you think that anytime well, hold on, no, you said that
let me see, I could do a Google search fucking real quick. That's gonna tell me everything I need to know.
Right? That's why you're okay with what he did, right? So if an Antifa person pepper sprayed somebody, do you think it'd be reasonable for that person to shoot them?
It depends on the situation, but maybe. But what I'm saying is, right, like, if we're comparing cases of fucking self-defense or whatever, right, we don't know whether this is, like, justified self-defense or not, right?
Wait,
Because
which one was
we
justified?
Sorry?
Which one was justified? Reinhold
No,
murdering
he
the
engaged
Trump
as soon
supporter,
as
the
he
unarmed
looked it
Trump
up,
guy?
and then he shut up and changed course, Mike.
No, literally.
As soon as
nobody in the planet.
As soon as I brought up a fucking
Pisco, you
point
can tell
that
me
was
I'm wrong here.
relevant,
Nobody in the planet is arguing that that guy acted in self-defense. He is ubiquitously panned as a fucking loser murderer. He stalked the dude and then shot and killed him in cold blood. Nobody is arguing that. There is not a single sane person on this planet that has the whatever facts you were talking about this case.
and that's what he does. He pivots and moves the goalpost slightly. You know, he does that little fucking.
Show me. Yeah, search it and show me. That's fine. Good. I already looked for your one piece of evidence, and it was bullshit. You made it up. You fabricated it. So now I want you to show me something. You made it up. You fabricated it. I looked it up, and it's bullshit. It's fake. The idea that Patriot group posted white nationalist or white supremacist memes on their Facebook page, I can't find it, so you fucking lied about it because you got it off of a Twitter headline. You didn't research any of it yourself while you're out here peddling this bullshit. So now I want you to show me some version where anybody with any credibility whatsoever says that Reinhold was acting in self-defense when he shot and murdered a Trump supporter in cold blood. When he hit his fucking can, and that's why the pepper spray blew up everywhere. Not that the guy was pepper spraying him, okay? I want you to show me that.
Would you care if he wasn't acting in self-defense? Would you still think it's justified?
That he shot and killed him?
I'm asking Viv.
Oh.
Where is it? Here we go.
No, she doesn't give a fuck because as long as it's Trump supporters that are getting killed, she's all for it. Just like a fucking fascist. Half you fuckers act like it.
just like a fucking fascist. Wait, I thought that word didn't mean anything, Destiny. It certainly doesn't when it comes out.
Murdering people because of political ideological differences, or talking about the revocation of due process, or talking about vigilante justice, absolutely falls in line with fascist thinking. That is absolutely what that is. So yeah, I think so. I guess you just want to enact it with bodies that are non-state-like. So maybe that's your one saving grace there. So maybe there's some fasci-commie fucking branch that exists that I don't know about.
Sorry, would it be?
This is just terrorism.
Wait, would it be
the horseshoe effect?
I'm sorry. Would it be fascism if suddenly you went out and just fucking murdered all the Trump protesters?
Would it be fascist? Are you quoting me the article that I asked you for when I'm trying to find out where Reinhold is acting in self-defense when he murdered a Trump supporter in cold blood?
I've just saved the fucking video, but like.
I don't want a video. Why are you giving me the video? Doesn't exonerate you. Are you serious? The video just shows the can exploding, that guy getting shot, and then Reinhold running away. You're not going to find anything that exonerates you on video. That's evidence all supports me. Yes, really.
Also,
the video should also show Reinhold literally waiting for the guy, like
stalking
hiding around the corner, waiting for him to show up, and then pulling out his gun as he walks up to him, shooting him, and then running away.
Yep.
Vivian, can you give me the definition of terrorism?
Scab, you want a time?
I literally have the fucking video of Reinhold. Sorry, the guy who was pepper spraying Reinhold, pepper spraying him, and not having not the pepper spray shit. Fucking.
You're in an inconvenient position right now, Vivian, because you're suggesting that the one time that pepper spray is enough to have a reasonable fear of serious bodily injury, but that grabbing a gun is not, and that is, I think, a tough position to be in.
I just also real quick, I just want to read literally from the fucking Wikipedia, okay, including surveillance camera evidence showing that Reinhold had spotted Danielson and Pappas and had hidden in a parking garage to let them pass, reaching toward the pocket or pouch on his waistband. When Danielson and Pappas crossed the road, Reinhold, joined by an associate, followed them with the shooting occurring moments later.
I just posted it in chat. I should probably post it in the VZ chat.
Some people love it when other people die, I guess. I don't know. It's like cool. Oh shit, I thought I was on mute.
fucking hell. The video shows that that he actually did spray the fucking mace at Reinhold. Okay? That's the claim, and that's supported by the video evidence.
Okay, so when he was ambushed by this man with a gun who intended to kill him, he sprayed the mace. Okay, how does this help your argument at all?
Reinhold says that he ducked into the fucking parking garage because these guys have been harassing him and his friend all night, and he ducked into the parking garage to let them.
And then came out behind him with a gun.
I don't.
So you're
I
saying
don't
Reinhold
know.
was not the aggressor, but Rittenhouse was. So
I know he was being chased and had his gun back.
No, but wait. If you're saying the shot fired is what gave him the catalyst and okay to fucking fire the gun, then that gives somebody else the right to fire back at him because they heard a gunshot too, and now they get to shoot the gun too, right? So they should be able to shoot back at Rittenhouse.
Jason,
and there shouldn't have been a problem with that.
Please,
oh my God!
Please allow me. I am not saying, right, that what Reinhold did was definitely justified self-defense, right? I'm saying that we don't know whether it was or not, and we'll probably never know because it will never be held up and it will never be on trial, right? Because he's.
But in the process of making this statement, you've made some unfortunate concessions. One of which is you seem to think that it's okay to sort of say some sort of collective guilt, and the other is that you're essentially establishing, or I don't know, that it could be you could have a reasonable fear of your life merely by being pepper sprayed. That would seem to be a strong case for Rittenhouse then, that there was a reasonable fear for his life by grabbing the gun.
I think Rittenhouse could definitely have been in reasonable fear of his life. Yeah.
Well, then that would seem to sort of justify his self-defense position.
Okay,
I did nothing. It doesn't
separation here
contradict.
is that
It literally doesn't
believing-
contradict anything I've said.
But yes, do you think it was justified?
The thing is, wait,
like everything you said.
You guys are missing something.
Pisco, you've come in late to this conversation,
Yeah.
so I just want to make it super clear that at no point during this conversation have I said that I think that Kyle Rittenhouse should either be prosecuted for murder and found guilty, or that he should be acquitted of the charges. I've not made either of those statements.
Do you believe?
No, she said he should be dead. No,
Also,
Vivian, you said.
Also, razor quick, just because I watched the video that Vivian linked. Vivian, on this video that you link, Reinhold ducks inside a parking garage, waits for the men to pass, waits for them to cross the street, and then he runs out to confront them. Just letting you know, that's the video that you linked me. Okay.
Sure.
So okay, cool. So as long as we establish he was that is an actual ambush attempted murder. It was a murder. So
who sprayed the pepper spray?
afterwards, it seems like he turns around, then he sprays the bear mace, and then after that he gets shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this was in response to Reinhold literally chasing across the street with a gun to get him.
I mean, like
you are psychotic. I want you to know that, Vivian, you are experiencing psychosis right now.
Yeah,
You're losing your
someone's trying to
fucking
use
mind. Your brain
non-lethal
is
force.
leaking out of your fucking ears. You have a man chasing somebody down with a firearm. Another guy turns with mace to spray it on him, and then he gets killed by the guy chasing him. And you're like, oh, well, that was justified self-defense. You are actually a fucking lunatic. You are crazy. You are crazy. You're crazy.
If you wanna, no. If you wanna fucking like have a go at somebody's fucking mental state, Destiny, honestly, mate, like I would look in a fucking mirror, right? Because I didn't
Nice
even
pivot. You can pivot to my mental state all you want. You're the one telling me that if you charge somebody with a gun and they pepper spray you, you have the self-defense right to kill them. You're actually delusional. You're lost in the sauce. I'm sorry.
We don't know the other fucking circumstances around that at all, right? We
have video footage of it. You're so unbelievably biased. I could show you a serial rapist and slap a fucking Antifa sticker on them, and you tell me that all the women deserved it. That's where you're at right now in this discourse. That's how unbelievably fucking lost you are.
It's literally not. Because
can you give me a single possible situation that would have justified it happening?
No. Because every time I talk, like Destiny will just start fucking screaming at me that I've said things that I haven't said, right? I did not say, right, that was justified self-defense. I said we don't fucking know, right? That's what I said.
I'm sorry, did anybody else hear her imply that the other guy maced Reinhold first, and that's why Reinhold shot him?
Yes.
Okay. I did say that he maced Reinhold first. I said that he maced
that's why he
Reinhold.
shot him.
I said, and I have said repeatedly throughout this fucking conversation, and I imagine Destiny isn't listening because he's just fucking I don't know. Just so fucking triggered over the entire.
I'm
fucking
triggered with my
situation.
terrorists. Being on this platform is what triggers me. You are a terrorist.
Okay, well, you need to fucking get off the platform yourself then, because encouraging white supremacist militias to gun down dipshit
White
protesters
supremacist, something
is
that you haven't
fucking-
demonstrated
is
at all. By the
pretty
way, that's
fucking-
something that you made up. Kind of like half the shit you talk about. You basically
You
made it up.
literally.
The only thing that's
You're
real to you
looking
is
for
the fucking list
Kyle.
that you
It's
put
like-
in
I don't
people.
know. I don't know
The weird
what your
flex.
fucking problem is, right? We had like a fairly decent fucking relationship. I don't know why you're coming.
Let's
so
not get into
fucking hard
personal
after
shit.
me now.
You're
It's
saying
not- it's-
insane
I don't
shit
care.
right
It's
now,
not
and that's what
personal.
he's responding
The problem
to.
I'm having is that right now, half the fucking internet, half the United States is crazy over what should be a relatively straightforward
fucking
case
insane.
because the partisan. No, you're part of the problem. You are the problem. When you're
am
just
I?
sitting here telling me, based on everything we've seen with Reinhold, that this guy was some fucking patriot that got assassinated by the cops, he was acting self-defense, and then you look at somebody like Rittenhouse, who's
didn't
being
say
chased by a
that.
fucking
Again,
child
you're-
molester.
again, you're
Like, he's
lying
being
about
chased.
what I
You're-
said.
That is, you gave so many justifications, and
Like-
everybody heard it. You can go. You were saying, oh, the guy was harassing him earlier. Oh, he's already part of a white militia group that's been murdering people.
My
He tried to hide from the guy when he ducked
Bro,
in.
here's
Oh,
the
White
deal.
Bear made some first. That's what you were
They're
saying.
both shit.
Literally, okay.
Can they
I don't
both
know.
be shit?
I don't-
Can they both be
I
bullshit?
understand. They can both be bullshit. It's fine. But
No,
like,
I wouldn't equate them.
They're bullshit.
The only thing I said, Destiny,
They're bullshit,
right,
guys.
is there are
They're
some
both
other
fucking
mitigating factors
bullshit.
here. We don't know.
And we want
whether
to
or not
act
it's
like
fucking
they're two
self-defense
different
because we will
people.
never
They're
see it in
not.
fucking
They're
court.
both fucking
You're saying
bullshit.
you're
And we can
saying
call
you
them
know
both
for sure
fucking
that it was
bullshit.
that it wasn't.
We
fucking
can call them
self-defense,
both
right?
fucking
Which I don't
bullshit.
think is actually a conclusion that you can reach from the evidence that you
And
have.
it's okay to
Can
say,
you
yeah,
spin me
there was a
one
cat from the
scenario?
left that may
Can you
have been
spin
a
me
little
one
bullshit.
scenario where a guy hides in a garage,
But the
waits for two
bottom line
people
is
to pass,
Kyle
and then
Rittenhouse is
runs out
fucking
onto the
bullshit.
street to
He's a
ambush them with a
bullshit
firearm?
ass
Or that's
fucking beta
self-defense?
male
I would
that
love to
walked
hear
into a
this.
situation
ambush
trying
them
to
with
play
a firearm
Mr.
is a little bit
COD
fucking
and
loaded
couldn't
language.
fucking
You said
hang,
that behind
and the
the-
motherfucker got beat down, and he
exactly what
couldn't
happened.
do shit but kill a motherfucker because all he knew how to do was pull a motherfucking trigger.
He walked out and he confronted them. And he had the firearm.
And these
he had the
pussy ass
firearm ready,
bitches
right?
fucking
Pulled the gun out of
somebody
his
like
pocket and ran after
fucking
them.
Mr.
Yeah.
fucking
So what would you call that?
Destiny D-suck up here. He can't even fucking
obviously
realize
started
that
an
shit.
altercation.
Because you
With
know
a
what? He ain't
firearm.
never lived in some
What
shit
about-
like that.
So wait,
anyways.
Juby,
Stop.
we're
So
I'm losing
you've
my mind.
acknowledged
Juby.
that
We're
he said he's
literally-
Pussy
obviously.
ass
No,
bitch.
stop.
It's really,
You said
it's
he
really simple,
obviously.
'cause you guys want me to
No,
say
no, it's
something.
not. No, stop.
you guys want
You said
me
he
to-
obviously started an
Stop
altercation.
me.
So if you're acknowledging that he obviously started this altercation, how can you say that it might be self-defense? He's the one that initiated the altercation with the gun in his hand.
Yeah.
So it would entirely depend on the fucking the laws of the county, right?
You say
Like,
you don't
have,
care about
like-
law. You say you don't care about
Why
law.
are we talking about law?
Morally,
To be clear, hold on. To be
morally,
clear,
you don't-
I'm a legal
morally,
expert.
you don't
Hold on,
wanna
I'm a
know.
legal
You
expert.
don't
I'm a
wanna
legal
know.
expert. Okay, I am a legal expert. I just passed the bar, and one of the things that we learned in my first class was there is no state or territory in the U.S. where you can fucking brandish a firearm at another person for no fucking reason. Okay, boom. That's part law
Okay,
number
hold
one.
on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, so,
Yeah,
so then you're right. Kyle
Stop.
Rittenhouse was brandishing a
Jason, shut up.
firearm all the way
Jason,
down
shut
the street.
Jason,
Rittenhouse
shut up.
was not
No, that's
brandishing.
not brandishing a firearm. You don't know what brandishing is.
Guys, but one second.
Was he not
one second.
pointing at
So, David,
people?
so you said earlier that you don't care about the law. So we're talking about morality here. So morally,
He wasn't
how
pointing at
can-
people.
Yeah. So
you don't want to know what I think morally.
Okay, so you're just a fucking crazy person. You think he should have been killed for being part of this group, and you're running in circles trying to justify this in some way, but there is no justification.
Why does Destiny call her a terrorist?
She's advocating for people to be
Why would
murdered.
Destiny
I'm not
justify-
advocating for
Destiny,
people
you
to
just
be
called her a
murdered.
terrorist.
You just-
You said it like 6 times.
I
Okay,
do not
okay.
think.
Whoa,
I do not think. Right. That the solution to fucking like white supremacists in the United States is to go around fucking shooting them. It doesn't fucking help anybody. I had my fucking head in my hands the day that Patriot Prayer guy got shot because it was fucking terrible, right? And I was sincerely fucking worried they would
Okay,
result
then why would you say that morally we
in
don't want to know what you think?
legislation? Because
So why is
morally,
Kyle
I don't
automatically the
care if he
aggressor?
did it.
So wait,
Why is
you're-
Kyle
I
morally
want to hear.
the
You just
aggressor?
started.
Pisco, you got something you want to say?
Yeah, I want to get Destiny's opinion. Destiny called Viv a terrorist. I want to know by what criteria he's calling Viv a terrorist.
I think that when you are stuck. Oh God, you trying
Uh-oh.
to
Just
put it
very fucking angry.
I
at some
already
other
said
people on
earlier that
Twitter
I'm
and he's
okay
taking it
using
out on
terrorist in like a colloquial sense, but I don't agree there should be extra legal shit behind it. That was our entire
Would you
argument.
be comfortable calling some of the rioters and insurrectionists in January 6th terrorists, wouldn't you?
if from like a non-legal sense, but I already told you that in our conversation.
So yes, right? Is the answer yes?
Yes, but our conversation wasn't about whether or not we would consider it. No, hold on, wait. The conversation was about whether or not there should be like extra legal injury or whatever.
The conversation was about. I explicitly said that it should be about the political label, and you fought with me on that. So you're okay with calling them terrorists, right?
I'm okay in this conversation calling her a terrorist. Yeah.
Well, no, calling the January 6th insurrection as terrorists, right?
I don't know. That's a separate conversation.
Wait. Why? You're sure about Vivian? You're unsure about that?
This is like a totally not even remotely related to.
Pretty fucking wild that you think I'm more.
If you're gonna be somebody, okay, hold on. Well, Jesus, we're gonna back up into like an.
I don't know. Your brain seems fucking. If you're going fucking lefties on Twitter,
yep.
You just called Vivian for expressing an opinion a terrorist, and you're not gonna call out people who went into the halls of Congress. Come on,
Vivian just expressing an opinion.
Yeah, she's expressing an opinion. And he calls
my opinion to be super clear is nobody should be going around fucking shooting white supremacists. It doesn't help
what you said earlier.
Unless they don't leave.
I want Steven to be able to respond to Pisco, please.
Yeah, so if we're going to call somebody terrorist, somebody that is like explicitly encouraging people to go out and commit violence, I would say that like if I was going to use the word terrorist, I think that that's somebody.
What about someone who's doing violence?
So, it depends.
Encouraging people to go out and commit violence. So yeah, your comments about dipshit protesters that applies to you too, right?
No, I wouldn't consider acting in self-defense a form of like bad violence.
Not self-defense. That's not what you said.
No, you said it was cool to run protesters over.
I said rioters. You know what I said.
You said rioters who were
burn down buildings. That's rioters. Yes, correct. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah,
subjective
I
term.
This point on fucking Twitter when you.
So if people want to go out and defend their property or whatever, then yeah, I think that people have the right to do that in the United States.
So Absolutely. The insurrectionists, I mean, they were.
But you said right? If white supremacists want to go out there and mow down dipshit. You said dipshit protesters who are burning and looting, right?
If people want to protect their property in the United States, people have the right to do so. Yes.
And they should go out and they should fucking shoot them.
I didn't say they should go out and shoot them. I said you can go on, you can defend your property. In the United States, you have the right to bear and carry arms. If you want to do that, that is absolutely within your right in the United States.
It's not your right legally to do deadly self-defense or property.
But Pisco, I think you're misunderstanding because I think what Dustin was saying is that she's
No. He called her a terrorist.
Stochastic terrorism. Yeah, so she'd be a terrorist if she's enacting stochastic terrorism, right? So she's demonizing a group of people.
I said stochastic terrorist, but in the last one because I'm trying to get my words because everybody's screaming. I said terrorist instead of stochastic terrorist. So now Pisco is here because Pisco wants to like alter the political definition of terrorist, which is like an amorphous word that's almost impossible to defend. And now
why are you calling it that? You agree that it's being misused and manipulated, and it's a word without definition. You shouldn't use it then.
I think that if I was going to call somebody a terrorist, I'm okay using it in this sense. Okay, if ISIS is bombing a building or some shit, I think I'm okay with saying this person's a terrorist. If somebody's encouraging people to go out and murder people, I'm okay calling that person a terrorist. Vivian,
you're encouraging violence against people, Vivian. Absolutely, you are.
After the fact, examining an incident and giving her opinion on it.
Every single person on this panel would encourage violence against other people, right? They just want the fucking cops to do it.
Hold on, no, you're bullshit. That is not the same. That is not the same at all. It's not even remotely close.
I want the ones who disarm, so that disagrees with everything I want.
What exactly? Wait, no, because I'm having a lot of fucking accusations thrown at me. What exactly is it? Do you think that I have advocated?
I can lay it out for you. I can
tell you exactly. That's what I was trying to do just now.
Please, let me. So what you said earlier is that these people who are out there protecting this building, right? Because they are part of this group that you believe is a white supremacist group because it has some kind of association with Blue Lives Matter and this kind of movement or advocacy, whatever, right? So that justifies you saying that them being there at all is an act of aggression against the protesters and the rioters. So they wouldn't be able to defend themselves. And that, in fact, you said that they should be run out of town by these people, and that if they resisted being run out of town, the violence should be enacted upon them. And if they resisted that violence, you might need to kill them. That's what you said.
What I said. No. What I said was they should be run out of town with the minimum amount of force necessary in order to do so.
What do you mean by force?
And I was asked if that involved killing them. I said if they turn guns on you, then
that's
you might have.
That's not what you said. That's not what you said. You said it depends if they would resist.
No,
Yeah.
please, because it gets
if
even
they
more.
resist,
No, wait.
if they resist with fists, don't fucking.
That's not. Wait, you would resist people who show up as militiamen with fists, Vivian?
If they resist by pointing their gun at you.
Okay, but even
Vivian, you straight
up
up said.
Right.
Oh my! Hold up. Because Vivian straight up said that the Grosskreutz, the guy who was illegally carrying a firearm, who aimed it at Rittenhouse.
Oh, at Rittenhouse. Yeah,
should have shot him.
Yeah,
like she's directly calling for somebody to get shot while he was running away.
To use vigilante to like enact justice.
So you are directly calling for violence. You can't say that you didn't when you did.
He's trying to ride the line that white supremacists and white nationalists do when they say like, oh yeah, we want to have like a pure ethno state, but we'll pay everybody to leave and hopefully they'll.
No, I'm not.
That's the right. That's what I'm. Then Vivian, can you admit, because this is what Doobie's trying to walk you down the lineup, is Doobie's trying to get you to admit that you're saying that push comes to shove, if you have any type of like, I guess, police anything group marching in your town, you should murder them all if they resist leaving. That's what you should do.
What I'm saying.
Yeah, that is what you
answer
said.
that. Answer that then, please. Can you follow that line of thought?
That is a conclusion of what you said. If they resist,
will you shut up, dude?
Go for it.
How many people have to fucking come at me, right, and say something?
You say dumb shit. A lot of people are gonna.
Yeah, let her go. So Vivian,
before I get to respond.
Yeah,
so I
Vivian,
think it was
Blue Lives Matter.
I think it was fucking white rice or whatever. Like, what was it you said? Because I really wanted to respond.
Stop pivoting. A Blue
I'm
Lives
not
Matter.
fucking pivoting.
A Blue Lives Matter protest comes to town, and you have the right to run them out.
I will take your question after I've taken the question of the person who asked before you. So, what was? It was white rice, I think, that made the question.
So
right?
you said that you hadn't advocated for violence, but when we were talking about
the pistol dude.
You said that Grosskreutz should have, and I'm not going to say your exact words, but you basically said that he should have Robloxed him.
Yeah, I said that
while he was running away.
I said that he
I'm
should
in
have.
the cranium.
He's a status quo bitch. He's a fucking apologist, little fucking punk.
I've got it. Okay. So, with the information that he has at that time, right? He believes that there's an active shooter that's already fucking shot a protester. He's got his gun, right? He's pulled it out. At that point, he probably should have shot him. And I even said this explicitly earlier, right? That like if you believe that there's an active shooter and you're holding a gun and you want to try and stop the active shooter, then you should probably shoot them. You shouldn't try and wrestle their gun away from them.
But that's not what happened.
That's
That's not what happened. Because when Grosskreutz was walking up to him, he had his hands up, like basically hands up, don't shoot. Rosenbaum pointed and then didn't shoot him, waited and was like, oh, okay, you're not going to do anything to me. I'm not going to shoot you. Or Rittenhouse aimed his gun, but didn't shoot because Grosskreutz had his hands up. And then Grosskreutz pulled his gun out from behind him and pointed at Rittenhouse, and that's when Rittenhouse shot.
Didn't Grosskreutz say that he re-racked his rifle or whatever? Like he tried to shoot him and couldn't?
No. In court, while he was
on the stand.
No. When he was on the stand and he was asked about this,
Gage could have killed
Grosskreutz
him.
straight up said, "I had my hands up. He didn't shoot me." And then the defense attorney made him clarify, "Did he not shoot you when you had your hands up?" He said, "Correct." So he didn't shoot you until you aimed your weapon at him. And then Grosskreutz said, "Correct."
Yeah, but didn't he earlier say that like Kyle had fucking aimed his he tried to re-rack his rifle?
No, none of this
you just haven't followed the trial at all.
Yeah, you literally didn't follow the trial. So like
shut up, Durka. Holy fuck.
No, dude, you didn't follow the trial.
Why do you do that every time you speak?
Jeez, every single time. I don't know. Maybe he's like angry that I'm a real woman. Fuck.
Jesus. Oh man.
Fucking Christ.
No, but like seriously, you've been on my ass for fucking ever. Fuck off.
I've been on your ass because every time you come on this fucking panel, you argue for some disgusting fucking bigoted position.
It was a fucking joke.
Can you just answer Destiny's question earlier before we?
Right.
Can you just answer Destiny's question, please?
Fucking hell. So what's Destiny's question?
It was Doobie's question. If a Blue Lives Matter protest is coming to your city, do you have a right to run them out of town?
Yeah, you should set up.
And if they show up with firearms, do you have a right to resist them with violence?
Only if they show a willingness to use them against you.
So anytime a Blue Lives Matter, so anytime a Blue Lives Matter protest comes to town, should you be ready to kill every single one of them if they show up with firearms to protest?
I mean, if you show up with firearms, you should be ready to shoot those firearms. Yeah.
So
Otherwise,
if any,
what's the point in fucking having them?
so if any Blue Lives Matter or Thin Blue Lives people want to protest anywhere in the United States, then any person that is in a town that wants to resist those people has a right to kill them if they don't leave the town. Essentially, if they demand their right to protest.
There's so many steps between that. You should absolutely.
Okay, hold on. Let me hold on.
Wait.
I just want to follow this. Okay, well, very basic. Somebody says, "Hey, we're a Blue Lives Matter group. We want to come protest in XYZ city." And all the people in XYZ city are like, "We don't want them here." And then the Blue Lives Matter people are like, "Oh, well, we're going to come, and some of us carry firearms." And then the XYZ city people are like, "No, we're going to bring our firearms." And they show up, and the XYZ people are like, "You're not allowed here to protest." And the Blue Lives Matter are like, "Hey, it's our constitutional rights protest. We're going to do it." And the XYZ people say, "Leave, or we're going to start shooting." And the Blue Lives Matter people are like, "No, we've got firearms. We're going to resist." And then they're allowed. The XYZ city people are allowed to kill them all. That's what you're saying.
What if they threaten to kill you? And
are the XYZ
firearms?
people allowed to use lethal force to get the Blue Lives Matter people to leave? Okay.
There was no threat there. They just said
The
they'll
XYZ people are only allowed to use lethal force if they fear that lethal force is going to be used against them.
Check out
But
booted.
when they're
No,
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 let her finish. Hold on. Jesus fuck, we're so close. Okay?
That was it.
No, that's not it. That's not it. Because you're saying that those Blue Lives Matter people aren't even allowed to protest in an area if that city wants to quote unquote resist them. So it will necessarily get violent. Yes.
I mean, sometimes it does. I think.
Can
if
you
have
tell me
an
how you remove a group of people from an area without violence?
I think if you have an adequate show of force, then violence doesn't fucking happen generally.
Okay, so there's two alternatives. There's either violence or there's enough people there with guns saying, "We'll kill you if you come in," that violence doesn't happen. Those are the two alternatives.
Sorry?
Either you have so many people armed with firearms that the Blue Lives Matter protest doesn't come in because they think they're all going to get murdered, or they do come in anyway and then they all do get murdered. Those are the two options.
I mean, or you show up with a show of force and they fucking leave.
That's what I said. So you either show up with so much force that they run away, or that they come in anyway and then you kill them all.
What if they don't leave?
What are you asking for here, Destiny?
But you're just like a white nationalist. You'd use the exact same types of arguments. Okay,
like
you absolutely are the exact same. Okay, so the ethno-statists will argue, "Oh, well, we're going to get all black people to leave the country." How? Well, hopefully they'll be happier in Africa and stuff. Okay, and we'll pay them money. What if they don't want to leave?
It's a pretty big difference.
No,
between...
it is exactly.
No.
Exactly the same.
There is a pretty big
exactly
difference.
the same. Vivian, it is exactly the same.
There is a pretty big difference between fucking trying to get all black people to leave the country and saying, no, we don't want the KKK marching in our country.
We're not talking about the KKK. We're talking about people with Blue Lives Matter stickers. We're not talking about the fucking KKK.
Keep licking those boots.
Wait, okay. Wait, hold on. What did you just say? So you think they're equivalent to the KKK? So it doesn't matter, right? It's okay to murder.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Because she said that
it is not okay to murder people.
You said Blue Lives Matter is white. You said Blue Lives
Matter.
Yeah,
if they don't leave, you get to kill them.
Correct.
If they try and use lethal force against you, then you may have to use lethal force against them.
So while you're using force, wait 1 second. So while you're using force to push them out of whatever city you don't want them in, right? If they resist with force because you're using violence against them, well, then you might need to kill them.
You would agree to this. You would agree to this in like basically any other fucking situation as well.
Name one. Name one, Vivian.
If you have somebody acting like a cunt in Walmart, and the security guard says that person needs to leave,
it doesn't apply.
That's private property. That's private property.
Literally, you have a right to remove people from private property, but you do not have a right to remove people from a public area to protest, assuming there's not other ordinances or something.
You said you respect the First Amendment, Viv, so I would expect you to agree with that. I don't know why you're now taking this stance.
What? I said we should resist fucking Nazis protesting anyway.
Yeah, sure, but not by means of force. These people have a right to speak, even if it's speech that you disagree.
We should oppose their fucking platform at any cost.
Okay, then where's the
that's a good fashion line right there.
At any cost, you killed them.
Rights for me, but not for thee. That's the fascist line number one,
Oh
baby.
yeah,
Hell
until you get a Nazi regime fucking ruling your country and killing your people, that's fucking wonderful, right? Yeah, that's exactly what happened in Germany. Oh, it's okay. It's just they just kind of feel this way, and we need to give them their space to say what they gotta say.
We're talking
and we
about
saw what that turned into.
Well, let's see. Let's think about it. Let's think about it. The largest communist country at the time aligned with the Germans, and they were stopped by liberals. So I'm going to go ahead and side with the liberal answer on this one, Chief. Thank you, though. Okay.
Go ahead. I mean, the liberals sided with the Nazis too. So.
Yeah. Good
when did the
luck with
liberals
that.
side with the Nazis? I'm sorry, what? The liberals are the ones that stopped the Nazis.
Henry
what are you
Ford,
talking
Walt Disney.
I know what you're talking about, but what we're talking about though is a battle of ideals, and we respect, or at least I do, very seriously our civil liberties in this country. They're what protect oftentimes political minorities like communists and Antifa.
But it's such a non sequitur anyway, because
Vivian,
I'm not a
you
fucking
are the
communist. I'm not a fucking
minority that-
supporter of the. I'm not a supporter of the fucking Soviet Union. The Soviet
No,
Union
I'm not saying you
fucking
are. I'm saying
ass.
it's the
No,
First
but
Amendment
that's
is
what
precisely
Destiny's
to protect.
fucking bringing up, as if I'd fucking support some tanky.
I'm not saying that you're equivalent. I'm saying political minorities often use the First Amendment as a protection for their speech, and I think that you are a political minority in this country. I'm not saying that you're a communist, but you should look to the First Amendment as a form of aegis, as a shield, and not sort of do away with it when it's inconvenient.
That's why I say the state shouldn't be fucking involved and the community should be fucking doing it, right? Like, I do agree.
Well, Holly Wars, I finally got my debate with Destiny.
Trying to stop them from marching.
Deplatforming is about private.
Wait, what do you?
I have no
Wait,
respect for
wait,
Destiny.
what do you
He's
think?
a
What do you think
fucking
community
clown.
governments are
He
other
is a
than the state?
100% fucking clown.
Sorry, what do I think community governments are other than the state? They're not a centralized state. They're a democratic
Hey,
entity.
he's not even a good debater, dude. His debate skills are shit. I'm sorry, dude. He's not good at this.
No, this is insane. Like they collect
Is
tax
this what
revenue.
they call
They-
good? Is
They're a
this good
democratic
debating
institution, but they're still a
on
state.
Twitch?
Yeah.
I thought I was
if you're
getting a
talking
challenge
about- yeah,
here,
if you're
dude.
talking about,
I don't feel challenged by fucking
state
Destiny right
governments,
now.
Sure, yeah.
No, not state governments. I'm talking about
Like if you're talking about like, the way it works
authority
in
over
America,
jurisdiction.
then sure.
Coercive authority over jurisdiction. Communities, cities have authority, coercive authority over jurisdiction. If the
And the First
community,
Amendment applies to them.
is a public entity, it is a state.
Yeah, but you suggested before that the First Amendment could apply to like private individuals enacting private violence against other individuals. That doesn't make
That's
sense, right?
Destiny. That's the biggest
You said that
streamer,
before. That's why I came
political
onto this
streamer
panel.
on fucking Twitch.
So first and
And I've been
foremost,
talking shit to him all night.
If you run people down, if you
It's
engage
not
in
a
like
First Amendment
doing
violation.
action, yeah, that's a violation.
You think that me silencing someone I don't agree with as a private individual is
It's not.
a
It's
First
not
Amendment
just
violation?
violence. No, stop. It doesn't apply to Facebook. It applies to coercion.
So you think it applies to private individuals enacting private violence?
If I am if I'm in a public space, right, and you as a private individual come to my public event and beat the shit out of me, yeah, that's a violation of my First Amendment rights.
It's not. It's not. I mean, there needs to be a nexus with state action. There are some cases in which, for instance, the company towns where the First Amendment applies to privately owned areas, but it's a very small exception to the general requirement for state action. And so you're just incorrect to say that private violence against someone who's enacting or trying to speak out loud is a First Amendment violation. That's just incorrect. I mean, you're correct.
I'm so glad.
It's called simple assault. That would be simple assault with Pico.
So I'm wrong on that facet. I can see on that point. I was wrong. Okay.
I'm so glad Pisco is here because I just referred to the American. I assumed you'd know more about the Constitution than me.
That said,
okay.
The community is
you, Jason, society
a
check.
state as politically
Look at this
defined,
prick. He
right?
deafened the whole thing
Yeah,
because he couldn't fucking hang.
Yeah. So
that's what a
when
little
Vivian
bitch
says
is.
that this isn't like a First Amendment violation,
That's what
this
little
is an
bitch
infringement on
Destiny
people's
is.
rights.
He had to fucking, he had
she's
to deafen the
envisioning,
whole
like,
thing.
she's envisioning, like,
I'm
the
gonna
people
fucking
getting
cry
together,
to my fucking
pushing people out
Destiny
collectively.
Yeah, I'm not talking
DG
about the
fucking
local
jerk off.
council.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
need an
at
ego
that point,
boost.
isn't that
a
I
government
can't
though?
listen to these guys. I need an
Like,
ego
not like
boost.
Well, I mean, a
what
government
point does it turn
is
from
a government in the loosest fucking sense is just like the
a collection
people
of
who
people.
control. A collection of people who control the the resources and the policies
so
and the
if you're
laws
against
of
state power,
whatever area.
So it's
But,
not
like,
a
there is
state entity beating the shit out of them.
Hold up.
It's
No,
a
let me go
vigilante
down this.
If you're trying to point out some kind of like weird kind of oh well, if you're an anarchist, won't you just end up building lots of little states?
I'm not
No,
saying
that's
that.
not where I'm going. Hold up. Let me get this. Let me get this.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Ben. Holy fuck.
Yes. No. That's not where I'm going, Viv. I'm saying, if
I just don't like bootlickers.
this group of people collectively say we need to push this protest out, at what point is that collective group of people making a decision about their community fit the definition of a government, and thus should be the other people should be protected under First Amendment rights because that's state power pushing people out?
I mean,
How big?
There
How
is
big does
no-
it have to get?
I mean, it would have to outgrow this fucking federal state of the United States of America.
Wait. So a government smaller than the federal? Wait, hold up. A government smaller than the federal government of the United States doesn't count as a government. So what about state governments? What
Local
about
state governments are given their authority, and their authority is maintained by the federal state. Yeah.
Well, it's
what's the
also
point here?
it's also protected by the Constitution because due process
which
got
is
applied to the
federal,
states by
right?
the third. Hold up, no. But due process, no, hold up. The Constitution applies to the states based on the 13th Amendment, which applied all
No, it's the 14th
constitutional
Amendment,
amendments
buddy,
to the
and not
states.
all of the Constitution. You're
No,
both
Okay, and who decides? And who
Due
decides?
process.
Wait,
Due
who
process.
decides?
So the
Wait,
14th Amendment
who decides?
stops
Who decides
slavery.
how
14th Amendment is where the due process clauses for states.
Yes. But what I'm saying is, okay, but to remove somebody's rights, you have to do it through due process, correct? And if all citizens have the First Amendment right to protest, that cannot be stripped away from them without due process. And because of the 13th Amendment guaranteeing due process,
That's a simplification of
state
First
level,
Amendment doctrine. A big simplification, and
Go
it's
ahead.
more complicated than that. But
I'm aware. I have to simplify it, or else I'd be talking all night. But like, can you at least understand where I'm going with it?
yeah, it's wrong to infringe the First Amendment. People have the right to speak in public areas.
Yes,
even if you
and
disagree with it.
smaller
And before you answer, and before you go, I'll let you go right next. I just like if you've been enjoying this content, hit that follow button
so
right now.
I guess the little crybaby fucking left,
Hit
right?
that follow button right this second. Make
Aw.
sure notifications on. So you know I'm going live. Okay, hit that follow button.
Content.
Well, that's what it is, right? But yeah, if you've been enjoying this, make sure you hit that follow button so you can find out all the rest of the stuff that we do. Go ahead, finish up.
Did
Nine.
Big D Daddy run off? Aww.
He went to go play League. Anyways,
I'm still here.
my
What the fuck?
greater
I
overall
mean, good,
point
honestly.
is
I don't know what the fuck his
hold
problem
up.
is with me recently.
You say crazy
He has
shit.
a problem
You
with
advocate for
anybody to the
violence
left of him. Don't be
That's
upset
the
about it,
problem.
Viv.
Hey, don't fucking come at me with that shit, Mr.
You're
Gavin.
You're
Wait, Vivian, you were saying crazy shit on last night's panel with Hans. You say crazy shit tonight.
Cry
Ben.
about it. Look,
Yes.
don't come.
Okay.
So
Don't pretend that this is like a personal
Nah,
issue when you're
you're
on here
fucking- you're
advocating for
fucking-
violence against
You're
people.
fucking
And saying that if people
insane
show up
defense of
show
Gavin
up
McInnes
at
and the
Blue
Proud
Light with
Boys.
Blue
You're
Lives
not
Matter
hearing
stickers,
the-
they
Yeah, I
might need to be
fucking
killed if
lit
they don't leave
Destiny
their gun.
up. I
You're just saying
showed
crazy
him. I
shit, people
fucking
get upset
proved
with
him
you. Don't
wrong
make
on
this a personal
several
shit.
occasions.
Ben.
The dude's a
Ben,
fucking clown show.
Ben,
He don't know shit, dude. That was the
Alright,
easiest fucking
so,
shit to
If we've
deflect.
established
Even if you
through the
fucking had to
Constitution,
mirror
they
through
set
all the
up through
shit
the
that
13th
Vivian
Amendment that
said,
the
if you
amendments
looked
also
at the
apply to the
direct
states because
interactions
you
with me
cannot
and him,
remove those
I
without,
fucking
due
slammed down
process
some
of the
truth
law,
on the
and the 13th
motherfucker.
Amendment
He
guarantees
didn't know
due
what the
process
fuck
of
to
the 13th
do.
Amendment. Cool, right? So
Who the fuck is this dude
federal-
from out of
No,
nowhere
no,
with no
hold
fucking
up.
followers?
Hold up. The federal
Yeah, fuck him,
Constitution
punk.
guarantees rights.
I'll
and
fucking
those
tell him
rights
to bring it
apply to
again,
smaller
dude. He can come and
governments as
sit in
well.
my Discord
Some of them,
anytime
not
he
all.
fucking wants.
Okay. Well,
Pussy.
yes, all of them, because your rights cannot
No,
be
not
taken
all of
away
them. Not the
without due
grand jury
process.
indictment clause. Not
Okay,
the-
fine.
the
First
common
Amendment,
law
fine.
requirement for
Okay,
the
First Amendment. First Amendment, yes, that applies. Okay,
First
so
Amendment
smaller
applies to state
governments.
governments. Yes.
Okay, smaller governments. I just want to stay broad. All right, smaller governments cannot remove your First Right Amendment based on federal constitution. So it is not federal.
He's weak because
it
he
is
doesn't
also
research
state, it is
shit,
also
dude. He literally
municipality,
looks
it is
shit up
also
on
local
Google
government.
while
It
he's
is
in
a
the middle
federal
of a
right that
debate
is
and uses that
enforceable.
as truth. He has no
okay.
fucking real
Not only the
idea.
states, but every
He's a
single
fake
government all the
ass,
way down.
dude. Give me a
And if
fucking
this
break. Go do
collective-
your
collective-
fucking
yeah,
research if
and
you're
if
gonna talk
this
about
group of
something.
collection of people constitute as a government under Vivian's own definition, which she agreed to, then that would mean that those people are not legally allowed.
Well,
and
no, I
not
don't.
morally
I don't
justified.
No. I don't agree
They-
that any.
they
no,
count
I,
as
no,
a state
wait,
actor.
Wait,
No, they
That
wouldn't.
would-
They would have to
I
be
don't agree.
incorporated.
Wait, because you're putting words in my fucking mouth again. I don't agree that any fucking community organization in the United States currently counts as a fucking government. Okay,
Yeah, of
don't
course
have
not, that's
supreme.
silly.
They don't have supreme jurisdiction.
I'm a
over
pussy
the fucking
raptor.
local area that they exist in. Not at all. They're not even close to being a fucking government. Rose City Antifa are not a fucking
You
government.
said
Punching down,
earlier
but if
that
you
they
want to call
were a
terrorist,
government,
terrorist, you're a
though.
pussy.
No,
Okay,
no,
okay,
no,
I see.
Private association.
They're arguing for
what I
private
very
association,
specifically
not
said.
not a city, not like people who are
What
part
I-
of. That's the
what-
distinction.
Yeah,
what
they
I
would have
very
to be
specifically
incorporated as a
said is that
municipality.
what I very specifically said, right? Because your hypotheticals were quite vague. What I very specifically said was that like a government is like the group of people who have governance over the area and people, right? In that in their immediate proximity, that is in the loosest possible sense that can be defined as a government, right? But like
Holy
at no
shit!
point did I say that. Like,
Destini's on stream right now saying Lawrence Southern isn't a Hold on.
Like I thought we were talking about some sort of hypothetical in which like we had community-based orgs.
Hey, hold on. Did Destiny call you a stochastic terrorist, Vivian?
Yeah,
did he say that? He's right now saying on his stream that Lawrence Southern is not a stochastic terrorist. But he called you a stochastic terrorist.
Well, Lawrence Southern doesn't advocate for violence against people because they're
in the same comment, he called Vivian a stochastic terrorism. He also compared her to Lawrence Southern. He called them the same people. In the same comment, he just
I don't care. Like, if Destiny wants to go down this fucking route, that's his choice. Like,
okay.
I don't.
I'm just saying, blatant hypocrisy. That fucking pissed me off. I don't like that shit.
It's just fucking dweeby. Lawrence Southern is quite clearly a fucking like neo-Nazi fucking terrorist, and she can.
Oh no, she's completely reformed. She's a different person now. Don't worry, guys. She's totally different.
I'm trying to stay on topic.
Yeah, we are completely different.
Okay, so you're saying that the difference between a collective group of people in a local area are not technically the government because they lack the
they don't have jurisdiction,
power.
Control over the resources, like
control over
the law.
Well, I would say it's more about monopoly on violence. Would you agree with that?
Are you asking about First Amendment?
No.
What are you asking?
No.
He's lost.
Okay,
that's
fine.
But even if I did agree with that, in the United States as it stands, community-based orgs do not have a monopoly on violence. The state does.
Viv, okay, so
they're not state actors. Just get over it.
No, I know. Okay, hold up.
It's an insane line of questioning.
Viv,
yeah, it is.
Okay, I got one more thing, and we can disagree on that because that's fine. But my understanding was, you said that a group of people would go armed. A large group of people, outranking the size of these protesters, would go armed. I would say that they have enough violence.
Wait, are you telling me this motherfucker called Hassan a stochastic terrorist, called fucking Vivian a stochastic terrorist, and he's calling Lawrence Southern a fucking not a stochastic terrorist? You're such a piece of shit, dude. I'm going on his fucking YouTube right now. Fuck this shit, dude. Let's go, dude. I want this motherfucker right now. Fuck this bullshit.
Private actors, voluntary associations coming together and engaging in this action.
It would be illegal
details
action.
on Jacob
It would be,
yeah,
it would
sorry,
be
yeah.
immoral action.
Yeah,
It would be
here's the
action
thing,
that
okay?
stifles
Let's say the
free
description
expression.
about the
I think,
black
like,
man had shot
so
a black man had killed one cop in an
right?
altercation.
It might
right?
be
And we had, like, very
problematic and it
limited
might
video
be
about it,
super
right?
illegal. It
Do
might
you
be
think
morally
that the
fucked up,
media would be like,
but it doesn't fall
there's a
under
poor cop who got killed by a fucking elite? No, they'd be calling witnesses. They'd be trying to get unofficial statements from the fucking like.
Well, what happens if they step over those barricades?
They'd be trying to get statements from the police. They'd be trying to gather witness statements. They'd be going by
this would be like a
assault. If I climb over the barricade, what happens?
That's my bad.
What if they try and assault
So I
me?
think it is the
No,
case.
no,
Then they're fucking
no assault.
stupid.
No,
I mean, I just don't think this is gonna happen.
Climbing over a barricade is not
Rap-godding
assault.
as usual.
I climb over a
Wait.
barricade. What
No,
happens?
when I
See
say
an
people
article,
barricading the street,
like
I mean
literally 4 days
people
after the
being
Jacob
the
Blake
barricade.
shooting.
Oh,
Had all the
individual like
information.
like a
I mean,
fucking
people
soccer line.
blocking
Got
a
it.
roadway.
Cool.
Situation.
Got it. All right. I
Sure.
mean,
That
had,
itself
like,
could be a
police were there
regulatory
observing
offense
this
and
one
illegal to
account.
block
Yeah,
traffic.
probably.
What if
Probably.
I
I
get a
imagine
ladder?
there's probably something
Hold
more
up.
serious
All
right
right,
now.
let's stretch it
Sure,
even
do you- I
further.
mean,
What
if
if I
you want,
get a
you can
ladder
link in that
and
article and we
climb
can
up
read
over
it,
them,
and
and
I
then I
can tell you
jump
if I
down on
think it
the
was
other
like
side?
responsibly done or not.
I mean, if you
guess. Or
try
do
and
you think it was?
try and
So I
assault
personally-
like a
That's not
large
assault.
group
That's
of
not
people with
And I
guns,
remember reacting to the
probably a
Jacob Blake
fucking
shooting
idiot.
on stream.
If I
What
put
that-
a
what he
ladder
just
up
described
against the
is-
I
wall,
remember the way
climb,
that I
and then
reacted
jump
to it, and I
over
don't know
the
if it's
other
a way
side
that,
and never
like,
make
I could
physical
ever
contact with
prescribe
them, that's
anyone.
not assault.
Sure.
Like,
At
that
the
was-
time, I don't know if I
What,
was
you
serious
jump
about it.
over their
I
heads
might have
in
reacted
some
poorly
sort
to it
of-
too. It's possible.
Okay, this
He
is
said
a
with the
dumb
ladder.
line of
He's
questioning.
using a
What
tool.
is-
or-
No, it's kind of fucking weird looking ladder.
It's
Are
not
you
even.
managing?
I want to say
What are we
cover
doing?
the
It's not that weird. We're testing different.
We are doing a mess.
So if you set up a human barricade and they get around this barricade without interacting with these people at all, maybe they find a shortcut through an alley or something that wasn't. Then what do you do?
that same reason.
Yeah, that's
another
I
one,
just don't want to
can't you?
contribute.
Stand in front of her.
And then
I
they get
can get to her.
around
No,
that
you can.
without
You're right.
physical
You're right.
contact or
Sorry,
aggression.
go ahead, Sabrina.
What do you
In
do?
any case, I just
Okay,
like
this is kinda bad.
what
I would
have
have
said,
to-
or
I would
even
have to
what
cross
Vaush
that
would have said, or
extremely
Hassan would have said.
unlikely
I don't
bridge
think
when we
there's
come
that.
to
I don't
it.
think that
I don't know.
No,
anything that
no,
happened
no,
in
but
Kenosha
your
was
issue
the
is
result of what
you
any
don't want to
fucking
answer
online
because you would
personality
say
said,
violence is
because,
okay
like,
at that point.
that was
I've
Kenosha's,
already
I
said
feel
that
like,
violence is
probably
okay on
Kenosha's
multiple
organic
fucking
response to
occasions. You're
kind
not
of
trapping me into anything here. I'm
Yeah,
just
she
literally.
that's why people. That's why people think you're a terrorist. That's why.
I mean, that's totally fine. Let them think whatever the fuck they want. Like,
I mean,
it
is accurate with the definition of the term.
The only people that I would advocate this kind of. The only people that I would advocate this kind of act. Holy fuck, Doobie, will you shut up?
That's
The
not me
only-
speaking.
The only.
That's
oh,
the other
sorry.
brown guy.
The only people that
Stop.
I would advocate.
I can't tell the
I don't know, man.
It's impossible because like. so
I'm
many
tempted
people
to drop
fucking
out of
talking
this and
once.
drop into fucking Destiny's server,
the only
dude.
people that
I
would
might fucking
advocate
just
any
go
kind of
fucking
action
ream his
like
ass
this
real quick.
against
Hold on.
Are themselves fucking terrorists.
I don't give a fuck, dude.
Right, so I mean, you can say that those people,
Is
people
someone
taking.
who just believes in thin blue
Oh my
light
God.
a terrorist?
Finish it.
So,
on, Vivian.
it's
Vivian.
someone. Yeah, the only people that I would advocate for this kind of fucking action against are themselves terrorists. Like, and if you want to say opposing terrorists with violence is also terrorism, then fine, you can
No.
make that fucking.
I disagree with that. I just don't agree
So,
with your
Ben,
definition
really
of
quickly,
what
brother.
a
Really
terrorist
quickly,
is.
Ben, really quick. So Pisco, I have an honest question. Because you and
Oh,
Destiny
he
had
ain't
this
got
like
an open
conversation
channel
earlier
right
about like
now.
what constitutes terrorism.
Yeah.
Where the
like
fuck is
we're kind of going in circles, either like maybe morally but also legalistically as to what constitutes terrorism. Do you know what constitutes terrorism in the United States off the top of your head?
No, in fact, there's no settled.
There's no official
settled.
Only in Canada is.
Oh my God! Let
You want, like-
because it was fine.
There's no settled
I'm locked
definition
out.
for what constitutes terrorism. It's a
I
label
can't
that
get into it.
reasonable people can disagree on its meaning. And you know, I think the FBI uses one particular statistic or definition that's quite broad. It says like violence for an ideological end for that purpose. I think that people are looking for usually a connection with, and you know, it's unclear what the legal ramifications are of defining something as terrorism. But people are mostly looking for violence or some kind of explicit connection to force and violence for a mostly, you know, ideological lens that can be political, religious. Typically, there's an association with striking fear and striking fear indiscriminately. That's kind of the calling card of terrorism a lot. But
I don't think it has to be indiscriminately.
no, it doesn't have to. That's why these, you know, it is.
I don't remember the positions that we had perfectly. But I feel like if there was any, I remember. I feel like you would take the position that the cop must have been in the right because we only got, you know, a snippet of the video.
Oh, I was saying that like it seems that would be my assumption. That
Yeah, so we don't have to rather.
Yeah, I don't know that he must have been, but I think my feelings are like I'm leaning in favor of him being right because of that. But like, yeah, we should probably wait for the rest of the video.
Okay, fine. But like generally as a society,
this
okay,
is
we don't call it terrorism when they bomb ISIS, right? Like, so, but yeah, it's like a defamatory political label. In the United States, for like defining domestic terrorism orgs, they don't even fucking have that. They were trying to bring that in so that they could like put Antifa on that list, basically, which is really fucking stupid.
Well, they
They
did
only
it
have, but all they have is a list of foreign terror organizations. Those are the only ones officially.
Wait, this goes back to the conversation Vivian had last night on Hogs Vienna. The FBI did make that, like, try to make that ruling because they wanted to put white supremacists
misused and like used to create narratives that draw you away from like an accurate conclusion. I just don't know what the fucking like. I just really hope this idea of getting our news and information and analysis from like a single person on the internet who builds a brand, builds a product out of fucking, you know what I mean, like towing some ideological line or something. I just really hope it falls out of favor.
Yeah. The sad thing though is that like there's only one entity that is worse than the fucking media when it comes to spinning narratives, and it's the fucking alternative media. But when the media fucks up, everybody like instantly assumes that like the alternative media is gonna have the answers, which like triggers me even more.
Oh man, I talked to Audit the Audit, the guy who runs the channel Audit the Audit.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit, and like,
sorry, go ahead. I dropped something.
My bad.
Go ahead.
just like the penchants for people to want to go to alt media because they feel like they're being critical thinkers by going to like people who say things that are contrarian or that say something that's different than like
they hear something different than the mainstream, and if the mainstream is bad, they assume the alternative is good, which is absolutely not true. Because the alternative media is even more dog shit than the mainstream media.
Or they assume going to alt media is like an example of critical thinking. That this is a demonstration of critical thinking.
Yeah.
Absurd.
Like, as much as I might think that like CNN or MSNBC has bad reporting on something, I'll say that like Vaush or Hassan is a million fucking times worse, right? Or if people say Fox News or somebody gets something wrong, they're like, okay, that doesn't mean I'm gonna fucking trust Tim Pool or Dave Rubin on it. Yeah.
And the best reason I can think of to really try and dissuade people from getting all their news from like a single individual is because knowledge is the business of institutions, and at the very least, mainstream media, they have talking heads and like personalities and stuff, but they also have teams of reporters that like just deliver the news or are mouthpieces from teams of analysts and shit like that.
One that is amorphous.
No, I think it's a label that can properly be applied to certain groups.
That was fun. I was talking shit to Destiny.
Anyone can deny that the Oklahoma City bombing.
I had to do that for a second.
Right. That would be most people's definition of that. Likewise, I think certain action conducted in January 6th fits that definition to a T. The reason I brought it up in the context of what Destiny said was Destiny critiqued me for calling some of those people terrorists, but I think he showed reckless abandon here of that principle.
Time science, thanks for the follow.
I think you should reckless abandon with the term terrorist, with the term fascist.
People need to stop talking about the fucking news in like these weird political binary terms and start talking about what we can do to mobilize to take care of the people who need something taken care of. I'm talking about movement building. I'm talking about coalition building.
You notice that people
all
with blue
this
lives
shit they're saying. Yeah, we're still going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about cannabis justice. I'm going to go on debate panels.
That's ridiculous.
But you know what? We're also going to do other things. We're getting out in the field.
And what you were doing earlier, and what you were doing like 5 minutes ago,
I don't care whether you think
you don't like the way shit's going on. Start with grassroots.
I don't care whether
if you have a problem with people saying that you're a terrorist,
I don't care whether you think I
shouldn't say those things. You should
don't care whether you think I don't care whether you think it's ridiculous.
You're behaving like a child, by the way.
I mean, you're the one trying to fucking interrupt me in order to fucking grandstand and
to
say
tell
the
you
same
that what you're doing is
bullshit you've said like
definitionally
10 fucking
stochastic
times.
terrorism. Yeah. So don't run for the label.
I don't care what I'm going to finish what I'm
fucking saying. Unless you can tell us how it isn't definitionally stochastic terrorism.
Then so is what you're doing, Doobie. You're doing stochastic terrorism too, then, Doobie.
What is wrong with you, buddy? Holy fucking shit.
Don't
care.
You do the same thing all the time. You apologize for people who kill people, Doobie. You're a stochastic terrorist.
Just mute him.
Yeah.
Like, all I want to do is finish this fucking sentence. Like, it's unbelievable. What child? Like, I don't care what you think is white supremacist. When you're the person who got on this fucking panel and defended the Proud Boys and Gavin McInnes from accusations of being of having a fascist street gang. Okay, your definition of these things is fucking irrelevant because
we were talking about yours though.
About it.
But we were talking about yours though. So,
yeah, which is fine. We can talk about mine. Mine is.
That's what we've been doing.
I think mine is supportable.
Oh, I owe a debt to time science. Thank you very much again. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry. You don't think that Blue Lives Matter was set up in direct opposition to Black Lives Matter, right? In order to discredit the idea that black people suffer what's the word? Disproportionate amounts of police violence in the United States.
Everything in society is a reaction to another thing in society. Yes, it could have been that.
Hold on, but this was, but it was
what is
this was reaction to was an Asian cop and a Hispanic cop being murdered in New York, right? So that this was the Blue Lives Matter thing came out, right? Because they wanted people to know that police are people too, and their lives matter too.
But you can understand that there has been like
something about the
actual
thin
white
blue line and Blue
supremacists
Lives
and
Matter.
like these really dodgy organizations like the Proud Boys and things that have hijacked the movement Blue Lives Matter for their own personal reasons.
It doesn't mean
there it is for
white
one.
supremacists.
There it is for one. Hang on, there it is for one.
Please stop.
Oh shit, I'm muted.
Can you not interrupt? So just because white supremacists or the KKK or whoever also agrees with this movement or also uses the sticker, doesn't mean that every single person.
Listen.
That doesn't mean that every single person
Number one
that has a sticker that supports. Please stop interrupting me. Or that supports Blue Lives Matter is now white supremacist or supporting white supremacy.
I'm not saying that.
Dude, are you a nationalist?
Jane,
Are you a
I know that's
nationalist,
not what you're
Doobie?
saying, but that's what Vivian's saying, and that's what I'm talking to you, Jane. Okay. So, but Vivian, I'd really like you to explain how what you're saying is not
Well, I know, but everybody's been talking to Vivian all night. There's a whole ass panel of people.
Oh my god, everyone's talking. Doobie, you want to respond? I think this was to Vivian.
So you seem to have an issue with being called a terrorist, right? But it seems to me like what you've been
I don't
advocating
care what
for.
you call me. I think some
Well,
terrorists.
this is why I'd like
Can you
you.
let him finish?
Okay.
I mean,
It
can you
seems to
stop
me
talking
like
over
what
the
you've been advocating for and what Destiny initially said to you. So what you're doing is definitionally stochastic terrorism. So can you tell us how it's not?
I don't care what you call me. I've made my positions very clear.
Okay, so
I think
we're gonna
in
call you a
some
terrorist from
cases-
now on.
I think in some cases terrorism can be fucking justified if you're living under a fucking extremely oppressive government. I think, for example, the attempt to assassinate Adolf Hitler during his reign, that was terrorism and was completely fucking justified.
Yes,
So,
and we're so close
I
to
don't-
that. We're so close to living under Hitler. We're so close.
No, someone Blue Lives Matter sticker shows up in a community. If they don't leave when you tell them to, you can kill them.
No, we're
and that's
probably
totally
closer to
justified
living
terrorism,
under a
of
new confederacy, not
So,
Hitler.
I don't know. It's like more of an
The Confederacy
We're
has
at
much
the
more of a
most, we're at
stranglehold
the
in the
most
South.
peaceful, most prosperous time ever in the world. Right now. Right now is the best time to live ever.
I mean,
Yeah, and
not
there's
in
a
the
lot of
United
people trying to
States.
divide this country
Like,
too.
What do you-
bullshit?
Demonstrably on several different
Demonstrably.
axes, it's actually you're actually worse off in many ways. Like in terms of purchasing power, like how long wages have stagnated versus inflation. Like there are a lot of ways in which no, it's not better. I would
We are
say
not the best country in the world by a fucking long shot,
Well, I'm not
and
even
not in
talking
a
about
lot
the
of
best country
things.
in the world, I'm
God,
just
you
saying,
don't
like,
even know.
This idea that we live in some amazing fucking time and everything's
The products that are available, the products and the things, the services that you can buy right now are the best products and services you can ever buy. You can go buy a
can get
PS5 for
liposuction,
$500
Yeah, but
that
it
can play
covered on my
4K
insurance.
video games on your 4K monitor, living in your air-conditioned, heated apartment that you pay
Jesus,
$1,000 a month. That sounds
would be-
amazing.
That would be real nice.
I mean, that sounds cute. That sounds beautiful. Where does
I
that
don't know about
happen?
you, but
Can you tell me where that's happening?
Don't let me go on the average apartment price in America.
Who the fuck can buy a PS5? I don't know who. I surely cannot.
Yeah.
So
Sorry,
but anyway.
PC players, PC gamers.
But if the implication is that we live in a time where it's not necessary to try and resist authoritarianism, fascism, racism, whatever, then I have to strenuously fucking object. I mean, you had 4 years of Trump. You have a rising far right movement all across the United States and Europe. In fact, I think there are a lot of really alarming signs, right, that you could be headed for some really, really nasty shit.
No, I 100% agree with that, Vivian. I 100% agree with that.
full government.
And I think that the precedent that this trial is going to set, I know that he's going to get off, and it's legal. The way that it's going to happen is totally fucking legal. I'm pretty sure he's going to get off. Okay, but the precedent is going to set for vigilantism. I mean, culturally, is going to be really fucking bad, man. Like I'm a little worried about that shit. I am.
But if you're
so
worried about
Vivian-
it, then why are you on Vivian's side when she's advocating for vigilantism?
I
Jason,
didn't
you know
say
what the
I
fuck
didn't
you're
say I
talking about.
was.
So-
I just said that the outcome. I never claimed whose side I was on. I'm doing my own thing.
Don't be a pussy. You know exactly.
All I know is that the state has not done a particularly fucking good job combating this shit, right? And
You're on here as a fucking fraud. You can't even put your face up. Don't talk to me about being a pussy.
That doesn't make your opinion any better, okay? The reality is that
honestly-
you're supporting Vivian. Now you're telling us that you're
You know,
opposed to vigilantism.
it doesn't make-
what
it
she's
doesn't make your
advocating for is vigilantism. So you're not making any sense. Jason.
She's advocating for
Pisco,
community policing.
Pisco,
is what it
shut
sounds
up.
like.
Shut up. Pisco, Mr. Lawyer, are you there?
Yeah, what's up?
So maybe I can ask you, because you had an issue with Destiny throwing that word around too. So was it just terrorism or was it stochastic terrorism? Because that seems that has a more specific definition.
First of all,
And- go for it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Manson was a stochastic terrorist.
First of all, he
It's just
multiple
fucking
times
wild, isn't it?
called Vivian a terrorist. Now he might say that's shorthand because I just initially called her a stochastic terrorist, and I just didn't have time to say stochastic in my later formulations of the word. But I'm not a mind reader, and so I can't possibly know that. And that's someone who has a public platform, and I think someone who's generally very careful with their words and very exigent on other people to be clear and precise with their definitions, and I applaud Destiny for that. I think that he called her a terrorist.
And that's totally, Pisco, that's totally reasonable. Okay, however, right?
How is that reasonable? That's not reasonable.
If he's calling me a terrorist,
I'd like to.
Rittenhouse terrorist.
That's fine.
Okay.
So Pisco, but what I was asking about is stochastic terrorism. Do you think that what Vivian has been expressing tonight meets the criteria for stochastic terrorism?
I don't know the criteria for stochastic terrorism.
So I'll just read it to you.
No, it doesn't.
Wait, how doesn't it?
So usually when we
go read the definition. Read the definition.
I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it directly for you. Okay.
I was going to wait, but before you. I was going to say, before you read it, you asked why it doesn't. The reason why it doesn't, because there's no statistic probability that her advocating for violence here is actually going to result in violence in real life.
No, that's not true.
That's not true. She's
So,
on a
wait, hold
Twitch
on,
stream
let me-
with like 500 viewers.
Okay,
What?
let me read the definition. Let me read the definition, please. Okay, so it's the public demonization. The public demonization of a
Here's the
person
thing.
or group resulting in the incitement of a violent act, which is
God damn it,
statistically
dude.
probable, but whose specifics
I'm gonna
cannot
tell
be
you some shit, dude.
So you think it's
There's a couple things that you don't know right off the
statistically
bat.
probable that what Vivian says today
out of law
encourages
school,
an act of
and I ain't
violence.
saying I'm a fucking lawyer. And I don't know enough
Yeah,
about the law to actually
absolutely.
practice law myself.
But
But I know what happens in the law office, and I know how they prep people for court.
Can we
And
just
I
let
know what they do to prep people for
I'm
court.
agreeing. I'm
And I
agreeing.
know
with
how
you,
they
Judy.
worry about
Okay, I'm
optics,
supporting
and
your
I know
fucking
what it
position.
is to be hired
You're
as an
a
outside
socialist.
consultant because you're a fucking little drug-addled
the
punk that got in trouble with the court all the time, but seemed to get off because you knew how to go in a courtroom looking right and saying the right fucking things. And I may or may not have done this for many clients for a very prominent attorney in the hometown that I lived in.
White nationalists on the street at some point.
We're not talking about the overarching narrative. We're
And
talking
when
about
you do that
specifically saying
shit,
that if
you
someone
learn
Blue
about
Lives
what
Matter rally
other
shows up in your
bigger
town,
fucking
you
firms,
should
the
force them out.
extents
And if
they
they
will go
resist, you should
to
use violence
to
against
fucking
them. And
rehab
if they
someone's
resist enough, you
image
should kill
before a
them.
court date.
Yeah, so
I think that
And these guys are fucking stupid if they fucking think that dude wasn't faking that crime. It's such a dumbass fucking take, dude.
So I said the minimal amount
They
of
do
violence
this. They bring people in to fucking
and
show them
also,
how to make
right, I
themselves
think that
cry.
violence should
He was
always be
making himself
proportional to the violence that
hyperventilate,
is
dude.
being
He
brought
couldn't even
against
get
you.
fucking
I
two
do not
tears
think
out,
you should
dude.
walk up and fucking shoot somebody in the street.
Fuck this
just
bullshit.
For saying some words.
I'm tired of
Right?
people fucking give him a goddamn pass, dude.
just because someone has like different opinions or has a different worldview than you and
It's
is sort
not.
of protesting peacefully for that particular worldview is not a good reason to go out there and commit violence. If you don't like the government in power in most Western democracies, you just vote him out.
Peter, you lost.
That's all you need to do.
I mean, that is a
There has to be a
fundamental
line
misunderstanding of
somewhere.
how quote unquote
was
democracies
a
in the
question
West
was asked,
work
but I-
anyway.
Okay.
Guys, let's let Pisco answer the question, please.
But also, I again strenuously fucking object to this idea that like my opposition to these people is because I have different ideas. It is because they are leading a movement that seeks to commit fucking genocide. Okay.
Correct.
People with Blue Lives Matter stickers are leading a movement that seeks to commit genocide. This is what you're saying.
Blue Lives
Do you want
Matter.
Blue Lives Matter represents a group of people
Yes,
that
we
are
are.
doing bad shit within the police force. They're the internal gang.
Confine it just to
What is
Blue
bad?
Lives Matter.
That's what we're
I don't-
talking about.
What are you talking about, though?
We're
Can I
talking
respond to
about.
the question?
I mean, the question has been
Okay,
broadened and refined and broadened and refined, and it's always specifically about this thing when you want
This
it to
is
be for your
circular.
advantage.
You're so fucking
and it's-
dishonest. Can pick it.
No,
This
Well,
bullshit
I
question.
mean, Vivian, you
You're
literally
lying.
went from Blue Lives Matter to like people wanting to commit genocide on another race.
If we're talking
and you say
about-
that we're
if we're talking
broadening,
about-
and we're the ones that broadening it.
If we're talking
redefining stuff.
about No, I was talking about the broader fucking like white supremacist, white nationalist. I mentioned the KKK a few times, right? The broader fucking like white supremacist.
But you said that Blue Lives Matter movements are equivalent to the KKK. That's what you said.
Blue Lives Matter protect crooked cops.
Again, you're a lying fuck.
Everybody's
explicitly said.
And he's just.
It doesn't matter if you're white, black, or whatever. You're a crooked cop. Blue Lives Matter protects you.
Okay,
Calm down. Calm down.
Okay, are all white supremacists like fucking equivalent?
Can I get
No,
a word in?
they're fucking not. Right?
Okay.
We can
Then
talk
you
about
said
white.
repeatedly. Okay, now if you want to like try to find some nuance in the bullshit you've been saying, that's
I'm
fine.
not trying
but
to
I'd really
find
like
nuance,
I'd
Doobie.
really like
You're
Pisco
just
to
being
just respond to the
incredibly
question I
dishonest.
asked him.
Well,
Don't accuse me of being dishonest when you
No,
everybody,
you're a lying,
everybody on
slimy
this
weasel
channel,
fuck.
everybody in chat can see that you're being
Everybody
dishonest.
in
You
chat
have been
can
for the last
see you
2
weaseling
hours.
like a little
But I'd
fucking
like
Difference
Pisco.
is every time-
Okay, I would like to hear from Pisco as well. Pisco, please.
Yeah, so I'll respond to that. So first off, Leader and some of you have lost the plot. You're arguing about the substance of Vivian's belief, and we can have a conversation of the substance of Vivian's belief, whether it's defensible or not. I frankly think it's reprehensible to suggest committing violence against people who are peacefully expressing their views. I agree with you on that, but the question presented was, does that advocacy or that belief or that expression of that belief constitute stochastic terrorism? The definition that we're working with from Doobie seemed to suggest some likelihood, some statistical probability that her comments are going to result in that kind of violent activity. Now, I would sort of dispute that her comments are likely to produce that on multiple levels. One is the sort of prepositional facts or the predicate facts that are required for Viv's position to come into action is some kind of right-wing movement, some presence. So in day-to-day life, it's exceptionally unlikely that those right-wing movements manifest themselves in the kind of ways that for which Vivian was referring. So it requires a predicate.
And that they aggress upon you. I mean, that was one of the most important parts.
So those predicate facts that for Vivian's opinion to activate, an opinion which I disagree with, don't to me seem likely. And her comments on this platform, a platform where everyone else is fighting against her, where even me defending her against this charge doesn't agree with her, on a platform of mostly liberals and left-wing people who are probably not prone to that kind of violence in the first place, and certainly not to any kind of political violence in general, I think is exceptionally unlikely to result in that kind of violence.
So
I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's a fair answer. But I think that you're
Depends
incorrect
on if it's a good time.
You're incorrect about the movement not being there not being a right wing movement that would be required for her position to be carried out or whatever. Because what she said is that in Kenosha, right, the people who showed up there, right, to defend the property. Please stop interrupting me. People who showed up there defend the property, right? That these people were aggressing upon the rioters there or the protesters there just by their presence because they were associated with the group that posted Blue Lives Matter shit on their Facebook. And
Was it Black
and
Lives
other
Matter
things.
riots?
Hey, do you think that we could like, Mike? Do you think we could maybe like message
last year? I don't think I'd call
douche
that
and see if
them,
he'd
like,
come on one of these
I would call
walk-on
them
panels?
exceptional events, and I would say
Like,
that
and just
the
fucking
response to it,
like troll the
since
fuck
it's
out of
premised,
it.
since that response itself is premised on the exceptional events of those riots occurring,
What do
I
you
would
think
say
about
overall
that?
that
We try to
predicate set
get
of
professional
circumstances
douche to
is
come on.
not very likely, and therefore I think that Vivian's opinion is unlikely to logically lead to that. Now, if you're saying in general her attitude is of one that would lead to more violence, I think that's a criticism you can levy at almost anyone by that definition. If you're just looking at her general attitude, honestly. I mean, I could say
I
that
generally seek to like reduce violence. To be
Okay,
fair,
well,
and
yeah, but in the context of those...
the objective of saying things like, I think that the violence in Kenosha is the result of a disorganized protest, right, and that they should be organized and armed.
Wouldn't it be
is that
so
I don't
funny?
think shooting fucking occurs if you have an armed group there, right? Because people just aren't likely to commit that kind of violence against an armed group unless they have a much larger armed group, and even then they're probably hesitant because nobody wants a firefight really, right?
This is something, but
just to make it super clear.
Didn't you say
just to
that
make it
Kyle
super
wanted
clear,
a firefight
right?
earlier?
When I say Ben asked me a whole load of questions about like what happens if they go around the barricade and stuff, and I was like, I'm not sure. Right, we'd have to cross that bridge when we come to it. Probably set up another barricade or whatever. But, like the things that I advocate for in general are like you should barricade the street and stop
This
these
shit's
people
way out
from
of tune.
marching in. If they attempt to
I
move
just
through
noticed
you, they're
that.
going to
I'm
have to
sitting
do
here
that
like
with
I was like,
some
why does that
violence,
sound
right? And you should only
because I haven't picked
respond
it up
with
in
the
months
level of
since I
violence
started
that is
streaming.
levied
I used to
against
play
you.
guitar every
Like,
fucking day,
there are
all
so
day.
many qualifiers to
And then
what
I started
to
streaming.
what I've said
Fuck
tonight
you guys.
that are like that
You
are
made
like,
me
you
give
should
up on
only
my
respond
dream.
basically with the level of
I'm just
violence that
kidding.
is levied against you.
I just got a new dream.
But you're responding to the level of violence that they respond to you with after you attempt to force them out of the area, right?
Yeah.
So
But now you're sorry. But now
After you attempt to barricade the area, yeah.
So now you're supposing that Vivian's recommendations are actually carried out, when what you're talking about is whether Vivian's comments themselves represent stochastic terrorism or advocacy of stochastic terrorism. By your definition, I don't see that. And frankly, I think that Vivian has explained that in general, her general attitude is one of peacefulness, and she explains it by saying, "Well, I encourage them to be armed to reduce violence." I don't know how much I agree with that, but at least that opinion, couched in the terms that they are and qualified as they are with Viv's statements, seems to show some attitudes towards peacefulness. And I think if you're going to qualify her comments in the wake of, her general attitude towards right-wingers as itself advocacy for violence, I think anyone on this platform who has a strong opinion on these matters could competently be qualified as a stochastic terrorism if that is
earlier though, yeah. So earlier, Viv also did state that the group
What?
that was there, the armed
What?
group that was there, I don't care like what you want to call them, if they're a militia, just a group, protesters, whatever, that were peaceably assembled there with their rifles, were aggressing on the other people just by their plain presence of being there in the first place. That was an aggressive move.
Okay, that sounds like
white supremacists turning up to a BLM rally is an act of aggression. Yeah.
Viv is very
Can
based.
I put this out there, right? So the idea that you can force someone out of an area while only responding in kind with the amount of force that they give you, you're already pushing someone out. You're already being aggressive and using some level of force to push someone out. And if this escalates,
barricade the road. To be fair,
how can you? That.
Sorry.
That's just
I
not.
don't
No. Hold up.
How can you push?
The question is here. Let me get this because I've been thinking about this for like the last 5 minutes, so I got this line up. Let's say the protesters end up at the location first before you, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
How can you push them out of an area with a non-violent barricade?
Yeah, like if they're already there, like it becomes more difficult, right? But I think that you have to. I would advocate for like setting up a perimeter.
No. But if they're already there, what happens?
I'm not sure that anything.
What do you suggest?
I'm not sure that anything particularly heavy like even needs to happen. I think as long as there's like a strong resistance.
So you let them protest there if they're already there, and you can't forcefully barricade them away? Because you said you shouldn't allow this protest to happen. You said you should not allow this protest to happen, and that you should barricade. Well,
yeah,
if
you should try. You should try and stop. You should try and stop the protest if you can.
How can you stop them? How can you stop them though?
How can you stop them if it's already started
it
before you
really depends on the nature. It really depends on the nature of the protest. So we've
You just bring in a bunch of ICP juggalos to come in there and like fucking drink Faygo and spray that shit all over everybody, and they will sure as fuck leave. They'll see a bunch of fucking weird ass clown looking motherfuckers, and they'll be like, "I'm fucking
Jason, you're running defense right now.
I'm gonna call my therapist. Okay, I'm gonna call my therapist because I'm gonna fucking need it after this shit show. Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah, like with the Kenosha people who'd already fucking showed up, like this is a genuine problem, right? This is why I said like the whole thing is the result of a disorganized protest. Like, yeah.
So can you just respond to what he asked you?
Hey, we can
So-
all say until we're blue in the face that we wish so strongly that our side is more organized than whatever the opposition side is. But how often does that actually happen, Vivian? So we need to deal with a real-world example.
I
that
think one of them's
consistently
about to
has happened time
die. I
after
think
time after
Violent
time
J's
after time
like
after
actually
time.
he's fucking dying,
the
man.
real world example
Like
is that,
I gotta
like, quite
admit, I
often
listened to two of their
protests are
albums. There were two of their albums that were in my
right? It's like people come from all
childhood,
over the place. Like
where
they
I
don't
was
have
like,
any
"Oh, I
particular
love
strategy or
ICP,"
plan
and
in
then
mind.
like they were like
And,
horrible.
Like various people will do
It's how
various
bad
shit,
they were.
right? Some will do really dumb fucking things, and some will try and be sensible, right? That's why I advocate for like community organizations that can actually like stick out and organize protests.
I want to know what you
Okay, but can you answer his question?
and try and direct
Please.
the crowd. Yeah, and try and direct the crowd that shows up.
Okay, but
yeah.
when and let's bring this full circle. When it comes back to Kenosha, the
When it comes back
protest
to
has already
Kenosha.
happened. No, hold up. Protest is already going on. It's
Yeah.
already hectic. It's already proven to be disorganized.
Yeah.
What is a protester who is in favor of Black Lives Matter to do about the presence of someone like Kyle Rittenhouse? What are they morally obligated to do in that scenario when the protest is already unorganized? You have
This is Synthwave from fucking Castro. He makes his like dope ass like Synthwave. Like I think this album he called it Mallwave.
But I would
Castro's a G.
You have to say what that decision should be because it's very important.
The answer
specifically with
is
second
the
guy,
answer
the
is
second
I don't.
shooting.
The answer is I don't know.
Okay, so what should
As
the
an
group of
individual.
protesters have done?
The answer is I don't know. As an
Well, I'm
individual,
saying
there's
I
not
know.
much you can do about
I
those
know.
people.
You want to know my answer, Viv? Is if there's violence going on and you do not have the full story and you don't know every single aspect of it,
Oh,
just
for
stay the
fuck's
fuck
sake.
away from it. That's just me.
I
You
mean,
stay the
yeah,
fuck
no,
away.
I mean that's fine.
Okay,
but
so
like,
so the second
no,
shooter.
no, no, don't.
morally
No, I
the second
didn't
shooter, the second guy morally fucked up by chasing after a guy without having
Oh,
a
holy
gun.
shit! This is the point. This is what happens when you just don't fucking listen, dude. Like
I did. You said I don't know, so I gave you my perspective.
So I mean, you're talking about like how do you get these guys out, and then you jump straight over to like the,
No, I like your music.
the
I'm
second
talking
guy
about
who was
Juggalos,
shot, right?
Well,
The second
I
guy
was
who was
setting up
shot.
the
The
premise
second
of
guy
they're
who
already
was
there.
shot. The second guy who was shot, right?
Yes.
Is
Second or
is-
third? I forgot. It's
Sure.
the guy who had the
second
second
guy-
gun. You know
sure,
who I'm talking about.
Whatever,
correct? Okay.
right? Yeah. The second guy who was shot.
Oh, the
He has
game
to-
show
he
ICP
has
song.
limited information. The information
I'll
he
play
has,
some
the people around
funny
him are saying that
ICP
this
shit for you
person's
guys tonight,
recently
just
shot somebody.
because
He's
like
probably heard
I
gunshots,
hate
right, 'cause
that
something
band
happened
so
too far
bad, but
away.
like I will play some of their shit
He
tonight.
sees this guy running away with a gun, right? And so he has to make an assessment of the situation at the time, right? And like it is there are multiple reasonable assessments that you can make, and you need to make them in a really like split-second decision. So I think it's very reasonable for him to conclude that Kyle is an active shooter, based on what we know generally about how the BLM protests were going, and how
So if
many
you're willing
times
to give
they
him
and how
that
many.
much leeway,
It's cringe.
I
So-
misdetected the end of the sentence. Continue.
Oh my god. To my thoughts. We'll be back on Monday with more content, as we always will. We'll have the Reverie Roundtable. Destiny should actually be there. So we'll see. But if you're interested in that, come on back for that. If you have not done so already, hit that follow button if you're new to the channel. Been enjoying all this, sat through all of this nonsense. Well, then hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. I do 6 nights a week. Don't you miss out on all the good stuff that we have to provide. Exclamation for social and chat for our social media. Follow us on Twitter for like channel updates. Jump into our Discord where we have this conversation and all other conversations all happen on Discord. Heart and soul of the community. Want to be a part of the of what we're building there. So please come through. YouTube is where you'll find the bot. If you missed any of this, and there was a lot tonight. Holy shit, there was a lot. If you missed any of it, this will be on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also, we also stream on YouTube occasionally. So if you want to catch everything that we provide, then you want to go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button.
Honestly, the small
Thank you for
council
people who
is
did
better.
subscribe for money here on Twitch.
The small
tonight.
council
That was
gets
awfully
more
kind of
viewers.
you. Really appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to send you out to our friend.
That's why we got Vaush and Destiny tonight.
Yosan, who is streaming, and he's a fantastic Australian. An example of how great those people can be. Honestly,
coming
really.
to like
and
okay,
we'll,
Walter Jesus,
we'll
go
talk
over
to
to
you
fucking
again, Monday, all right?
Prime's
So,
channel,
off
and
you
then
go.
do the same thing you did for me.
soon
You know,
as
hit
this
the
countdown
exclamation
gets-
point in Discord,
Oh,
get his Discord address, and drop in, man.
Peace, everyone.
Hey, guys.
Take care.
Anyways.
Hey, Prime, thank you very much.
No problem.
No,
Thank you,
you
Prime,
like,
for pulling me up.
we got over like
holy
450
shit,
tonight.
Rick.
That's like big
You're
for
just
us. So
sarcastic terrorist
we're a
and
little
should be
tiny
held
place, so
accountable.
that means a
What is
lot,
this
dude.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
He definitely. Alright, yo, Viv, are you cool to keep talking?
I'm still.
I doubt it. She's probably just had enough of this and just like be like, nope, I'm fucking out.
I'm still live, guys. Just so you guys know, I just want to make sure because
You're
I
always
try to
live,
be
Jason.
vocal about it.
You're always live, Jason.
Ray, what's this? Sorry, were you trying to say
We
something?
good to keep talking?
Yeah, Laura asked.
About whether or not you're a
continue. I don't
terrorist,
know if
Viv.
you're
That's what. No,
mentally
I'm
out, though.
joking.
About whether or not you're a terrorist.
No, so okay, I'm not gonna say that. Like, I'm not gonna go as far as what some people
Destiny
did
was
say that,
pretty
like,
shady
what
too.
you-
He's just
what you said. And
Destiny
the whole
is just
reason why
like
you got
I
attacked
like
was
the cops'
dumbass
boots,
shit,
and
as
the
some
boots
people
lick
said.
me, and I'm gonna lick.
I
and-
do think that
They're
do
gonna lick,
think
and
that
we're gonna
what
lick
you
the
said
cops'
was
boots.
like extremely uninformed when it came to
Uninformed?
like when it came to the situation.
No,
in the
I actually
law
agree
in the
with
United
Vaush
States.
on quite a bit,
Oh,
and you
the
know,
laws.
generally I do.
Like,
Like, listen,
the
guys, like,
situation
all I
of
want
that
them
of
to
what
do
happened
is fucking
and the
put their money
laws,
where their mouth is,
and how they
otherwise
apply
they
to
can
that situation.
disagree with each other,
I
piss
didn't
all over
make
each
any
other, fuck
statement.
each other.
No,
in the
I know,
butthole,
but
rage at
that's
each other, fucking do whatever
exactly,
the fuck they
but that's
want.
why
I
I
don't fucking
think that
care,
you,
dude.
like,
They can do
unfortunately,
whatever the fuck they
you
want.
can make like because
I just want
okay,
them
so
to go
so
out and
the
actually
whole reason
encourage
why
other
I'm
people
saying
to go out and
uninformed
activate
is
for the
because
changes they
I
want
don't
to see
think
in the
that you
goddamn
can
world.
fully make
God damn it, that's
like,
all I want.
a moral argument in a case like this, and it be a fully informed moral argument.
No, I
with-
don't think anybody can really.
without also knowing.
Well, you have
like,
to know intent, to be fair, which is impossible to
Let's
know
go.
for sure, 100%.
I don't need to know it. I don't need to know
think you have to
intent
know
to
intent
make
at
moral
all.
prescriptions about how to react to
think you
people's
do.
actions.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think that you can make a fully informed moral prescription
about
without
what
also
specifically?
of the situation without also knowing
Which situation? Sorry, we did talk
the
about a lot.
Rittenhouse, the Rittenhouse
The
situation.
Rittenhouse thing.
Yeah. Without also knowing like
Rittenhouse is
how-
gonna get off. Like it
how
was
laws affect-
self-defense. No matter how you slice it, it was self-defense. But should
hold
he
up.
have been
This
there?
gets
Is it
back-
morally right? No.
Yeah, that's
He's a
illegal,
fucking
right? We're
punk.
trying to talk about moral prescription.
Hey,
I'm
hold
gonna
up,
I'm gonna
hold
go
up.
in a minute.
Viv.
So, but
Okay,
if-
Viv, real quick. So
What?
can I finish my line real quick? Okay, cool. So, and this goes directly into what Rice said. In that you were giving a lot of moral leeway to the guy
No, I
who
wasn't.
pursued Kyle Rittenhouse, correct? No, you were just saying like